Hi guys. I made a paid service in Telegram where you will find a great collection of fanfiction audiobooks organized and regularly updated. What you get? An unlimited access to the full audiobook library. New fanfiction audiobooks added regularly. You can play audios directly from Telegram anytime. Joining our service is available through a monthly subscription of $5. You can pay using PayPal or Ko-fi. So what are you waiting for? Send me a message on Telegram or Discord. I will provide the payment details. After the payment is confirmed, you will receive access to the private Telegram channel containing all audiobooks. If you enjoy fanfiction and prefer listening instead of reading, this library is made for you. Message me anytime to join.
Ch. 16 The Demon Lord Invades. On a flying horse, the trip from Dwargen to Ugrimuru apparently took just one day. They were soon off, with Gazel promising to visit again soon. And he did. Well, Rimuru. The king half shouted as he dismounted. Here I am, as promised. Didn't you just leave 2 days ago? I couldn't help but point out. What are you talking about? Your fellow swordsmanship pupil is here to visit. I thought you would be happier. I hate people who obviously never listen to anyone else. And that fellow crap again. He wasn't even trying to hide the fact that he wanted to be my big bro at the sword dojo. It was really starting to affect his majesty as a dwarven king, and I didn't think I was imagining that, either. And he came alone this time. Did he even have the time for this? As I silently stewed over these doubts, Kaijin came running up to me. Your Majesty. He shouted. You didn't sneak out of the castle, did you? Pfft, can you believe it? 100-man security detail, and not one noticed me escaping. Such ignoble slackers. It's right back to hard drilling for them when I return home. Well, I mean, they can't handle someone like you, my liege. Did you want to say something, Kaijin? No, Your Majesty, nothing. Oh, capital, then. Considering the speed at which he sprinted up to us, Kaijin was surprisingly weak against his king. He was refuted before I could even get a word in edgewise. So what brings you here this time, Your Majesty? Well, simple, really. You recall how I exiled you both from Dwargen based on my own personal judgment, so that's why I had to come here. And you will recall how our covenant included the sharing of technological expertise? Well, I've brought along the perfect man for the job. He tossed the bag he was carrying on the ground. It began to wriggle around. What on? Flustered, Kaijin opened the bag, only to find a skinny, pallid man flying out. Oh, geez, Vester. I couldn't help but shout. Why here? Hehehe, precisely. I banished him from the palace as punishment for his scheming against you, but it'd be a waste to let him just play around for too long, so I brought him here. I had no response to that. My liege, what do you mean by, so I brought him here, exactly? Do you even understand what it would mean, having Sir Vester work here? Don't want him. Of course I don't, Your Majesty. You would be leaking all his knowledge to us. Kaijin was impassioned about pleading his case. Deep down, I guess he's more serious-minded than I had thought. Vester, meanwhile, didn't seem like he knew what had happened yet. I guess he was in that bag for the whole previous evening, on a winged horse, so I couldn't blame him. Leak, you say? Gazel returned Kaijin's look of concern. Well, a bit late for that now, is it not? It was already leaked the moment you left us. I honestly considered asking my covert team to assassinate you, do you realize? My liege, is that dash? It's true. I called it off, though, after quite a bit of thought. There is nothing I hate more than wasting good talent, and that's why I want Vester working here. Vester's eyes sparkled at the words. Your Majesty. And don't you get the wrong idea, Vester. I have not absolved you, but as I said, I have great expectations for you. You may no longer serve me, but I hereby grant you the right to pursue your duties here. Make use of your natural talents and show me you can live an honest, fruitful life for a change. King Gazel. Kaijin sounded like he was beside himself. Should I take this to mean you're fine with letting us take every piece of dwarven technology you have? The king laughed, like it didn't bother him in the least. Pfft, let me give you this request, then. I want you to take this land we stand upon now and harness it to create technology like none seen before. You understand me? Your research should not rely on previous perspectives. You must work more freely than that, as you conceive new ideas. That is the whole reason why I have allowed the free exchange of technology between my nation and yours. So this was his aim the whole time, I thought, as Gazel pressed his full royal authority upon them both. He wasn't just looking at my skills, he had his eyes on Kurob's forging abilities, Shana's weaving, even our top-secret potion development. His keen sense of self-interest let him sniff out what we were doing here, to some extent. No wonder the Dwarven Kingdom had been so prosperous for so long. In some ways, I was less than thrilled by it. He just kept leading us around by the nose as if he was reading my mind. He probably has the skill to read the mind. Understood. It is certain that the individual named Gazel possesses mind-reading skills. So you knew. Affirmative. Why didn't you tell me before? Understood. If we had blocked it, he might think of my master as the enemy, so I decided I would be best if my master doesn't know it. I guess it's true, but does that mean he knows about your existence? Negative. He can only read surface-level information, so he can't hear conversation between me and my master, hence he is not aware of my existence. Phew. That's great. Oops. Bet my covert force has caught up to me by now. I'll be on my way, then. In a flash, he was on his horse. Vester, he said with a final nod, may you strive as much as you can to succeed in your research. Why, your majesty. Vester nodded. This time, I promise I will not let you down. I am off. Then he flew away. A very sudden arrival, and a very hurried exit. The man was like a living thunderstorm. The king had left Kaijin and me staring at each other. Kaijin, are you sure your nation's safe with such a freewheeling man ruling it? Who can say? He's been ruling for centuries, so I imagine we'll be fine, but certainly, he was not so flighty when I served him in the palace. Ah, well, I'm not one to speak, I suppose. And I wasn't. I always play around with Gaba or do some experiments with my skills, while ignoring my duty. Then Ren has to come and find me. She glares at me and then drags me back to my office. In a way I am lot more freewheeling than Gazel. But you can't blame me. In my past life I spend most of time working. I was full of regret when I was dying. That's why I swore to myself that in this life I will enjoy myself. Sir Rimuru. Sir Kaijin. Vester was there, head bowed downward. I deeply apologize. Please, let me atone for matters first. And if you will forgive me, please, I hope you will let me work here. I hadn't forgotten the trap he almost sprang on us. But Vester's eyes were clear now, not filled with the avarice from before. I can trust him, I thought. Well, I don't mind, I said, but you have to promise not to cause any trouble. Yes, I will, Vester replied. Good, I replied with a smile. Welcome to town, Vester. Vester needed a job, and quickly. This time, I actually had just the thing. Our hippocute growing operation was finally starting to gain some steam, so I figured we could move on to the actual production of healing potion next. I was anticipating having to teach Gable the process from the ground up, given he had no real relevant knowledge, but with Vester and his spirit engineering experience, now it was a different story. I figured the two could work together on the project, with Gable serving as Vester's assistant and cave bodyguard. Peaceful days have returned in Tempest. Just as Trenny warned, the town was now playing host to a wide variety of races. Seeking protection, the kobolds came first. Some of our other visitors included halflings and merfolk. The halflings swore their allegiance to us, and I had them work on our farms. The merfolk, meanwhile, were seeking protection. They lived nearby a large lake that had recently become infested with a growing horde of amphibious monsters. I ordered Benamera to send a cleanup force their way. Most of the trade between us and the Dwarven Kingdom would involve traveling along riversides, and I was sure the merfolk could provide some assistance with that. If they were willing to work with us, they were more than welcome. As far as more uncommon visitors go, one time, when I was inspecting woods, I came across an insect-type monster that was near death. It was maybe 1.5 feet tall, kind of a cross between a stag beetle and one of those big fighting ones, and I just thought it looked so cool. There was a dead blade tiger next to it, and imagining this small creature defeating such a formidable foe was remarkable to me. So I decided to take care of it. It was hostile at first, attacking me without a moment of hesitation. That seemed reckless, but I quickly realized the motivation. There was another insectoid behind it had attacked me so the other one could make its escape. I didn't notice the other guy until it spoke up. Wait, it pleaded. This one was about 1 foot tall and looked like a garden-variety wasp. A foot-long wasp would be the subject of horror films in my world, but this one, too, was critically injured. It was intelligent enough, at least, to communicate with me via thought, albeit haltingly. Why do you not flee? I have no way left to protect you. Forgive me, the insectoid who attacked me muttered, resigned to its fate. The other guy must have been pretty smart, too. And even though the blade tiger almost killed it, it was using whatever strength remained to confront me. It seemed to be choosing to die a noble death, perhaps realizing that the time was near. Strong one, the wasp asked me, you, protect us. Sure, I replied with a smile, don't worry, I will protect both of you. Then an idea hit me. Hey, can you guys collect nectar or whatever? Yes, can. I figured they might be able to collect nectar from flowers, and they could. That provided all the reason I needed to lend them a helping hand. They both had lost around half of their bodies, so I lent them a few cells from my own slime form to treat them, using processed magisteel to replace the missing parts of their exoskeletons. That, plus a dose of healing potion, fixed them right up. I named the cool-looking beetle Zijin and the wasp Pito, and now they were my subjects, or pets, or something. Trenny was kind enough to give them permission to stay with Treyants, so I ordered Zijin to keep the Treyant safe while Pito collected the treasure. It would then deliver the nectar spoils to me on regular occasions. So along those lines, we were starting to find more and more friendly people to interact with. But they weren't all friendly. Sometimes we'd get small gangs of lower-level magicborn sniffling around and spouting out classic hoodlum cliques like who, haha, what a fancy-looking town this is. We're gonna treat it real good from now on. But so I immediately took care of them. I told him not to kill anyone, so he tortures them and makes sure they never make same mistake again. So the city of Rimuru, in the heart of the Jura Tempest Federation, was doing a pretty roaring business, but then we encountered a guest we weren't expecting at all. My magic sense alerted me to a massive chunk of magic power flying our way at a speed I could only call ridiculous. Oh, crap. In an instant, I jumped off Shin's chest and headed outside the gate at a full clip. I was right to be concerned. The magic force changed its aerial trajectory and landed right in front of me. If it had gone inside town, I think we would have seen some substantial building damage. The nearby trees had been uprooted and blown away, and there was a crater on the ground where it landed. A powerful will hid behind her blue eyes, and her platinum pink hair was done up in a pair of pigtails. She looked around 14 or 15, but there was no telling a magic-born's age from external appearances, and with the overwhelming amount of magical power that she didn't bother to hide, she couldn't have been the age she seemed to be. She was wearing an outfit that left quite a bit of skin exposed, made out of some unknown material. And more than anything, she was a beauty, the likes of which I may never have seen before. Before I could ask who she was, she arrogantly puffed out her chest, her breasts only barely developed. Hello, hello. I am the Demon Lord Milim Nava. You look like the strongest hombre in town, so I wanted to come and say hi. The beautiful and powerful girl declared. I somehow managed to avoid blurting a Demon Lord out loud. What was someone like her doing here? I didn't have to ask if she was real. The sheer force she exuded from her every pore was among the strongest I had ever seen. It was just as overwhelming as Feldera was. Plus, I mean, don't these people send their underlings for jobs like these first? Or, like, one of the 4 sub-bosses. Something like that. I wanted to chide her but opted against it. Well, good afternoon, I said, eyeing her closely. My name is Rimuru, and I am the leader of this town. I am impressed that you recognize this slime as the strongest presence here. He, that's kid stuff for someone like me. My dragons, I can measure all the magical energy people try to hide from me. Don't try to play the fool around me, you. She proudly boasted. By the way, she continued, is that how you really look? Was that silver-haired person I saw thrashing that bum Gelmud a transformation, then? Ah, did you mean this? I said as I transformed. My mask was off, there was no need to conceal my aura. Oh, it was you. So you defeated the Orc Lord. I thought it consumed Gelmud and turned into a Demon Lord, kind of. Impressive. Yes, the Orc Lord evolved into an orc disaster, but, well, I fought it and beat it anyway, I guess. So, I tried to change the subject. Are you just here to say hello today, or could I help you out with something? You aren't here to, say, take revenge for Gelmud, are you? Help me. I'm just saying, hi, but. An awkward silence. The Demon Lord Milim and I stared at each other wordlessly for a bit. Then, prepare to die. With a shout, Shin slashed at the Demon Lord. Wahahaha. Oh, did you want to play with me? With a teasing laugh, Milim stopped Shin's sword with her right hand. There was a high-pitched clang, like someone hammering at solid metal, and the sword was stopped cold. She took the long sword straight against her skin, and it didn't hurt her at all. Whoa, wait, guys. By the time I could tell them to stop, they were already making their next moves. Not even a Demon Lord can escape from this restraining web. So I had used Demon Wire Bind to capture Milim. Benimaru, meanwhile, was preparing to encase her in a Hellflare blast. And now, the final blow. Burned to a crisp. It was a merciless attack, one made with full knowledge that this was a Demon Lord. They put every ounce of energy they had into it. I imagine that was the ogre's best idea for dealing with something like this. But, wahahaha, impressive. If it was any Demon Lord except for me, I'm not sure that kind of attack would leave them unhurt. You might even be able to defeat them. But, her aura began to rapidly expand. Then, another shock wave, as if a volcano had just exploded on the spot. She hadn't unleashed an attack or done anything, really all she did was unleash the aura she had been keeping restrained. It won't work on me. In a moment, the web restraining Milim was shredded to fine pieces. She had her freedom back. So now what? Right this moment, all 4 of my allies Shin, Benimaru, Soai, and Ronga were on the ground. Not dead, but certainly out of the battle. But Shin and Benimaru still found it in themselves to try to stand up, giving me a chance to flee. You just stay there and rest. I'll handle this. But. If I give up, this is over, so I'll do what I can, alright. I shrugged. Just don't expect too much. That seemed to calm them down a bit. There was no running away, and I had to give it a shot, at least. Ha! The Demon Lord gave me a curious smile, beckoning me with one hand. You want to take me on? This is fun. Of course, as far as I can tell, there's only one attack that stands a chance of working against you at all. Oh. Think you have the confidence to try withstanding it? I knew full well, frankly, that nothing I could do would win this. How should I put this? Understood. The measurable phase indicates a magical energy supply at least 10 times greater than yours on the low end. On the high end, it is immeasurable. I suppose the Raphael put it a lot better than I could. And one's magicule count wasn't everything, really, but being outclassed 10 times over was a tad insurmountable. No wonder the ogre's full-bore attacks didn't work. So there's just one strategy for me to try. If it was a given that none of my skills would work, I'll just have to form a plan using the items I have on me. All this, of course, assumes that Milim falls for my prodding. Wahahaha. Alright. Sounds fun to me. But if it doesn't work, promise me that you'll become my servant, alright. Ooh, there's a stroke of luck. She's even more generous than I thought. The fact she wasn't going to kill us all despite our preemptive attack was a big win. We could just be her lackeys for life instead. That works. Okay, you got it. But if it does, you're gonna let my team here go unpunished, okay? Alright, let's get this going already. Accepting my challenge, Milim gave me an expectant look. I'd better live up to her expectations. With a kick against the ground, I ran with all my might toward her. Without removing my sword, I stormed straight toward her and created a small sphere of water in the palm of my hand. She looked on, full of curiosity, as I approached at full speed. She could tell exactly how I was moving, so I knew no underhanded tricks would work. Take this. I stopped right in front of the demon lord, then threw the sphere of water at her. She seemed breezily nonplussed by this, knowing full well this wasn't much of an attack. That's why she let it splash against her, uncontested, right on her mouth. This bit of water wasn't an attack at all. It was just there to ensure the item I had for her didn't spill out mid-delivery. Now it was just a matter of whether Milim took an interest in this item or not. Our entire fate rode on her reaction. What? What is this? I've never eaten anything so delicious in my life. She shouted at the top of her lungs, clearly excited. Her cute little tongue was licking at the droplets stuck to her lips. Phew. Looks like victory is mine. Ha ha ha. What's wrong, demon lord? I grinned as I conjured up another water sphere to show her. Lay a hand on me, and the secret behind what I just treated you with will be lost and buried forever. But if you accept that I won, I'll give you some more of that. Okay. Milim's eyes were fixated on the sphere, following it as I tossed it around in the air. She couldn't have been more enthralled. I was starting to feel like I could talk my way out of this after all. This was actually some of the honey that Apito was collecting for me after I rescued it. I'd be lying if I said I thought it'd come in handy at a time like this. I just hid it on me because I wanted to eat it later. Meanwhile, the demon lord Milim was clearly at an impasse. I could see she was having an internal conflict, interspersed with NNNHH. But, and other mutterings. Let's be doubly sure about this. I tossed the sphere I was playing around with into my mouth. This is good. Ah. Phew. Really good. Oops. I'm almost out. This is fun. She's just like a child, right, for getting picked on. Master, you are bullying a child. TCH. Raphael-chan, you don't get it. I was born a few months ago, which means I am a child too. I am not bullying her. It fights between two kids. Sigh now that my conscience is clear. Back to bull. Ahem, my fight. So you gonna admit that I won? Wait, I have a suggestion. Let's hear it. Call it a draw. How about we call it a draw this time? And what do I get out of agreeing to that? I'll forget about everything that happened. Oh. That's not all, either. I swear I won't meddle with you guys at all. And you know, if you have any problems, you can talk to me about them, okay? I won. Her strength was overwhelming, but inside, she was every bit the kid that she looked like. Against a grown-up's negotiation skills, she had no chance. Yep, grown-ups play dirty. Weren't you a child before? What's this I can't hear? Did you say something to me? As I ignored Raphael, she heaved an exasperated sigh. Back to Demon Lord Milim. Sounds good to me. I accept. We'll call it a draw, then. Had a fair bit of inventory left, so I put a generous supply of honey into a jar and handed it to her. It wasn't a fancy jar, misshapen and handmade from clay, but Milim still accepted it with a smile, scooping a bit up and sucking at it with gusto. I had just healed the ogres and started to head back into town when I realized that Milim was following me. Holding the jar of honey drops carefully, the demon lord stuck right to my side in lockstep. Hey, she asked, sidling up to me as we walked. Hey, have you ever thought about calling yourself a demon lord, or trying to become one? Why would I want to put myself through that? I asked. She gave me a genuinely perplexed look in response. I mean, we're talking about a demon lord, here. They're really cool, you know. You kinda want to look up to them, right? Nope. It appeared that Milim the demon lord and I saw things in very different ways. We looked at each other. Well, let me ask you this, do you get anything good out of being a demon lord? Well, all these strong guys seek you out to try to start fights. It's fun. I'm already getting in enough fights now, thanks. Not interested. Well, how do you get your fun in life? Oh, all kinds of things. There's practically too much for me to do, if anything. I only just got my hands on that honey a little bit ago. There's lots of other stuff I want, too, so I really don't have the time to be a demon lord. Or is there something to it besides fighting? No, but, you can act all big around humans and magic born. Isn't that kind of boring? The question caused Milim to make a face like she was just struck by lightning. I guess it was kind of boring. I was so on the mark that she had nothing to say. Well, I guess you know my story now. Be careful on your way back home, alright. I thought that was a pretty smooth way to drop the hint. I was wrong. Wait, why you're doing stuff that's more fun than being a demon lord. That's not fair. It's totally not fair. Now I'm angry. Tell me what it is. And let me join you, too. I did my best not to call her a spoiled brat to her face. Just thinking of her as a child made dealing with her a cinch. Judging by our confrontation just a moment ago, it was super easy as an adult to talk around her. You can't try to read someone like this too deeply. Just work around her selfishness and nudge the conversation in your direction. That's the real key to it, and along those lines, I was already treating Milim like the children of my relatives. Alright, I'll tell you, but on one condition. Can you start calling me Rimuru-sama from now on? What? No, you're crazy. It should be the opposite. You need to call me Milim-sama. Don't go bandying about my first name like that. Alright, let's do this. I'll call you Milim, and you can just call me Rimuru. Sound good? MMMMHH. Well, okay. I got it. I'll allow you to call me just Milim. You better appreciate that, though. Only my demon lord friends are allowed that. Well, thanks. I guess we're friends now, too, huh? Despite all the sparks, we had overcome our naming dispute. We just call each other by our own names, no honorifics or anything. Okay, well, I'll give you a tour of the city, but no wandering around by yourself, okay? Okay, Rimuru. Ehehe. The demon lord Milim, just Milim to me was being oddly cheerful. Great. There's a good girl. And no starting fights in town without my permission, either. Promise me. Of course. I promise, Rimuru. We started our journey across town. By the time it ended it was almost dinner time, when most people would wrap up their work and gather around outdoors, and I figured it was high time to introduce her. I sent out the announcement for everyone to gather at the main square. They slowly filed in after finishing work, and once the square was filled up, I hopped up on the podium. So starting today, we'll have a new friend living with all of us. We'll be treating her as an honored guest, so I'd like you all to treat her politely for me. She's also promised to follow all the town rules, so if you see her violating any, please let me know. Next, Milim took the podium. I'm Milim Nava, she told the crowd, and starting today, I'll be living in this city. It's good to meet Cha. Whoa, hang on. What do you mean, you'll be living here? That's exactly what I mean. I've decided to live here, too. Wait. Don't you already have someplace to live? Aren't there people you have to worry about over there? Oh, they'll be fine. I'll just go home every now and then, and it'll be no problem. Well, you heard her, so treat her well, I said, defeatedly addressing the crowd. Still, friends, was that really all right? Befriending a demon lord and all? I mean, in the short time we'd known each other, Milim seemed nice enough and all, but the girl herself, perhaps picking up on my whisper, began to blush. Yeah, she said, friends does sound kind of odd. Maybe not friends, so much as BFFs. BFFs? I hesitantly asked. Aren't we? I could see the tears welling in Milim's eyes already, but if anything, the hostile force in her already balled fists came even more quickly. Crap. Kidding. BFFs forever, man. I quickly corrected myself. Now there's a mine I almost planted my foot on. I was not gonna go down the same road as Gable, right? Totally. You sure are good at scaring people. Milim beamed at me, indicating I had made the right call. Too easy, but still a tough one to handle. No letting my guard down any longer. This had been a real lesson for me. The Land of Tempest had a new resident. Note, just so you know, even if Rimuru gets a harem, Milim will never be part of it. It's not like I don't like her, but it's more like I can't see her as nothing but a child. So no Rimuru x Milim, Milim will be Rimuru's BF until the end. Lastly, if you find any mistakes let me know. That's all, thank you for reading. Ch. 17 Arrival of Lycanthrope. With Milim's introduction over, we filed into the dining hall. Food was on the way, and today's main dish was curry. Milim certainly enjoyed the meal. I figured she had pretty childish tastes in food, too, so I asked Shana to put some extra fruit juice in her curry to make it sweeter. Judging by the way she tore through her helping, I guess I made the right choice. Wow. I haven't eaten anything this good in such a long time. Shana smiled as she doled out a second serving. It was a darling little scene, one that was ruined by the bombshell Shin had for me. By the way, Sir Rimuru, I had been wondering what was that present you gave to Lady Milim outside of town. Geez, Shin, why'd you have to bring that up all of a sudden? No, you can't have any. That jar's mine. Milim immediately tucked her jar of honey drops out of view. Sheesh. She could have just tossed it into spatial storage, but no. Oh, don't worry, Lady Milim. Nobody's thinking about taking your things at all, Shana said, smiling. Yeah, I'd hope not. Nobody was suicidal enough in town to try it. And the moment she realized her honey wasn't in danger, she grinned and resumed her meal, so completely defenseless, one would begin to wonder how Demon Lord Ly she really was, if at all. Though Milim wasn't really the problem. The problem was that people now knew about my secret honey stash. Honey stash. You know, Shana continued, I have been noticing a rather fragrant scent around here lately. I had thought it belonged to you, Lady Milim, but was that what Sir Rimura gave you, perhaps dash. Crap. I did not like her leading the witness like that. This was bad. So I had his head turned aside, pretending not to be involved, but Benimaru was already giving all of us a curious look. There were 7 of us seated at the table, Ren, Benimaru, so I, Milim, Shana, Shin, and me. Shana and Ren wasn't there for my confrontation with Milim. Oh, that's honey. It's really sweet. You can use it as a substitute for sugar too. After hearing Ren, everyone looked at me intently. Guess no point hiding it anymore. Okay, well, this stuff is called honey. I got this as a substitute for sugar, but I can't make very much of it yet, so I can't give you all a supply. I directed them all to scoop some up with their fingers and give it a try. Ah. The looks on the 2 females' faces were of abject shock. Ren didn't give much of a reaction, so I just raised a single eyebrow, but Benimaru was already looking at me expectantly, hoping for more. Milim, of course, scooped up a bit herself, not that I invited her to. You already have your own, you greedy brat. So as you see, the honey tastes extremely sweet, but it also has a medicinal effect. I said. You said this could be a substitute for sugar, Shana asked Ren, clearly curious. Is sugar itself really this sweet? I could see Milim's and Shin's ears perk up at the question. You can use it in food, in drinks, all kinds of areas. We'll be able to craft a great deal more food than before, once we have it, I explained. Ah, I see. In that case, I will have us devote all our efforts to discovering this sugar, starting tomorrow. Shin. Yes, Shana. I promise you, I will stake my life on discovering this sweet plant for us all. Shin replied. Great. Ren said I will also help you with that. Yes, very good. Milim agreed. The 4 women gave one another firm nods. I wanted to ask why they'd stake their lives on this, and since when were they all best friends, too, but it was fine for now. I took a final lick or 2 of the remaining honey, already assured that real sugar would be ours sooner than ever now. With dinner wrapped up, I directed them all to the bath, my crowning achievement. The tub, made with the finest dwarven marble out there, was filled day and night to the brim with hot spring water, ready to be used at any time. Milim had joined us, meekly following along behind Shana and Shin. Normally, I'd nonchalantly hop in the bath with them all in slime form, but that definitely didn't feel right today. She'd be happier alone with the other females, and besides, I would need to discuss things with the ogres whenever Milim wasn't around. So I moved on to our meeting hall and gave a rundown of the day's events to the people assembled there. My goodness. I hardly know what to say. I never expected a demon lord to visit here on her own volition, Rigurd said, shaking his head. I could understand his position. I had never pictured this happening, myself. Well, I think it'll be all right, though, I said. She's promised not to start any fights in here, at least. Not without my permission. Perhaps, but shouldn't we be more worried about how the other demon lords will react? Ren spoke up. Hakuro and Benimaru nodded at this. How do you mean? I honestly asked. Well, from what I heard there are multiple demon lords out there. You and Milim-sama just declared each other allies out in the public square, and that basically means this town's under the protection of Milim the demon lord. And normally, I suppose, that would be incredibly desirable, but... Rimura-sama, you are leader of the Great Forest of Jura Alliance and ruler of the Jura Tempest Federation, Hakuro interjected. I suppose the actions of today would seem, in the eyes of the other demon lords, to mean that the Forest of Jura has forged an alliance with Milim herself. Yes. Benimaru added. It means that Milim, who hardly has any subjects of her own, suddenly has a much larger force backing her up. It shakes the foundation of the current power balance among the demon lords. One wrong move, I fear, and the entire forest could become subject to a major war. Practically speaking, though, none of us could stop Lady Milim if we wanted to, could we? Rigurd offered his opinion, and he was right. Even all of us at once would never have a chance. It left us with nothing but the most passive of approaches, waiting for her to grow bored and leave. If other demon lords oppose her, I honestly like our chances against them more than her. Milim the demon lord is a walking catastrophe. So I nodded at his compatriot's honest feelings. By the way, Rigurd asked, where is Milim-sama as of now? I replied, she is in the bath. I asked Shana and Shin to take her with them. Thump, thump, thump. I heard the sounds of someone running towards us, then suddenly. Bang, the door slammed open, followed by Milim. She wasn't wearing any clothes, her upper and lower body part was covered by towels. Rimuru, she shouted, the bath you got here is amazing. You can even swim in there. Shana and Shin came running after her. They too were wearing towels. Milim-sama, Shana said, panicked, you still have to wash your hair. Whoopsies, Milim replied, I just had to tell my BFF how moved I was. See ya, Rimuru. Milim continued, let's get in together tomorrow. Milim said and ran back to the bath, while running towel covering her non-existing breasts nearly fell. Luckily Shin stopped it from falling as she ran after her. Hee hee, Shana said with an embarrassed laugh, please excuse us. After that Shana too ran after Milim and Shin. After they left, the meeting hall was engulfed in silence. Everyone looked at each other awkwardly. In conclusion, Ren said after a moment, I vote that we should leave the day-to-day handling of Milim-sama to her, BFF, Rimuru-sama. All in agreement. Yes, everyone nodded in agreement. Wah, damn it, Ren. But by the time I had the thought, I was too late. I was used to tossing the ball to someone else most of the time. This time, they did the same to me. I glared at Ren. Well, Ren said, just look how attached to you she is. There was a hint of smug self-satisfaction in her voice. She is definitely doing this to get back at me for playing hooky. Thus, caring for Milim was added to my list of responsibility. Milim was already looking drowsy by the time she left the bath. Apparently, she was beside herself with excitement. Few baths large enough to swim in existed in this world, so I couldn't blame her. I asked Shana to lead Milim to a guest bedroom and put her to sleep. There weren't any Western-style beds here, just pseudo-tatami mats and futon mattresses on the floor. I worried that she'd have some complaints about that, but it wound up not being an issue. She immediately fell asleep, looking snug as a bug. We were busy as bees the next morning. First, waking up Milim at sunrise wasn't easy. Why does a demon lord have to wake up early? She grumbled. We managed to get her up and dressed. Her current outfit was just too exposed, so we prepared some other clothes for her the previous evening, just a quick outfit built from whatever we had around, but she was pretty enough that she looked just fine wearing anything. This is hard to move in. Oh, well, it looks nice. Isn't that better for you? I made a decent attempt to mollify her, and her mood instantly improved. No complaints there. Now then, I started, let's go eat breakfast. As I was about to leave. Wait a minute, Ren said, now that the Milim-sama is dressed it's your turn now. What do you mean? I said slime didn't need clothes. But your human form does, Ren countered. Am I right, Shana, Milim-sama? Yes, Shana said, I prepared lots of clothes for you, Rimuru-sama. She is right, BFF, Milim said, it's your turn now. I gave up resistance. And accepted my fate. After clothing, next up was breakfast. Something resembling bread, fruit jam, and milk-chilled cow deer milk. I had been telling people about how good cow's milk was, and this was close enough. That, plus some hot vegetable soup. Most people in town just had bread and the remaining vegetable soup for breakfast, so the jam was more reserved for honored guests, so to speak. Wow, this is incredible. Milim gushed as she ate. Glad she liked it. I watched her go as I thought over a few things. I dared a quick glance at Milim. Would I be okay taking her into the cave? It was now filled with Vester's valuable laboratory tools and experiments, a sort of federal research facility. Suddenly, I had a good idea. Milim still had only a patchwork outfit on. If her stay here would be extending a while longer, we'd need to prepare several outfits for her. Which meant, hey, Milim, once you're done eating, you want to go get some clothes custom made for you. Why, isn't this good enough? You'll probably want more than one outfit. Besides, I think you'd look nice in something cuter anyway. What? You have cute clothes? Sure. You can pick out whatever you like. Perfect. Ah, I should have known, Rimuru. This town has everything. The moment I brought it up, she was already dancing around in her seat. Perfect. That ought to buy me some time. Going into that gauntlet of a dress shop, it was easy to spend half a day without realizing it. I had experienced it for myself many times, being stuffed into outfit after outfit like a dress-up doll. Oh, Lady Milim is choosing some clothes. I'd be happy to join her. Yeah, if you could, Shana. I got an errand to run in the cave, so toss me a line with thought communication if something comes up. Certainly. Oh, you aren't coming, Rimuru. I already have some clothes, so. I'll come back to see you once you're all set, Milim, so feel free to select whatever you like and have them tailor it to your size. You could even have some new clothes made for you. Ooh, got it. Great, that went well. The moment she heard the magic phrase new clothes, her interest immediately launched her in that direction. It ought to keep her from starting a riot or genocide in my absence for a while. I headed for the sealed cave with Kaijin coming along. We are going to meet Vester, who is researching ways to make potions with the same effect as the potions I made. The potion I produced within myself was the result of a 99% extraction of hippocute herbs. Drink it, sprinkle it on someone, it worked great either way. Meanwhile, the dwarves could manage only 98% purity at best, and that single percentage point made a world of difference in performance. What dwarven technology could make, meanwhile, was called a high potion. It was a first-class concoction, capable of healing even major injuries, but sometimes it couldn't fully restore certain wounds and it definitely couldn't regenerate lost body parts all the time. I conjectured this was because the potion wasn't quite pure enough to fully read all the bodily data it needed for that. It could handle most injuries but couldn't quite push itself up to perfection. That was the difference. The hippocute we were growing in here was of the same quality as natural-grown plants. The best out there, in other words. So any difference in quality from the potions that resulted were purely the result of production issues. You know, I'd think a high potion would be good enough, most of the time, Kaijin said as he scratched his head. He had a point. Already, down here in this cave, they had replicated the best that the dwarves could do in their homeland. Perhaps, Vester replied, but listen, Sir Kaijin, once a scientist realizes there is something yet better to achieve, he refuses to make any compromise until he reaches it. Once he knew what my potion could do, he wanted to achieve that for himself. I came here to assess the potion Vester made. Let me assess it, I said, running analyze and assess on the vial presented to me. Understood. This medicine is equivalent to a full potion. Oh, nice. Vester really made it. Good job, Vester, this is definitely full potion, alright. Ha, I've done it. Superb work, Sir Vester. I am grateful to have aided you. As Vester was almost overcome with emotion, Gable and Kaijin gave him their blessing. I bet this could be a huge source of income for Tempest if we sold it, Kaijin. What do you think? I asked. He thought it over a bit, then shook his head. Ooh, that could be tough, boss. If anything, this stuff is too good. The purity level's so high that it's not something you can use on a whim, you know? This kind of quality, maybe some hero-class adventurer would bring it along now and then. Vester hummed his agreement. Quite true, I fear. I'm happy this resulted in the best quality you'll ever find, but in terms of selling it, I'm not quite sure the market is prepared for it. Instead, Vester suggested this, perhaps we could negotiate with King Gazel to have them accept delivery of low potion from us for sale over there. I'd imagine he'd want us to take in those few medicine makers who work in the Dwarven Kingdom in exchange, but... yeah, that might actually work, boss. If they leave the potion making and selling to us, they can just buy in whatever they need for their own purposes. That may account for a lot of the motive behind their technology share request, actually. Kaijin had a point, but that was fine by me. He and Vester began talking between themselves, figuring out how to best convince Gazel of the idea. One full potion could apparently be diluted down to 100 low potions. If this idea gained any steam, it could be a pretty lucrative source of income. But no great need to hurry. I didn't want to hurt any of the Dwarven Kingdom's vested interests. We'd have to work things out so we'd both benefit from the deal. So I decided to let the topic simmer for the time being and took my leave from the meeting. After leaving the cave, since Milim probably is still picking her clothes, because of that I have free time, so I decided to walk around town. During the walk I encounter a group of people. A guy who has a wild and somewhat rugged appearance. He has short, spiky black hair and sharp, cat-like eyes. His eyebrows are thick, giving him a fierce look. He was wearing a sleeveless black tunic, with bandages wrapped around his arms. His outfit also includes loose-fitting pants and boots, typical of a warrior. He also has a black tail. His appearance reminded me of a cat. Is he a cat person or something? Notice. The individual in question is the lycanthrope. What's lycanthrope? Received. Lycanthrope are a race of demi-humans that can transform into their respective beasts at will and are generally ranked beyond average. Hello, I approached them. What business do you have here in Tempest? Huh. Lycanthrope replied annoyed. What do you want, little girl? Scram, I'm not here to talk to you. Bring me the leader of this town. Ugh, I don't like him calling me a little girl. From what angle I look like a little girl? Should I tell him I am the leader? Well, if I tell him he would probably think I am joking. I think I should let Rigurd handle this. I called Rigurd explaining him situation via thought communication. After a while Rigurd came and asked them why they came. Unlike me, Rigurd excluded that leader aura, which made them instantly believe that Rigurd is the leader here. Ugh, if it weren't for these clothes, I'm sure they wouldn't have called me a little girl. I am Phobio. Lycanthrope replied, the Black Leopard Fong, one of Lord Carolon's 3 lycanthropeers, and the strongest of all in the Beastmaster's Warrior Alliance. What a fine town this is, truly one worthy of falling under the rule of the Beastmaster himself, wouldn't you agree? Surely you just dash, was all Rigurd had managed before getting punched out without further comment. I immediately threw a recovery potion on Rigurd. Hey, I said, confronting him. Don't go throwing punches at the residents of this town. Shut up, you little girl. Before he could call me little girl again, I slammed my fist into his gut. He doubled over, then staggered back into the middle of the dusty road, coughing and trying to catch his breath as onlookers froze in place. He stood up, clutching his stomach, face red with fury. You little brat. You just signed your own dash. Autograph? Sure, where do I sign? I cut in, smirking. He blinked, confused for half a second, then let out a frustrated yell and charged at me, fist clenched. I sidestepped with ease. Before he could regain his balance, I spun and drove a clean elbow into his back, sending him stumbling forward with a grunt. He staggered up again, eyes burning, and thrust one hand into the air. Leopard. Fong flaming palm. He bellowed. Mystical aura flared around his arm, fiery and wild, crackling with raw power. The ground trembled beneath him. I narrowed my eyes. I'm not idiot enough to wait for you to use your move. Before he could react, I stepped in and slammed my fist into his jaw. The aura shattered. His eyes rolled back, and he dropped like a stone. I brushed the dust off my clothes. Next time, skip the speech. We were back in the old meeting hall. They had just finished taking Milim's measurements and were preparing something new for her when all this happened. Well, no point dwelling on the past. The future was more important. It was just Ren, Rigurd, Benameru, Shin, and me, along with Milim. Phobio had 3 of his own troops with him. We hadn't restrained him or anything. Carolon. Breaking our promise not to get in each other's way. Milim was stewing next to me, Phobio, meanwhile, averted his eyes, as if afraid of her. The proud subdemon lord was just a pale imitation next to a real one. But more importantly, I definitely need to ask her about that promise later. That sounded important. So what are you all here for? I mixed a little coercion in with my questions. The answers came surprisingly more readily than I thought. The pouting, sullen answers could be summed up as follows. The demon lord Caroline had ordered him to try to scout either the orc lord or the mystery magic-born that fought him, whichever had survived. The magic-born referred to us, apparently, which suggested that the demon lord backup Gelmud had hinted at wasn't Milim after all. The Tempest is surrounded by 3 demon lords including Milim, so I think multiple demon lords might be involved in that mess, but knowing Milim, she probably agreed just because it sounded fun. And apparently it seems after their plan failed they came up with something else, and they made some promise to each other, about not getting each other's way. I definitely have to ask her about this. A sigh nearly escaped me, but I held it in. Now that we had gotten everything out of Phobio, I asked him to take his leave. Phobio glared at me and barked out, "You will regret this," and took his crew out of the city. I told him to relay a message to Caroline, telling him to contact me at a later date if he wanted to negotiate with us, but I doubted he'd ever receive it. When I left that job to Phobio, I knew he'd only provide whatever info made him look good. It'd be better for him to tell the truth, given how his mission was a failure and all, but that was Phobio's business. I'd better get as much info as I can from Milim about this Caroline's personality and other traits, so I can be ready to deal with whatever he's got. And about other demon lords who might be involved. Note: to be honest, I had originally planned to skip the whole Charybdis part. But in the previous part Rimuru 333 commented saying he hoped Rimuru would put Phobio in his place. So I got idea of Rimuru personally beating Phobio. So thank you for that. I hope you enjoyed Rimuru putting Phobio in his place. Your comments and likes keeps me motivated. And sometimes it gives me ideas and knowledge I didn't know, so I hope you guys continue to comment your views on story. That's all, thank you for reading. Ch. 18 The Congregation. After Phobio left. Alright, Milim. I asked, I'd like some more details about the promise you made. I can't let you do that. Milim replied, we made a promise that we wouldn't meddle with each other, so I can't even tell you, Rimuru. Ah, thanks for revealing you've got a secret, then. Now we had a grown-up and a child trying to outwit each other, and honestly, I liked my chances. Oh no, was this a promise that you'd keep things a secret from each other? No, nothing like that. Just not to meddle dash. No, well, it's fine, then, isn't it? I mean, Caroline's obviously told his minions all about you, huh, Milim? Besides, we're BFFs, and we gotta help each other out, you know? And I just figured, I better know what I can about demon lords besides you, Milim. Plus, if I don't know what kind of promise you made, how can I make sure I don't accidentally start meddling, huh? I put a special emphasis on BFFs. Yeah, but, BFFs. Just one more push. I decided to offer a toy to cheer her up. Oh, right, how about I make you a weapon sometime? I can't help but worry about my BFF, so. Wahahaha, you're right. Being BFFs is the most important thing, huh? And down goes Milim. Just way too easy. I kept my lips from spreading into a maniacal grin as I nodded with the breezy confidence of a grown-up. So I successfully extracted what I wanted from Milim: information on 3 other demon lords besides her, and what they all wanted, what happened just now and what was happening behind the scenes. Quite a bit about the mysteries I was concerned about. But wow. Demon lords, trying to create a puppet demon lord of their own. Milim was in on it just to alleviate her boredom, but this was a pretty serious operation, wasn't it? And if I'm getting in the way of it, then no wonder they're after us. Gobda certainly sounded triumphant in his briefing. We were at the usual meeting hall, Milim seated next to me like she had somehow earned the right. Ren was standing right behind me. Enshin and Soai were behind us, with Rigurd and Benamer ahead. Next to Gobda were Cabal, his 2 friends, and an unfamiliar middle-aged guy. He was joined by a tanned, rugged-looking man and a fairly nervous-looking magician type. Shana had just taken her own seat, ordering one of her assistants to bring out tea for the group, and then Gobda began talking. Once he finished, we all decided to introduce one another. The middle-aged guy was Fuse, the top guy at the guild in the kingdom of Blumund. Must have been the dude who told Soai he wanted an audience with me. The tanned guy's name was Yum, and he called himself the captain of the Frontier Expedition Force, sent out by one of the earls in the kingdom of Pharmus. The thin, flinchy guy next to him really was a magician, as it turned out Rommel was his name, and judging by the looks of things, he was the brains to Yum's brawn. Once they all gave their names, I decided to give mine. Guess I better speak up, too. My name is Rimuru Tempest, and I'm the leader of this town, or nation, or whatever you want to call it. The Jura Tempest Federation is the official name for it, and as you can see, I'm totally a slime. It felt necessary to mention that, given how I was the only non-human in the room. It made the older guy Fuse, open his eyes wide. Truly, a slime. He seemed to know at least a bit about me, but I guess I should have expected him to be a little shocked. If it didn't personally happen to me, I guess I'd have trouble believing that a slime was going around acting like the king of his little nation of monsters. So, Rimuru, Cabal asked. Who are all the new faces in the room? He must have meant the ogre mages and Ren. I gave them all an intro. That just left Milim, who spoke up before I had a chance to point her out. And I'm Milim. Good to meet ya. A pretty casual intro, especially for a demon lord prone to bouts of cruelty like she was. Hopefully nobody was fooled by the pretty face. The very idea of monsters creating towns, pardon me. I can understand demi-humans building settlements well enough, but a town where multiple races live together. I've never heard of such a thing. I have a habit of not fully believing something unless I witness it with my own eyes, you see. And if this whole story was true, I wanted to figure out how we would interact with it, and how much. The reports I received told me this land wasn't a threat, but I thought ascertaining for myself would be the best move. So that's what brings me here. I was hoping you'll permit me to stay a while so I can survey the entirety of your operations. It made sense to me. I'd hate to be feared as a potential threat, so I readily gave Fuse permission. You might not believe it, I explained, but I'd really like to be friends with the humans. I already told Cabal and his friends about that. I'm not asking for it immediately, but you know, I think it'd be nice if we could start engaging in trade or some other kind of interaction. We've already opened formal relations with the Dwarven Kingdom along those lines, which you're free to confirm for yourself. I think your merchants would find it pretty convenient if they could run caravans through this area, but what do you think? Hang on, please, just one moment. You mean the armed nation of Dwargen? I know that is a neutral kingdom, one that had close relations with many demi-human races, but you're saying it's recognized this land of monsters as a nation, because I find that extremely hard to believe. I had asked him to trust in me, but he was proving a tough nut to crack, so I called for Vester as a witness. It turns out Fuse was familiar with him, Minister Vester. Or not anymore, I suppose. But regardless, I never imagined meeting someone of your stature here. Is all of this true? Ah, well met, Sir Fuse. It has been quite a while, hasn't it? Well, you are correct. Through a rather unique turn of events, I am now living quite peacefully in this land. Everything Sir Rimuru has told you is the truth. King Gazel and Sir Rimuru signed the covenant themselves. The conversation wended its way across a few other topics, but I still had the impression Fuse thought he was dreaming all of it. Maybe the idea of monsters banding together and establishing a nation was a little too wild for just anyone in this world to start believing yet. Yum's motives, meanwhile, were a bit more complex. He and his band of men intended to fake their own deaths in order to gain their freedom. Alright, so, Fuse, people already know around your kingdom that the Orc Lord was defeated, right? No, only the king and a few select people are aware. And that meant, okay, so, Yum, wanna forge a contract with me? Huh, what the hell Ryu how do you mean, sir? Now both Shin and Shana were glaring at him. They must not have liked that tone of voice. Maybe it'd be kinder of me to pretend not to notice. Well, to put it simply, Yum and his band of 30 men would become the saviors of the day, the slayers of the Orc Lord. That monster was well and truly defeated, and yet Fuse still eyed me with suspicion because I was a slime, a monster. In that case, why don't we frame the rumors we'd spread so that I merely cooperated with Yum, and he was the one who pulled off the feat, which also helps boost our reputation as a kind and helpful monsters. That's the basic idea of it, but what do you think? Our guests were dead silent, too frozen to react. Cabal and his friends, meanwhile, were so lost in this conversation that they had decided to sit there and enjoy their tea instead. Rimuru, yeah, well, alright, I'll do what ya say. All these menaces to society you got serving, yeah, I gotta admit you're one hell of a slime. From now on, as far as I'm concerned, I'm all yours, pal. Tell me what ya want. It was a surprise, hearing that the moment he got his marbles together. Yeah, sure thing, and thanks. I nodded at him in agreement. In that case, Fuse added, I have no objections about working with you on this, too. However, would you mind if I made absolutely sure, first, that you are on the side of the human race? Okay, that's fair enough. And now Fuse was with me, too. In exchange, I offered Fuse preferential treatment for some of the merchants coming from Blumund. Any merchants affiliated with the Free Guild there would be allowed to stay at Rimuru, capital of the Juratempest Federation. For now, we weren't charging any tariffs that could be discussed among us once they trusted us well enough and we opened a bit more formal diplomacy. There was still a ton of work to do, but at least things were settled between ourselves and Fuse. And Blumund was a small country, the rise of a nation with trade routes and a friendly leader offering them held major meaning. If we could toss guaranteed safety across the entire region into the mix, Blumund could stand to make a major profit from it. If they could trust us enough to commit, that is. Now, to let Fuse bring that offer home and come back with a more detailed report. I couldn't say how it would turn out, but I had to hope things would go in a more positive direction from now on. As for Yum and his band, they would be staying here for a while. If he was going to be our Orc Lord slaying champion, he needed to look the part. Hakuro was probably training him hard right then. He was training hard in this town, his talents now noticeably improved. A little bit more work on him, and nobody would ever doubt for a moment that Yum slew the Orc Lord. Several weeks later, all of Yum's equipment was ready. We finally had his horses and his communication crystals. Well, it's been fun, pal. We'll see you for now, Rimuru. And with that, Yum set off, promising to use this town as a base for their future activities. It had been several weeks since Milim arrived, and the time really passed by in a flash. Every day was a battle with her. Not much had changed with life around town after Yum and his crew left. The only real difference was the guests we were now hosting. Cabal and friends were still staying here, as was Fuse. Don't you kind of need to get back home sooner or later? How long were you planning to stay anyway? I decided to bring up the question with Fuse while Cabal and his gang were taking Milim out hunting. They got along pretty well with her, too. By now they were her second favorite after me. I needed to take advantage as much as I could. Well, is it alright if I stayed a little bit longer? There's, a lot of things to tackle. He wanted more time. He, too, had been walking around town, observing the assorted goings-on. He wasn't liable to cause trouble if I took my eyes off him, unlike Milim, but it still made me nervous. Oh, come on, you're still not convinced that we're not a threat. The whole reason for his stay was because he was suspicious of us or me, really. The longer he stayed here, the more concerned it made me. Oh no, I've long since dropped any worries I had about you. It's just... His voice trailed off. Okay, so why are you still here? I pressed. Fuse scowled a little, then resigned himself to reveal the truth. Well, it's just comfortable living here, Thinking about it, it's been a long while since I've had a chance to rest and take it easy, so, I was thinking this was a good chance to let my hair down for a bit. I suppose Fuse really did see this town as a kind of health spa. Guess installing that hot spring bath and working hard to improve our food quality paid off. It was more the work of Shana and the three dwarven brothers than me, but still. Cabal and his friends were back by the time I had finished cajoling Fuse. Milim came running up to me, a big smile on her face. Wahahaha, another bumper crop today. Behind her, Cabal and Giddo were both carrying a huge number of monsters on their backs. Boy, that Milim sure is something else. She can spot out monsters in the blink of an eye. She made things so much easier for us. The empty-handed Elin beamed as she trailed behind the Demon Lord. Suddenly, Milim ran next to me, eyes pointed forward. Who's there? Shin handed me to Milim as she addressed some presents in front of her. I'm not a piece of baggage, I have no idea why they're ferrying me back and forth, like I'm some fragile work of art. Benimaru and so I took position behind Milim as I grumped about this for a moment, Hakuro standing nearby among the trees. I didn't spot him arriving. He must have been training just now, but his clothing was still in perfect order. Impressive. And with Ranga bursting out from my shadow, we now had the town's main force gathered together. The person facing us was familiar to me. It has been quite a long time, my leader. It was Treya, a dryad and Treni's younger sister. Sure has. But why are you looking like that? All like you're about to kill someone. I said as she kneeled before me. The seething rage was something you could detect even from far away, sharp enough to make both Milim and Shin react to it. Her semi-translucent body was a bit hazy in places. Perhaps she had taken some damage. It was clear that something happened to her. Well, I am afraid it is an emergency. Charybdis, a calamity-class monster, has revived itself. The power wielded by this great spirit is akin to a demon lord's. My sisters are keeping it immobile for now, but we are hopelessly outclassed. Plus, it appears the great spirit is seeking out this land. Charybdis is a tyrant of the skies. Ground-based forces can do little against it. I came here to advise you that you must solidify your defenses and prepare some aerial war power. The fatigue was clear on her face as she explained. Tension quickly filled the air. Surprisingly, Fuse was the first to react. He was stunned to near silence the moment he saw Treya, a dryad. He had shouted, but the mention of Charybdis' name got his brain in gear again. The blood drained from his face as he shouted. Charybdis. Oh, man, if it's really revived, that's a bigger threat than any demon lord. Unlike those guys, you can't even reason with this thing. It's classified as a calamity, but I'd say it's safe to assume it's a full-on disaster, if anything. Thanks to its unique summon monster skill, it could call out schools of megalodons, a large, shark-type monster, anytime it wanted. If Fuse was right, then I honestly had to agree with him. This was worse than a demon lord. I don't know why we would be targeted, but if we are, this is great for us. We must choose the best fighters we have and prepare to counter this force. Benimaru was certainly excited, but we needed people who could fly. Right, I forgot Gable. He's probably doing research in the cave. Can someone get him for me? So I went off to fetch him. In the meantime, I decided to go back to town and hold a prep meeting. We were back in the now familiar meeting hall, Treya using thought communication to speak with her sisters. So I was back with Gable, with Vester joining him, so we could make contact with King Gazel if need be. On the question of aerial firepower, the first thing that crossed my mind were his Pegasus Knights. If I could gain their support, I couldn't ask for anyone better to rely on. Things couldn't be much worse, Treya began. For some reason, the summoned megalodons have incarnated themselves in the corpses of some lesser dragons. They've manifested to creatures over 60 feet in length, like nothing we have ever seen before, and there are 13 of them. Everyone in the room lost their voice at this. A creature as strong as a demon lord, plus 13 other A-ranked monsters? I wanted to ask if this was some kind of a joke. What will we do, Sir Rimuru? Benimaru asked. Ugh, that's what I want to ask, but I'm the leader of this alliance, and it's my job to make the decisions. Plus, no matter how much I hemmed and hawed about it, there was only one answer to give. What'll we do? Well, we'll kill it, won't we? Reluctant though I was, I presented that conclusion to the others. The moment I said it, everyone in the room took action. I didn't need to ask. In that case, I will begin to prepare. Indeed, what else could we do? Exactly. This will be no sweat for Sir Rimuru. When it came to this sort of thing, they knew exactly what to do. Nobody voiced any disagreement with me. Instead, they sought out their roles and sprang into action. The sight made Fuse lose his head a little. After everyone sprang into action, the only people left in the meeting hall besides me were Fuse and Cabal's trio. We took the opportunity to talk over a few things. Alright, I'm not gonna tell you guys not to worry about anything, but I intend to do everything I can for this. I'm having Vester make contact with King Gazel for me, so we should expect some more support, too. After that, well, I'll do what I can, I said. You aren't going to run? He finally asked after a moment of thought, clearly worried for all of us. He was gravely serious, and I thought he deserved a serious reply. What would running accomplish? I'm the strongest dude in this nation. I've told my people to take refuge if I ever lose, but you know, just because I lose one fight doesn't mean I'm giving up on the battle. If there's absolutely no chance of winning, then sure, I'll run away and think up another plan. If not, though, then it's important that I go right in front of our foe and gauge how strong he is with my own eyes, isn't it? I need to do that if I want to formulate any kind of strategy. Plus, since I am the strongest in the alliance, nobody's running as long as I don't lose. I thought about saying that, but I found it a little too embarrassing. It just felt so lame, telling people that it was a leader's job to take the loss sometimes. That's why I tried not to lose, if I could. Until I actually did lose, I had to play the strongman role to live up to everyone's expectations. That's what being a leader of monsters means, I suppose. Yeah, well, this isn't the kind of nation that would crumble after losing its king anyway, so. Fuse nodded at me. He looked convinced enough. Still, it strikes me, Sir Rimuru, that you think quite a bit like we humans do. You don't seem like a monster at all. Plus, it's just so strange, having a slime be the most powerful being in the realm, he said with a chuckle. Maybe so. You might find this hard to believe, actually, but I used to be a human being, too. You know Shizu, right? I think I'm probably an otherworlder, just like she is. Though, really, it was more like I died in my old world and got reborn as a slime in this one. And while I'm at it I used my universal shapeshift extra skill to transform into a human. What on ? Fuse's eyes lit up as Cabal's crew audibly yelped in surprise. It was Elin who noticed first. Looking at you. That's like a smaller version of Shizu, isn't it? She timidly asked. Oh, no way, Elin. Yeah, Shizu was an old lady. She wasn't anywhere near as cute looking as this. Cabal and Giddo were quick to protest, but Elin held her ground. No, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I saw her. Like, what she looked like under the mask. Oh, she did. It was just for an instant, so I didn't think any of them caught a glimpse, but. This works well for me, though. I was going to tell them now anyway. I removed the mask from my pocket and put it on the table. That's Shizu's mask, right? They eyed it, then me. Yeah, I wasn't really hiding it or anything, but I didn't take this form around you guys because I didn't want you to get the wrong idea. Elin's right eye inherited this form from Shizu. Inherited? Yeah, when I ate her. The four of them looked surprised, but none seemed angry. They retained their cool as they waited for me to continue. They had chosen to believe in me, luckily enough. Shizu and I came from the same country. When she died, she asked me to take over her mission, and as proof that I've taken on her will, I picked up the form you see here. So, I can't go around acting like an ass while I look like Shizu, you know. I said quietly. About half of that was my real feelings. The other half, really, was just an excuse I was using to deceive myself. Guess there's no helping it if they're suspicious of me now, I thought, as I turned my eyes to Fuse. Can you tell us what happened? There was not a trace of doubt in his voice. So I spent the next few minutes describing Shizu's final moments, as well as the circumstances behind my death and rebirth. I see. So that's what it was, Fuse whispered. Perhaps Fuse had been spending so much time in this town because he wanted to ask me about Shizu. Just like me, he had trouble finding the right time to bring it up. Well, Cabal said, I believe in you, pal. Yeah, me too. And me. And me. Elin insisted. But, wow, Shizu really did everything she could to make her dream come true. And now you're gonna try to make that happen, Rimuru. I am. I promised her as much. I'm going to free up all the emotions that are binding her heart down. Not that I've met the guy or anything yet, but as far as I'm concerned, the Demon Lord Leon is my prey to catch. Wow. I always knew I could believe in you, Rimuru. Elin flashed me a friendly smile. As for the other three men, Leon, you've got a death wish, Rimuru. I mean, Charybdis is practically a pushover compared to that guy. Yes. You can't go around calling someone like that your prey. Don't blame me if it leads to your death. They were, to say the least, a little unnerved. Well, so be it. Wish they could learn a little from Elin, but our little heart-to-heart seemed to have earned me all their trust. They each offered to join in this battle, but I turned them down. If I blew this, as I explained, it'd be up to them to figure out a new plan immediately. They relented pretty quickly. Thank you for reading. Ch. 19, Charybdis. The fight was about to begin. We were at the end of the gravel road leading toward the Dwarven Kingdom, near the midway point between the capitals of Dwarden and Tempest. We rendezvoused with Geld and his construction team there, waiting for the moment to come. It was about time for Charybdis to appear. Vester had contacted King Gazel to explain the situation. We didn't even have to mention our pact. Gazel immediately deployed his knights for us. Beyond that, all we had to do was wait for the plan to unfold. We used the time to have Trenny, who had joined us on site, tell us more about Charybdis. I knew it was this super powerful monster already, but listening to her story, she made it sound even more hazardous than that. It was no exaggeration to say that it was as strong as a demon lord. She called Charybdis a spiritual life form, whatever that was. That term meant it could resurrect itself if defeated in one body by moving over to a new one. That sounded a little familiar to me. In fact, it sounded a lot like how Feldra worked. This Charybdis was born a very, very long time ago, running through cycles of death and rebirth. It is the cruel, brutal ruler of the skies. One could even call it the heaven-sent child of Feldra, the storm dragon, ruler and guardian of the forest. Huh, did Trenny say something important there? Because it sounded kind of important. The child of Feldra? Was my guess correct, after all? Wait a sec, I hurriedly interrupted. What do you mean, the heaven-sent child of Feldra? Trenny explained. Charybdis is a monster created by the accumulated piles of magicules that leaked out from Feldra. After our discussion with Trenny, we went over the details of our strategy one more time. The thing we had to watch out for the most with Charybdis was its unique magic interference ability. Using this made any magicules within a 1,000-foot radius of the monster go haywire. It could use its own powerful magic to interfere with the very way magicules worked. This was exactly why we needed an aerial offense that wasn't dependent on magic. Even if you had wings, though, could those be cancelled like magic, too? Understood. The principles of flight differ for creatures like winged horses and dragonauts. Their wings contain the power to control gravity, lightening their overall bodily weight and letting them adjust the flow of power to propel themselves forward. This method of flight is unrelated to the presence, or lack thereof, of magicules. Judging by the Raphael's answer, my wings shouldn't be affected, either. I did find it a bit strange that having these wings alone let me fly. Turns out it had nothing to do with physical strength. I didn't have to flap my wings a bunch to stay aloft, not that it mattered at the moment. Benimaru and his friends, meanwhile, were already debating how they were going to fight. Hahaha, aren't you guys forgetting something important? Don't tell me you've forgotten who I am. Some big ol' fish isn't gonna make me break a sweat. I'll give him one heck of a beating. It was Milim, who had changed into battle gear while I wasn't paying attention. She stuck her small chest forward, trying to look as defiant as possible. Great. I was all ready to welcome her to the force. But Shin had to go and turn her down. I'm afraid we can't allow that. It'll put you in a bind, Sir Rimuru, and this is an issue for our town to handle. Why would it put me in a bind? Just as I was thinking that, Shana butted in. She's right. It'd be a mistake to rely on her for everything, just because she's our friend. But if Sir Rimuru is in serious trouble, we will gladly ask for her support then. I'm kind of in serious trouble right now, guys. Not that I could say that out loud to them. The others were all nodding. They were keen to defend their home by themselves as well. I wouldn't get away with relying on Milim from the start. Ha, ha ha. You heard them, Milim. Just trust in me, okay? I hated to turn her down, but I did. Way to go, man. You barely trust in yourself. I kept the thought a secret. What? And here I thought my time had finally come to shine, too. Milim hung her head in disappointment. She was ready for action, changing her clothes for it and everything, so the shock of being refused must have been intense. She stole a few glances at me, looking ready to cry, but I couldn't do anything for her. It was a disappointment for me, too. So that's what was on our plate, then. It was us against Charybdis. Ultimately, we decided to just try fighting it and see what happened. There was little point debating any further at this juncture, so instead we would try out whatever attacks we thought could work. Eventually, my magic sense picked up a group of 14 monsters approaching us. It wasn't long before we could see them. Even from afar, the eerie sight was astounding. Giant sharks, over 60 feet in length, were gracefully swimming across the sky. Their bodies were protected by solid, stiff dragon scales that would assuredly deflect most garden variety attacks. It was shaped like a shark, but at the core, it was a completely different monster. With them was another, even more bizarre sight: the gigantic dragon accompanying the 13 sharks. Its size was enormous, making the megalodons look tiny by comparison. Maybe 3 or so times their size. Its total length had to be over 150 feet or so. There was a single large eyeball on the bottom of its wedged, shark-like head. On the top was a pair of solid-looking horns that appeared as if they could gouge their way through solid stone, or anything else for that matter. By comparison, its limbs looked like mere decoration, tacked onto its shark-shaped torso, but the two pairs of wings on its back, one larger than the other, looked almost exactly like Feldera's. And with that, hostilities began. Eat this, Hellflare. Benimaru kicked things off by choosing his biggest, strongest wide-range flame attack. Always something classic about using your most powerful move the moment you meet your enemy. And the results? You're kidding me. I put everything I had into that. Benimaru's frustrated muttering was understandable. Charybdis continued to leisurely soar through the air. Its megalodon companion had fallen to earth, mostly burned up by the attack, but Charybdis itself was the same as before. Some of the scales that burned off were replaced by new ones, but that was all. Between its naturally high defense and the effects of magic interference, it had successfully resisted Hellflare. It hadn't even fully incinerated the megalodons, indicating exactly how effective magic interference was. I wasn't too shocked by this. I was expecting this, but it made me realize again that this foe was going to be a huge pain in the ass. But we all kept our cool. Our plan was to expect this, so we moved on. All right, let's follow the plan. Break them up and take each one out. Wipe up those meddlesome megalodons. Heeding my order, we all spread out to our positions. I had transformed into a human, too, so I could handle whatever came my way. There were 12 megalodons left. Paring their numbers down looked like it'd be a tough row to hoe. Geld and his team were the next to launch an attack after Benimaru. I had my command post set up on a slightly elevated hill, so I could see the action unfold below me. Using the trees as cover, the force began trying to entice the megalodons to come closer so they could strike. This, sadly, did not work well. We were anticipating that the sharks wouldn't be able to move very much surrounded by trees, but with their powerful bodies, they could simply raise any trunks that stood in the way like so much dried kindling. Geld faced a megalodon in front of him, halting its charge. His entire body was covered in armor, which protected him from the sharp, blade-like. Now, get him. The moment the order was made, a horde of high orc fighters took action. They moved slowly, but the damage from their battle axes was heavy. Little by little, cuts and slashes appeared on the megalodon's body, but sadly, none were lethal. The sheer size of it meant this barrage of attacks was too little, too late. The megalodon shook its frame. That was all it took to send several dozen fighters flying. Geld's face grew stern, harnessing his hatred to apply pressure to the shark's head. It thrashed around more in response. I will assist you. I heard scream, and a flash of light descended from the sky to land squarely on the megalodon. The creature died right there, never aware of what happened to it. Gable had appeared. His force was functioning as a hit-and-run unit here, and when he saw Geld was in danger, he immediately stepped in to bail him out. Realizing Geld had the megalodon pinned down, he fired off an attack fueled by all his strength, and with his rank of A, that was nothing to sniff at. Even a 60-foot-long shark couldn't withstand that kind of force. And Geld's good fortune didn't end there. The Dragonauts under Gable's command were using the full potions they had manufactured to quickly heal the wounded. The potion flowed freely on the battlefield, restoring even the serious cases to perfect health. Now Geld and Gable were a tag team. Their respective forces worked together as well, allowing them to keep up the vicious onslaught against the megalodons without worrying too much about injury. This battle would deepen the bonds between them, no doubt. Before long, they had succeeded in slaying 2 more of them. Lethal combat was breaking out elsewhere as Geld commenced his attack. Gobda, following Hakuro's orders, was using his case cannon to strike at megalodons. It packed a powerful punch, but there was no way that a bullet an inch wide could strike a lethal blow on these guys. It had opened a gash in the megalodon's stomach, about half a yard in width, but all that did was add fuel to its anger. What transpired next was a game of tag in the forest. The riders were now surrounding it, ready to stake their lives on this game. Each, in turn, would take a stab with their spears, then edge away. When the shark targeted one, another would attack in their place. In a battle under those conditions, even a tiny error could be life-threatening. But they continued with the near-suicidal attack, using high potions to clear up any wounds. If worse comes to worst, we have full potions. As long as you aren't instantly killed, you'll be fine. Hakuro's voice might have been friendly, grandfatherly in a way, but his instructions belied his demon instructor persona. Whoa, are you serious, old man? Only Gobda had the presence of mind to lodge a complaint. The others were too busy attacking and dodging. Gobda's goblin riders worked in perfect order, carrying out their shifting roles with no confusion. Impressive, I said. Yes, Sir Hakuro taught them well, Shana replied. He certainly has, Benimaru agreed. Growing younger has only added further polish to his demon instructor ways. Wow, I wish I could play with Am, too. Milim, meanwhile, apparently had the wrong idea about this whole battle. Better not think about it. If I play her game, I lose by default. Hey, come on, do you think I could dash? No, she was tugging at my clothing, begging for a chance. I had to play bad cop with her. I wish she wouldn't look at me like that. Up in the sky, things were getting pretty explosive. So I was there, and like Benimaru, he was only capable of using airflight and he wasn't particularly great at it, either. Despite that, and I don't know how he managed it, he was grappling with a megalodon in midair. The secret behind it was actually simple. Sokka and her 4 Dragonaut guards were positioned above the shark, casting their shadows over its body. So I could then use shadow motion to make a beeline for them. Magic interference only interfered with magicules in midair, so shadow motion didn't seem to be affected. Now Sokka's team of 5 was hovering over a single megalodon. This was indicated by the way both the real Soai and 4 of his replication conjured clones were each latched onto a different shark monster puppet string. Soai's 4 clones each launched the skill at once. It was a secret move, letting the caster fully control monsters that lacked intelligence. Special bewitching string was used to tap into the neural network that carried messages from the brain, replacing them with fabricated orders instead. This immediately placed 4 megalodons under Soai's control. Using the dead bodies of other animals just came back to bite these guys. Controlling each of his replicated bodies, Soai had the megalodons attack one another. They split into 2 pairs, feasting upon each other's flesh. "Take those 4 out when the time is right," he shouted to the Dragonauts above, using the 5th megalodon he was personally riding to head for Charybdis. It was such a brilliant, dazzling display that you almost forgot those sharks were supposed to be a rank. "Understood, Sir Soai. Leave the rest to us." Sokka gave him a quick salute, stealing her gaze at the megalodons. After a little bit, when the megalodon-on-megalodon fighting grew more intense, the 4 Dragonauts under Sokka began their attack. Sokka stayed high above, giving out orders for the others to follow. So I wasn't the only one pulling off impressive feats today. And thus, Sokka's team bagged 4 confirmed shark kills for themselves. Even more impressive were Shin and Ranga. They must have formed a team when I wasn't paying attention. Looking closely, Ranga was running in midair, making a few powerful leaps as he did, as if there were invisible footholds to stand on. And there were, in a way. He was using the extra skill control wind to create them. Pretty skillful feat, there. Maybe you could call it Windwalker or something. But anyway, it meant that Ranga could run even faster in midair than he could on the ground. Despite being parallel with the ground below, Shin couldn't have looked more serene. And the moment that Ranga and the megalodon crossed paths, she brought her sword down, the light purple glow it emitted arcing across the air. She had used her aura to expand and strengthen the sword, extending it to over 3 times its normal size. Like a guillotine blade thundering down from above, the demon sword descended, and neatly removed the megalodon's head. Shin and Ranga used the same tactics to take out 2 more of the sharks. Then the 2 of them sprinted toward Charybdis. There were, at first, 13 megalodons, each an A-ranked monster. Of the 2 remaining survivors, 1 was already dead, slashed to ribbons by Hakuro's barrage of strikes. We had lost nobody on our side to death or injury. Things were going well, and I breathed an internal sigh of relief over it. New developments began to unfold. So I was controlling the final megalodon like a well-trained mount, making it sink its teeth mercilessly into Charybdis. It was latched onto the great dragon now, looking like a work of surrealist art. The megalodon was still alive, but it was no longer any sort of threat. That just left Charybdis to tackle. Paying no further mind to the megalodon, so I flew over to Charybdis. Shin and Ranga were on the dragon's back. Presumably they had climbed up to a pretty high altitude to avoid magic interference, then dive-bombed down on it. Looking at Charybdis, though, the sheer size of it was mind-blowing. Being over 150 feet long was a threat in and of itself. Simply dropping a mass that size on a city from above would result in unimaginable damage. Before my eyes, Soai, Shin, and Ranga had commenced their attack on Charybdis. Things have been going well so far. Maybe. But despite my wishes, it wasn't that easy. The sheer size was a true menace, and now that was clearer than ever. All 3 launched attacks, but none worked at all. They were up against a 150-foot-long frame. Anything they could throw at it was little more than peeling a layer off an onion. And more importantly, none of it could reach its magic-controlling neural network. See, this is why I told you to leave it to me. Even at a time like this, Milim was still wheedling incessantly. I had no time for her at the moment. "Oh no!" Trenny suddenly shouted. Its single eye flashed red for a moment. "That might be a sign that Charybdis is preparing to attack," Benimaru explained. I saw it, too, guys, okay? I was just, taking a more laid-back approach to assessing it. Besides, Shin had just summoned her full aura to bust out an ogress word cannon, so I was kind of distracted by that. Maybe that's what pissed Charybdis off, but regardless of the reason, it looked dangerous. I decided to send a thought communication their way. "Did you hear that? It might be hatching something, so keep your guard up." "Yes, Sir Rimuru." "Understood. I hear you, my master." I nodded at the replies. I'm sure they didn't need that "keep your guard up" reminder, but hey, just in case. But my message turned out to be an incredibly good idea. Just a moment later, so I and the others were exposed to a truly massive attack. A deafening sound akin to fingernails on glass filled the air, itself enough to make it feel like your very soul was being contaminated. It was the sound of the scales that covered Charybdis's body grating against one another. And then, my heavens! I had no idea it possessed an attack like that. This is bad. It can't be evaded. The tension was clear in Trenny's and Benamera's voices, and in the midst of it. So this is Tempest Scale, the attack that made Charybdis feared as a tyrant. Never seen that before. That was Milim. Having nothing else to do, she was offering color commentary to me now. The name of it doesn't matter. And if you knew about that, I really wish you could have told us. Right now, I was more worried for Shin and our other allies. It had happened right after I warned them to stay on guard, so I, Shin, and Ranga were just barely able to take evasive action. But they were being threatened by Charybdis' overwhelming supply of scales, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands being shot out in all directions like high-caliber bullets. They varied in size, but even the tiniest were several inches in diameter. Take one unguarded, and it'd no doubt be even more disastrous for you than a sword slash. Faced with the terrifying Tempest Scale, not one dared to give up on themselves. It could be called reckless, but to me, I couldn't have asked for anything else. They were all ready for this. You people really are a bunch of idiots, you know that? You could at least count on me now, of all times. I decided now was the time to speak. All three froze in surprise. I flew in front of them, raising my left arm against the advancing scales. Sir Rimuru. I could hear them shouting my name, a mixture of shock and joy in their voices. I didn't respond, head faced forward to handle what must be done, which was consume them all, gluttony. With my call, the insatiable gluttony within me stirred. The results unfolded in a single moment. I imagine not too many knew what had happened. The wall of innumerable scales that loomed over them just a moment ago had now neatly disappeared. Astounding. Well done, Sir Rimuru. It was I who found his voice first. The effect was awe-inspiring. All the scales that hurtled through the air between us and Charybdis were fully consumed. This skill was even more off the charts than I had thought. Now seemed like a good time to look a little cool around everyone else. Leave the rest to me. You three go back down and rest, I declared, like it was the most natural thing in the world. But we can still help you. I stopped I before he could continue. Look, it's already regenerating its scales. That wasn't a single-use skill, it's something it can launch again and again. I don't know if I can protect you all from a second round of that. We should be glad that we made Charybdis attack us at all. Really, if we didn't know about those scales and left the Pegasus Knights to handle it, the casualty list would have been huge. You can be proud of yourselves today, people. I wish you good luck. Be careful, Sir Rimuru. You may summon me at any time, Master. Ranga carried them off after they all said their farewells. Now, then, I just gave them that big hero act, but being faced with this huge freak, I wasn't exactly feeling serene. No point whining about it now, though. I'll just have to do what I can. To kick things off, I fired a bolt of magic fire, one of my new moves. The moment it struck Charybdis, a searing dark flame burned and wrinkled its skin, just as I thought it worked. A regular old spout of fire would have been snuffed out by its magic resistance. Dark flame would have been no different, its magical energy dissipating the moment it made contact. To get around that, I'd either have to make physical contact with it and attack, or as I did now cover my magic with something else until it makes contact. That's why I tried loading a magical bolt with dark flame and shooting it. The result was a success, making Charybdis writhe in pain from the intense heat. Or at least, act a little irritated, maybe. It's so big that I wasn't sure that bolt did much damage at all. Can't give up now, though. Enough of them, and the damage is bound to pile up over time. So I kept attacking, spurring myself forward. I tried a few different moves, gauging the dragon's response. It seemed like Dark Flame and Dark Thunder both worked well against it. Fire-based attacks worked across a broader range of its body, and the lightning seemed to affect its magical neural network a little. Along with that useful info, however, I learned a few things I wish I didn't have to. Hang on. This guy has ultra-speed regeneration, doesn't it? I whispered it out loud. Understood. Judging from the recovery speed of its physical structure, it is not incorrect to assume the individual Charybdis possesses the extra skill ultra-speed regeneration. Confirming this, I used thought communication to let everyone else know. Unfortunately, because of its size and the large amount of magicules, gluttony won't work on it. I can use auto mode and let Raphael cut it into pieces, then gluttony might work. But the problem is, notice, a high-level magic born has detected. The analyze and appraise indicates his magical energy supply is greater than Orc Disaster, which could only mean a demon lord is nearby, watching. If I go all out, I might catch their attention, and I'd rather not reveal my hand to a potential enemy. And I might have an idea which demon lord it is. Understood. A faint presence of life has been confirmed within the body that Charybdis is occupying. It is believed that the damage sustained has caused biological distortion, possibly due to an incomplete assimilation with the body's magical core. Additionally, Charybdis is using Phobio, the black leopard fawn, as its core body. Phobio was working for Caroline, wasn't he? Charybdis is using Phobio as its core body. Phobio serves Demon Lord Caroline. And right now, a magic born with power on par with a Demon Lord is observing this battle, which can only mean one thing: the mysterious presence is none other than Demon Lord Caroline himself. Maybe this is his move, using Charybdis to rub us out completely. That confirms it, he's not just watching. He's the enemy. If I defeat Charybdis, he'll know what my trump card is. He might not attack us right away, not with Milim here, but he could use that information against us later. I've got a better idea. Let's just let Milim handle it. Sure, my reputation might take a hit, but that's fine. It's actually more advantageous if my enemy thinks I'm weak. I sent Milim a thought communication. Hey, Milim, mind giving me a hand with this one? Wahahaha. Finally, Milim's voice rang in my mind, brimming with excitement. I was getting bored just watching. Leave it to me, BFF. A ripple passed through the air, and then she was there. Milim hovered beside me, arms folded, her eyes gleaming with excitement. A wild grin spread across her face, radiating confidence and chaos. Then her gaze sharpened as she locked onto the creature in the distance. Looks like Charybdis is using Phobio, the black leopard fawn, as its core body, she said, tilting her head slightly. You know, that guy who was here before. I scratched the back of my head, sighing. Oh, yeah, about that. I glanced toward the massive creature swirling with magical energy. You think you could maybe, I don't know, spit him out of that thing while you take the monster out? I'd like to rescue him alive, if possible. I don't know how much Carolon cares about his subordinates, but if someone killed one of mine, I'd be pretty pissed. He's already my enemy, no need to give him more reasons to come after us. If I can take Charybdis down without killing his man, I will. Wahahaha, you got it. Milim beamed, practically vibrating with excitement. That'll be a cinch for me. I've learned how to hold back my power a little lately, too. She gave a proud thumbs up. Let me show you how good I've gotten at it. Milim gladly accepted, relishing the chance to boast about herself. She'd learned how to hold back, though. Like she had any idea what that meant. For some reason, that made me a bit concerned. I opted not to voice that concern, though, as I let her take care of the rest. And with that settled, the rest moved fast. I ordered a full retreat from the area, no time to argue. Dolph gave the signal, and the troops began pulling back. And so, once I was sure everyone except me was gone, I gave the signal, a small nod upward. You got it. Milim shouted, already in the air, her dragon wings stretched wide behind her and a self-satisfied smile on her face. Well, here we go. Here's what holding back looks like for me. Drago Buster. A fantastic stream of bluish-white light rushed from Milim's outstretched arms. It was a light of destruction that made everything disappear. Cannot analyze. Collecting data. Failed. Raphael within me sounded a bit surprised. It couldn't identify the exact nature of Milim's attack, but the results were pretty obvious. The sight before me forced me to rethink what holding back even meant. Streams of white light crashed through Charybdis, giving it no chance to regenerate. Its massive frame was erased in the blink of an eye. Truly, Milim's strength could only be described as beyond imagination. I flew over to the Magic-Born, grabbing him before he smashed against the ground. He was alive, if barely, which meant I got what I wanted. I decided to get to work immediately, preferring if nobody else had to see this. Analyzing Phobio's status, I found that he and Charybdis were 96% fused with each other. Without quick action, the beast would just resurrect itself again. That's why I needed to do this. What are you doing with him? Just watch, I said, dodging the question as I began. We can't let Phobio go free, right? I figured we'd better take care of him right now. Fully. The task at hand involved fully separating Phobio from Charybdis. My Raphal allowed me to synthesize and separate things. However, just doing that alone would cause Charybdis, a spiritual life form, to float away out of my hands. That's where my unique skill, Glutton, would come in. Report. The magical core of the individual Charybdis has successfully been separated from the individual Phobio, consuming the magical core of the individual Charybdis. Successful. Analyzing core. Successful. The following skills have been obtained. Success. It felt like that took forever, but I had completed it before everyone who evacuated out for Milim's attack had come back. All I had left to do was give some healing potion to the weakened Phobio before I forgot. I gave him a swig of my very own, handmade full potion, quickly stabilizing his physical condition. Now to wait for him to awaken. Thus Charybdis, the threat that landed on our doorstep, was fully slain. Note: thank you for reading. This chapter was especially fun to write. I enjoyed showing Rimuru's strategic side. Not every fight needs to end with a flashy finisher, unless Milim's involved, of course. See you in the next chapter. Ch. 20 Rimuru's Fashion Gauntlet. With the danger past, I went back into slime form. But just as we were about to head home. NGH. Where am I? What happened to me? I heard confused muttering. Phobio had awoken. It put Benimaru and Shin on their guard, but Phobio wouldn't have had any energy to fight right now. His wounds were fully healed, but his magic power was exhausted. Plus, with Charybdis fully extracted and eliminated from him, he was back to merely being a high-level magic-born nobody we couldn't take, if it came to that. Hey there, you up? Do you remember what you did? I spoke slowly to the bleary-eyed Phobio, who was gradually regaining consciousness at the sound of my words. Then he jumped up and, incredibly suddenly, prostrate himself before me and Milim. Guess he remembered. I am sorry. I mean, I deeply apologize to you. I've done something horrible to you, Lady Rimuru, and I've put so much trouble upon all of you a second time. Ugh, when he gonna stop annoying me? I was just about to punch him when Trenny asked an important question. How, did you know where Charybdis was sealed away? Because I highly doubt you merely stumbled upon it. That was a good point. Well, to his credit, he didn't hide any of it and fully explained what happened to him, the request he made to the two masked agents of the moderate jesters. So maybe this isn't a plot by Carrion after all, which raises more questions. A pair of strange-looking masked clowns? But that location is secret, only we knew where it was, and it was the hero herself who told us. A formidable foe, indeed, if they were able to track it down. And masked, you say? This seemed to trouble Trenny in particular. She seemed to know them. Was one of the masks asymmetrical, perhaps, drawn to look like they were making fun of you? And no. There was a girl whose mask made it look like she was crying, and then a fat man with an angry mask. They called themselves Tyr and Footman. Not the guy Trenny knew, then. But, wow, mysterious masked magic born, huh? Wait a sec. Hey, I think Benameras said there was one there during the attack on their homeland. Yes. I just thought of that myself. A rotund magic born wearing a mask of anger. That was one of the people controlling the orcs. Indeed. One of the orc generals working away from my command was accompanied by a high-level magic-born bodyguard, hired by Gelmud. That man's name was Footman, Geld added. Then, and come to think of it, when Sir Laplace rescued me, he said he was in Gelmud's employ as well. He said he was the vice president of the moderate jesters, which he described as a jacks-of-all-trades group, and the mask he had on. It was just as Trenny described, asymmetrical and with an arrogant expression on it. Gable dropped the bombshell. Events from across the land were suddenly being connected together. The moderate jesters. A mysterious band of jacks-of-all-trades. They sounded like trouble, so I decided to ask Milim if she knew anything. I've never heard of that group before, no. Nobody said anything about using guys like those to cause strife among races or anything. How interesting. I wish I could have gotten to meet them. Milim, at least, had heard nothing from her Demon Lord cohorts. She didn't know many details about the whole Orc Lord operation, I suppose. Gelmud was the main man behind all that. Apparently Milim just got the outlines of it, not the little details like hiring a bunch of jokers to help push things along. Maybe it was Clayman scheming behind the scenes with this, not Gelmud. He had the connections for that, she indifferently continued. Clayman? Why him? He just loves dirty little schemes like that. The Orc Lord operation was devised by 3 of those lords, who assigned the job to Gelmud in order to keep things balanced among themselves. If any of them was gonna try to game the system, as Milim described it, it was definitely Clayman. I didn't have much to comment about on that point, so I filed the fact away in the back of my mind. We now had a fairly ample amount of info to work with. Putting it all together, one truth became clear about this incident. These moderate jester guys liked approaching their targets with claims of offering help. It allowed the jesters to achieve their goals without dirtying their own hands. Sounds like they used and abused you, huh? Try to be a bit more careful about taking fishy offers like this in the future, alright. Phobio wasn't exactly free of fault here, but given that the real culprit was elsewhere, it didn't seem right to punish him. I didn't want to stir up added trouble. Besides, if he swore he wouldn't bother us anymore, I was glad to let him go free. Huh. He was still prostrate before us. I don't deserve to be forgiven. I accepted this offer at my own discretion. It had nothing to do with Lord Carolan, so please, allow me to pay for this with my life. And no, really, if I kill you, Demon Lord Carrion might get pissed. I'd rather be friends than fight, I said, then raised my voice slightly toward the one still hiding. Seriously, you've been standing there long enough. Just come out and talk. A man appeared from the underbrush. He had an attractively rough, unpolished look, sporting a well-tailored but well-worn outfit. His short blonde hair stood on end, his sharp eyes only adding to the intense atmosphere he presented. Not bad. You've got sharper senses than I gave you credit for. So this is Carolan the Demon Lord, huh? Hey, the name's Carolan. Thanks for helping this guy out without killing him. Thus the Demon Lord Carolan greeted me, looking me straight in the eye. The air grew suddenly tense. My name is Rimuru Tempest, the leader of Tempest, our nation of monsters here in the forest, I declared. Pfft, a single magic-born person, establishing a new nation? Perhaps I would have believed it in the past, but in this world, you'd have to be suicidal. I was told the Orc Lord killed our mystery magic-born, but I guess that report wasn't too true, huh? You're the masked magic-born that killed Gelmud, aren't you? You look at this slime, and that's the conclusion you reach. That was the only thing I could think. But Milim was here, and maybe he got to witness the battle against Charybdis as well. Yep, you're right. I transformed into my human form, glaring at him, calm but ready for fight. So, you here to get back at me for that, or is this about something else? I doubted it, but I asked anyway. Carolan grinned at the question. Ha ha ha, funny. No wonder Milim likes you. The laughter instantly dispelled all the tension. But once he was done guffawing to himself, Caroline's face stiffened. Then, he did something none of us was expecting. He admitted he was wrong. Well, sorry one of my men went berserk on you. Guess I neglected to supervise him well enough, and I hope you'll forgive me for that. He didn't bow his head or anything, but he did apologize in the only way he could. Plus, you could say I owe you one now, I suppose. Let me know if you have anything I can help you with. He owes me one, huh? If that's how he sees it, I can think of something. In that case, it'd be nice if you could sign a non-aggression treaty with us. Is that all you need? All right. By my name as Demon Lord, or should I say, as the Beast Master Caroline of the Beast Kingdom of Eurasania, I swear I'll never turn our blades on any of you. That assumes, of course, you promised the same to us. He accepted it easily, another sign of his incredible capabilities. I found it quite admirable. Since we were already flustered enough, we agreed to send envoys later on to work out the details. And that pretty much wrapped up the day. Caroline let his fists do the talking with Phobio, putting him near the brink of death once more, but we all have our funny traits like that, I suppose. He lent his limp subordinate a shoulder as the two of them shuffled away and teleported themselves back home. It was time for us to return home, too. The day had its ups and downs, but things were finally starting to settle down a bit. Several days had passed since Charybdis' defeat. The land of Tempest was calm once more. A lot had happened, certainly, but our nation was finally starting to get recognized, and I couldn't have been happier. We were now on friendly relations with the armed nation of Dworgen and the Kingdom of Blumund. The road between us and Dworgen would be opening up soon, and my official invitation had already arrived. I needed to make my report, but they were planning more to receive me as an official state guest. Over in Blumund, Fuse was doing a lot for me by going around royal and noble circles and convincing them that given how this latest crisis had turned out, it'd be much more to their advantage to work with us, not against us. Blumund wasn't a large nation, so noble circles didn't encompass that many people, as he said. None were putting up a lot of roadblocks against him, so I doubted I had much to worry about. And there's another nation I shouldn't be forgetting, the Beast Kingdom of Eurasania. If our talks went well there, that'd be one more nation to build formal ties with. We got put through the ringer, but we sure earned a lot from it. There was no telling how our discussions would turn out yet, but building a formal friendship with one of the bigger demon lords was a major coup. I wanted to see it succeed. So we gained a lot, and if anything I, personally, gained just as much. The Charybdis-specific skills magic interference and gravity flight, 4-1. That, and resist magic, the ultimate ace in the hole against any magic thrown at me. So what were we doing now? Thus, swish, thwom, bash. I think the ambient noise speaks well enough for itself. Benamaru, so I, Shin, and I were being pummeled. Wahahaha, save your breath. The woman laughing shrilly at us was, of course, the demon lord Milim. She was training us, which I thought appropriate given how unfairly strong she was. It was 4 of us against the one of her, but it was hopeless. The dragon's eye from her saw completely through every trick and attack we attempted. That's Milim for you. She's incredible, I thought, more intensely than ever before. Milim was wearing a dragon knuckle around her fist, the weapon present I had promised her long ago. Such knuckles were originally meant for punching with your bare hands without hurting yourself, boosting the force of your strikes in the process. Not this one, this was the exact opposite. Put this on, and it restricted your punching power by around 90%. The Magisteel at its core applied the reduced speed and power drain inscription magics to the wearer. When I gave it to her, she peered at it with intense curiosity, then gladly accepted it. She'd been wearing it every moment since, including during meals, which I had to warn her about, much to her whining chagrin. I was glad she liked it. This dragon knuckle did a whole lot to save us all. We'd been engaging in mock battles every morning with Milim since that day. It had become a regular part of the routine. Her power was just ridiculous, her agility practically cheating, her stamina inexhaustible. Thank heavens she was on our side. Training with Milim occupied my mornings after lunch. I did my rounds in each section of the town. It was an orderly, scheduled life, and I stuck to it for many weeks. So the days passed by, all of us growing even stronger than before. I was growing, too. You've certainly improved, Rimuru. If you declared yourself a demon lord, I sure wouldn't complain. By the way, why did you become a demon lord, Milim? I asked to change the subject. I'm not sure. Something really bad happened, and it got me so angry that I became one. Why are you asking me? Well, I don't remember. It was a super long time ago, so I forgot. Despite her cheerful reply, I wondered if maybe something bad had happened after all. It'd be rude to prod her any further about it. All right, if you forgot, you don't have to try to remember it or anything. I ended the conversation there. Several days later. Okay, I'm off to work. Milim made a sudden declaration. That's kind of sudden, Milim. Right now? Well, this isn't, like, the last time I'll see you or anything, so yeah, I'm headin' out. With that, she changed back into the bikini-ish outfit she'd first arrived in. She used change dress for the job, a bit of magic that was so helpful that I had her teach it to me. It's recommended to anyone with a lot of clothing, although you need to learn spatial magic first, for clothes storage, which actually makes it tough to learn for others. In her original outfit, Milim turned to me and smiled. I'll be sure to tell the other demon lords not to lay a finger on this place, okay? You've got nothing to worry about, Rimuru. Oh, great, so you're off to meet them. That's my job. She puffed out her chest proudly. There was apparently some kind of conference among her, Caroline, and the assorted other demon lords out there. The concept kind of scared me, a secret tryst where the demon lords of the world wove their sinister conspiracies in private. The whole orc lord thing resulted from one of those meetings, so I felt I had a personal stake. Well, I'll be back soon. And she was off into the air. So sudden, just like when she came. And in another moment, she was silently breaking the sound barrier, no shock wave, oddly, and falling out of sight. She said the site was pretty far off, but at that speed, she didn't have long to travel. It didn't seem right, feeling all sad about someone like Milim, but losing her so suddenly like this did make one feel lonely. Thinking about it, she had really become a big part of this town. The way she could take over your mind like that. She was Turius Demon Lord. So before long, I resumed my training under Hakuro, my mind refocused on my mission. I could see a bunch of children playing around outside. 3 boys and 2 girls. They ran up to me at first sight, overjoyed to see me. Teacher, what are we gonna do today? They all asked, their eyes shining, a determined-looking boy, a timid-looking boy, a reticent-looking boy, a lively-looking girl, and a wise-looking girl. They were all my students, and I doted upon them. Today, however, my emotions were a churning mix of happiness, sadness, and loneliness. Well, I said to them, that's a good question. What should we do? But these are her memories, aren't they? Not mine. The lingering attachments of Shizu, back during her instructor days. I could tell, from my viewpoint, that she didn't want these kids to be involved in her strife. But perhaps they felt abandoned. Perhaps they cried. But even if they didn't, it was all so. All so what? What was I trying to? And then my eyes opened. Please. Those children, the ones in the dream, please, rescue those children. Rescue? What on earth from? There was nobody to answer. She wanted to have me do something. That much was clear. But that was it. No more words, as her voice plunged into the darkness and disappeared. The remains of the dream faded away in my mind, the plaintive request left deserted and unnoticed. This felt like the first dream I had in a while. I feel lazy. I should just go back to sleep. What sort of nonsense are you spouting, Rimuru-sama? It was Ren, and she was glaring at me, the kind of look that made you rethink your life choices. Blithely following Ren's lead, I crawled out of bed, grumbling to myself. I'd be busy during the day. Battle training with Hakuro was on the schedule, as was an inspection trip to see how construction was proceeding. As I thought all this over, Ren gave me an exasperated sigh. Rimuru-sama, you're being inattentive again. You will be seeing off Benimaru and Rigor today. Oh yeah, that was today. Sure thing. Ah, yes. Benimaru and crew were heading off today. Several months had passed after Milim's departure. Several calm, chill, and very peaceful months. I was busy as always, but still, extremely chill. One day, though, a messenger appeared from Caroline, the master and one of the land's demon lords. I hadn't forged an official agreement with him on paper, but it appeared Caroline was a man true to his word. As the messenger put it, let us send envoys to our respective nations, so they may see for themselves whether forging trade relations would be beneficial to both sides. I gave my immediate approval, and Caroline had already given his. Which brings us to today, the historical day of departure for our envoy mission to the Beast Kingdom of Eurasania. They would be representatives for the Jura Tempest Federation, Tempest for short. Our nation. A brand new one, and thus, inexperienced in almost every way. We needed to compensate for that, and toward that end, we were all working together, putting in the maximum effort on a daily basis. It's thanks to that work ethic that I think this envoy mission to Eurasania should bear some serious fruit for us. We were also fully prepared to receive the Beastmaster's own team. They'd come here, look around our nation, and, hopefully, come back with some complimentary things to say. If all goes well, we'll stay on good terms and, again, hopefully, begin formal trade and from there, formal diplomatic relations. It shouldn't take long. After thinking through all that, I finally looked up. Ren, where are we going? I asked. The envoy set to depart in the evening. It's still morning, so I've got time. But before that, I need to finish the paperwork, again. Can't I just push this off onto Ren? Nope. She'd definitely get mad. Scary mad. We're going to the dress shop to get you dressed up for the ceremony, Ren said, a hint of excitement in her eyes. This is bad. If I go with her, I'm probably getting shoved into a bunch of cute outfits and it'll take hours. Honestly, the paperwork was starting to sound like the better option. I fumbled, trying to come up with an excuse. What about the paperwork? Don't worry, she replied, almost too cheerfully. I already took care of it. I reluctantly followed Ren through town, each step toward the dress shop feeling like a step deeper into doom. And just as I feared, the moment we arrived. Rimuru-sama. Shana beamed, practically glowing with excitement. We've been waiting, Shin added with a cheerful smile, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. Haruna, ever the calm one, greeted me with a polite bow. Welcome, Rimuru-sama. We've prepared a selection just for you. Prepared? Just for me? That sounds suspiciously like a trap. I looked around. The shop had already been transformed into some kind of fashion war zone, frilly things everywhere, elegant robes hanging from racks, stacks of accessories taller than Gobta. Let's start with this one. Shana said, holding up something that looked like it belonged in a royal ball. Wait, hang on, do I really need to wear something this formal? I mean, it's just a farewell ceremony dash. No complaining. Shana said sweetly, her tone brooking no argument. Before I could protest again, Shana was already pulling me toward the changing area. Ren handed me a pile of clothes with a smile sharp enough to cut steel, cool, composed, and clearly enjoying this way too much. I sighed quietly and accepted my fate. Resistance was clearly not an option. The dressing room curtain slid shut behind me with a finality that felt ominous. Let's just get this over with, I thought, staring at the first outfit, a navy blue ceremonial robe embroidered with golden patterns. Elegant, regal, and about 5 shades too fancy for my liking. Grumbling under my breath, I changed and stepped out. Oh, very noble. Shana clapped her hands, sparkling with approval. Too stiff, Ren said flatly, arms crossed, tilting her head with the eye of a seasoned fashion critic. Try the next one. The next was a deep crimson ensemble with flowing sleeves and a waist sash that required a full instruction manual. I emerged feeling like a heavily wrapped present. Now that's striking, Haruna said, giving an approving nod. Still missing something, Ren added, already holding up a third option. How many outfits did they prepare? One after another, I was sent back into the room. Ribbons, silks, embroidery, capes, frills. I emerged once wearing something suspiciously lacy, only to be met with, "Kaye, adorable." Shana squealed, clasping her hands together. Ren's lips twitched in amusement. Not bad. I'll allow it. That's it. I've lost control of my life. The next one is a frilly pink dress with lace trim, ribbons, and puffed sleeves. I stared into the mirror, mortified. Why does this look like something Milim would force on me? When I stepped out, Shin gasped with delight. Ah, adorable. You look just like a princess. I stepped back and immediately without saying a word. Say a sleek, glittering gown with an open back and high slit. Stylish, yes, but completely over the top. Why do we even own this? When I walked out, Shana politely clapped her hands. Elegant, but maybe too dramatic for a diplomatic ceremony. Ren tilted her head and smirked. Depends. Are we attending a ball or starting a war? After what felt like a dozen wardrobe changes, I stepped into the dressing room one last time. Waiting for me was an outfit unlike the rest, a simple cream blouse, a fitted brown vest, a dark navy skirt, thigh-high socks, and a deep crimson cloak fastened with a soft blue ribbon. This one actually looks wearable. With a small sigh of surrender, I got dressed and stepped out. There was a short pause. That's it, Ren said, already smiling. She was also in a stylish outfit herself, clearly enjoying this far more than I was. Perfect balance of cute and dignified. You look like you stepped right out of a fairy tale. Shana chimed in, her hands clasped like she was about to cry tears of joy. Haruna gave a small nod. The red cloak is a nice touch. Charming, but not overdone. I looked at myself in the mirror. Honestly, not bad. Not frilly. Not suffocating. Just cute enough to make me feel vaguely like a magical academy student, but still respectable. Guess this is my fate. Paperwork would have been kinder. Shin chuckled softly from the background, but thankfully kept her comments to herself this time. Note. Well, this is awkward. This chapter was supposed to include Rimuru's grand speech, the arrival of the Ururazania envoy, actual plot progression. But instead, I kind of got immersed in dressing Rimuru up in increasingly ridiculous outfits. Don't get me wrong, my intentions were pure. Mostly. I just didn't expect fashion chaos to completely hijack the narrative. Still, I worked real hard on this, okay? It was actually pretty tough trying to find the right outfit references and images to match each scene. So, I could use some praise. Just a little pat on the back. Maybe a cookie. Let me know if you want me to include more of these kinds of dress-up sessions in the future, and if you'd like me to increase the number of outfits. I've got plenty more tragic ideas if you're up for it. Oh, and here's one of the failed attempts that didn't make the final cut. Why? Because sometimes the world just isn't ready for fashion this powerful. Anyway, that's all for now. Thanks for reading. See you in the next chapter where, hopefully, someone will finally give that speech. The author definitely still in control, probably. Ch. 21, Trading with the Beast Kingdom. The dressing ordeal was finally over. I somehow survived being paraded like a dress-up doll and had even walked away with my dignity mostly intact. Barely. But now, standing on the ceremonial stage, cloaked in what Rin called the perfect outfit, which still felt dangerously cute, it was time to face the real challenge. Giving an actual speech. So there I was, in our city's main square, standing in front of the crowd in my finest attire. It triggered a small, excited uproar among the monsters. In all their many species, the cheers and shouting seemed like they'd go on forever, but a single silence from Shin shushed them all in an instant. Nice one, Shen. She was so good at handling these kinds of rowdy scenes. With the monsters calmed down, I decided to give my team a few encouraging words. I decided to run down the list of things I wanted my envoys to watch out for. The Beast Master Carolon was a demon lord and certainly one of the more warlike ones. I couldn't be certain the rule of law even existed in his domain. Right, listen up. You're about to visit a nation of magic-born who've only ever believed in one thing: might makes right. Don't underestimate them. If you show even a moment of weakness, they'll walk all over you. You might not win every argument or even every fight, but what matters is that you don't lose in spirit. Your companions and we're behind you all the way, so go out there and represent us with pride. Your mission is more than diplomacy. I want you to truly understand them. We're not looking for forced alliances or shallow cooperation. We want a relationship built on mutual respect. If things feel off, if you think conflict is brewing, don't push it. Just come back safely. See it with your own eyes. Judge it for yourself. And make sure that, going forward, we can build something genuine with them. I'm counting on you. The moment I wrapped it up, the square was filled with wild cheering. It was like being in some pop idol's concert. Supposedly, I was done, but there was one more important warning I needed to give. Let's see, what else? I paused, tapping my chin for dramatic effect. Right. I don't mind a few small mistakes. But please, and I mean this, don't be the ones to start a fight, okay? I'm looking at you, Benimaru. Think you can manage that? Honestly, my entire speech assumed that any tension would come from the Eurazanian side. If we ended up starting something, all of this would have been for nothing. You are in good hands with us, Benimaru barked back, supremely, almost scarily, confident. I have learned quite a few lessons myself. After the days we spent with Lady Milim, any fool could understand that impudence leads to disaster. The comparisons to Milim set off alarm bells, too. Using her as a standard for building your own confidence didn't give me any sense of security at all. At least it beat Shin, though. Watching her eagerly nod at Benimaru's words made me sigh. Good to hear. I wish I could have joined you there myself. Not at all, my lord. I think it best you do not travel to a demon lord's domain until we can confirm it is safe. It was clear from that denial that Benimaru wished to gauge Carolon's trustworthiness with his own eyes. Not just Carolon, but every other magic-born who called his lands home. Would working with them benefit Tempest? Or would they cause untold harm for me? Really, I was glad to see his initiative, even though it only added to my worries. All right, do your best. Yes, my lord. And you, too, Rigur, and all the rest. I'd like to see good things come to our nation. Absolutely, a starry-eyed Rigur replied. We will spread the word far and wide. Those eyes told me he couldn't wait to head off. He was really leaping at the chance to try something new. He'll be fine, I figured. Great. Now, let's give them all a big hand as they set off on their journey. On my cue, Rin gave a signal with her eyes. It was picked up by our band of specially selected musicians, ready to strike up a great, lively tune. The envoy made their way through the watchful crowd, traveling toward a future full of hope, the hope that this stream of cultural exchange would help plant the seeds for future diplomatic ties. Our first government envoy set off with a flourish. Benimaru's team was off, but I still had a mountain of work. I wanted to visit the human lands eventually, but duty came first. The first steps in building a nation are crucial. Cut corners now, and you'll regret it later. Hanging out could wait. My top security and military leaders were gone for the time being, and I had to fill in those gaps. So I could handle security, and I appointed Hakuro as the head of our military for now. That'll leave things in good hands. Next was making arrangements to receive the contingent from Eurazania. We just finished building a proper guesthouse, more of a luxury hotel than the simple lodgings we gave Cabal's and Yum's teams. But it wasn't just buildings we were developing, we were growing people, too. Shana's apprentices had become skilled chefs, instinctively balancing flavors and managing kitchen work with ease. The goblinas, trained through handling adventurers, had picked up the basics of hospitality. Nobles might still be a challenge, but they could handle most guests with confidence. To test our progress, I had the top performers treat me like a guest. With Vester's help, their service was polished enough to surprise even me. For once, I felt we could truly offer something worthy of being called luxury. With preparations complete, we were ready to welcome our guests, but one major event remained: my official visit to the armed nation of Dworgen. The schedule was already finalized after a few message exchanges. It would be a milestone for us, proof to Dworgen and the wider world that Tempest was a recognized, independent nation. Signed treaties were one thing, being invited and received in person was far more impactful. It was a chance to show that a monster-founded nation could be trusted. Thanks to Yum's growing reputation and Fuse's carefully crafted rumors, our image was improving. This visit was the perfect opportunity to build even more goodwill, and I had no intention of letting it go to waste. Visiting human lands could wait until I was sure our government stood strong. We received a sign that our envoys were back. A sign, that is, in the form of Trenny. Kneeling before me, she reported our team was near the forest of Jura the moment she spotted them. Thanks for letting me know. Not at all. She smiled. It is no hardship for me. Let me know if anything else comes up. Certainly. I had best be off, then. With another smile, Trenny disappeared. I relayed the news to everyone else that we should expect the envoy team back in a few days. Just then, Yum and his companions paid a visit to town. As I hoped, our little intrigue had established Yum as a top Puffy Heap champion around the kingdom of Pharmus. Listen, we're gonna have a party of envoys representing the Demon Lord Carolon soon. Can you guys promise me you won't pick any fights with them? Come on, pal, who'd you think you're talking to? You think I'm the sort of fool who'll get in a brawl with a Demon Lord's underlings? Yum slumped. He was right. But there was never accounting for some of the idiots running around out there. It could boggle the imagination. But why are Demon Lord folk coming here in the first place? He asked before I could answer his first question. Yes, I'd better explain. Come to my reception room once you're out of the bath. Sure thing. Yum arrived right on time, fresh from a bath and out of his travel gear, just after dinner. So, what's the story, pal? Easy now, I said, gesturing to the plush leather sofa. I took a seat opposite him. Before anything else, promise you won't be surprised. Surprised? Why would I dash? Ignoring that, I shifted into my human form, much faster than explaining. Why dash? I told you not to be surprised, I sighed, settling in. Right on cue, Ren entered, bowed politely, and served us drinks in finely crafted glasses, Dold's handiwork. Then she took her place behind me, perfectly poised. She clearly enjoyed her role as a maid, always professional and composed when working. But the moment I did something that annoyed her or something no proper ruler should ever be caught doing, she'd glare daggers at me. Dressing me up, though. That was her one exception. She sparkled with joy then. Oops. She's glaring at me now. I feel like she knows I'm thinking something rude about her. I averted my eyes with the practiced guilt of someone who's been caught red-handed but refuses to confess. Quick, change the subject before she decides to re-educate me with another surprise dress-up session. I sniffed the drink, satisfied. So, how about a drink? Yum, still reeling from the transformation and Ren's graceful demeanor, nodded and took a big gulp, then immediately launched into a coughing fit. Gah, what is that? Ren quickly offered him water, which he downed just as fast. Not much of a drinker. I chuckled. We hosted some dwarves a while back. They weren't impressed with our booze, said it was too weak. So I brewed up something special for them. Guess it's a little strong for human tastes. Though, personally, I think I prefer putting ice right into the glass instead of just watering down this stuff. You're a man of good taste, Yum. Now that the tension had dissipated, I moved on to the main topic. So, I gave him a quick rundown of my story: reincarnation, demon lords, the whole bizarre ride. No idea how much he followed, but that's why I gave him a drink first. It's not the kind of tale you hear sober. But Yum surprised me. Oh, I believe you, he said without prompting. I mean, monsters building an entire city. That's unthinkable enough right there. I'm glad he adapted so easily. He was taking to the brandy like a champ, too, delicately sipping it without hacking his lungs out. The brandy was a big success. I was sure it'd make an excellent gift on my trip to the Dwarven Kingdom. Yum and I wound up chit-chatting about far less important affairs well into the night. Several days later, right on time, the envoys from the Beast Kingdom of Eurazania arrived. I greeted them in my slime form, carried in Ren's arms. Shana, Shen, Rigurd, and the hobgoblin officials stood behind me, while I monitored things from the shadows. Yum's group was there too, surprisingly serious for once. The envoys made their way through our ranks in a luxuriant line of gilded wagons. They were pulled by a streak of thunder tigers, large magical beasts crackling with lightning that ran across their frame, a potent symbol of military force, one easily visible from long distances. In terms of armor, these tiger wagons of sorts, if you took all the fancy gold and such off them, would probably work as tanks. The lead one was the most ostentatiously decorated of all, and when it came to a halt, two women emerged from the door. The first one had long, shiny white hair that was slick and straight. She was a beauty with a supple body and cat-like eyes, but the aura around her was ferocious, suggesting she was a battle-hardened leader. The second woman was just as head-turning, this one bewitching with her black and gold hair and jewel-like snake eyes. She seemed graceful at first, but she practically froze the air with her cold-hearted gaze, repelling most who dared to approach her. They were both magic-born, and not the garden variety sort. The sheer quantity of magicules they held rivaled that of Phobio at his last visit. If I had to guess. A pleasure to meet you, Lord of the Great Forest of Jura. I am Alvis, the Golden Snakehorn and one of the 3 lycanthropeers serving the Demon Lord Carolon. I knew it. A real big shot. I was expecting a top-level officer, and there you go, which meant the other one was. Humph. I see no need to offer any formal greeting to this crowd, Alvis. After all these days of journeying, wondering what sort of monster might rule over Jura, I come here to find a puny slime to greet us. This is an outrage. Enough, Sophia. Such behavior brings nothing but disgrace to the face of Lord Carolon. Enough from you, Alvis. How dare you order me around? And look, they associate not only with dwarves but with humans, those stunted, conniving, cowardly humans. They are a disgrace to all the monster races. Whoa there, don't you think you're picking on those humans a little too much? Knock it off, man. Right, Yum? I know you hate being treated like a fool. Why don't you show off some of your skills? You've got my permission. I mean, what do you want? Yum was, more or less, our friend, a devoted trainee of Hakuro's. I liked him just like I liked Yum, with his calling me pal and so on. And I guess he wasn't under me, exactly, more like an equal, a fellow student working under the tutelage of Hakuro. Seeing his good name so thoroughly trashed like this angered me more than it would if it had happened to me. I kind of understood how King Gazel felt. Yeah, go for it, boss. You'd look like an old fool if you don't get her back, sir. The assorted hoodlums and petty criminals in Yum's crew were raring for a brawl. Guess I've got no choice. Promise you'll look after my team, pal. With a grin, he unsheathed his beloved Dragon's Lair sword. No problem. I've got tons of healing potion, so don't let up. Sure thing. Yum took a step forward. Sophia answered this with a jubilant laugh. Hey ha ha ha. Well played, human. Think you can satisfy me. As I watched her gloriously overacted performance, Shin moved. Oh, does she have ideas of her own? Just as the thought occurred to me, Shin did exactly what I expected. Not so fast. I have stood here patiently and let you have your say, but the sheer brazenness of your insults toward Rimuru-sama. I have held my tongue for this long only because Rimuru-sama instructed me to, but it would appear I no longer have a need to. I shall be your opponent. Shin's eyes grew bloodshot as she sprang into action. How naive. Sophia howled, her ferocious feline nature coming to the fore. I Sophia, the snowy tigerclaw, am ready and willing to test out these would-be minions of the high and mighty slime lord. Then she and Shin clashed, driven purely by their war instincts. In an instant, the place turned into a battlefield. Yum, meanwhile. Oh dear. There is just no dealing with you, Sophia. In that case Gruesith, provide an opponent for the human. To the side of Shin and Sophia's duel, the golden snakehorn, Alvis, gently slipped an order to one of her magic-born. Me, take on a human. Sneered the gallant-looking young creature who stepped forward. I know I am a low-ranked member of the Beast Masters Warrior Alliance, but, well, so be it. Let me be your playmate, human. His hair was gray, matching his eyes, and his skin was a dark shade of brown. He was as muscular as he was flexible, and the large knives he held danced in his hands while he glared sharply at Yum. A word, the Shin-Sophia bout was intense. They were both the type who derived joy from battle-true berserkers. Their surroundings no longer mattered as they immersed themselves in the fight. It looked like she was about to launch a massive bolt of magic from her hands, focusing all her authoritative might on the effort. Sorry for the wait. Now, take some of this. The aura that had wended its way around her hands formed a ball of fearsome, destructive energy, one that she was just about to launch. Enough. When a voice informed us all that the battle was over, a golden staff was suddenly thrust before Shin. Alvis had stepped in. Her tail was pointed straight toward Sophia as well. She apparently had an energy bolt of her own to unleash. Alvis was, indeed, half human and half snake, her upper body an attractive woman, the lower half transformed into a large, ebony-colored reptile. Hearing Alvis's shout, Gruesith immediately ceased all hostilities. Yum joined him, giving me a confused glance. I raised a hand and nodded at him. Is that enough for you? Should I take it to mean we've passed? Yes. You have certainly demonstrated your skills to us, haven't they, Sophia? Are you willing to recognize them for who they are now? I am, she replied with a clear, cloudless smile on her face. No complaints here. They seem more than worthy of being treated as equals, that much I firmly believe now. She turned to the other lycanthropes in their entourage. I trust they have convinced you as well. I will not allow any of you to complain about them and their humanness any longer. Humanness any longer. Gruesith nodded. Right you are, Lady Sophia. Rare are the humans who can fight with me on such an advanced level. Pay these people the respect they deserve. He let out a loud, hearty laugh, then extended a hand to Yum. His opponent accepted it with a wry grin, and at that moment, everything was resolved. That left one more group to handle. Are you all right with that, Shin? There was still a gigantic ball of pure magic hovering above Shin's outstretched hands. She looked at me, troubled. It is not a problem for me, Sir Rimuru, but what should I do with this? This meaning the ball, I assumed. You can't banish it. I can't. Or I should say, my magical force is at its limits. Looking closely, I could see Shin's entire body starting to quiver. She looked ready to unleash that time bomb of a magic bolt at any moment. There were tears in her eyes. Jumping out from Ren's arms, I nimbly maneuvered in front of Shin, going into human mode and pointing my left hand at her. Shin, fire it. But, it's all right. Trust me. Why yes sir. She warbled, confused. But she was already at the end of her rope. The vast ball of magic unfurled itself then, leaving just a short afterglow, was absorbed into me. The unique skill gluttony in action, once more. This utterly shocked the lycanthropes as much as it relieved Shin, who fell to the ground exhausted. Cheers erupted around us as peace finally returned to the battlefield. We held a welcoming feast for them that evening. Shana was putting all her efforts into cooking for it, and I could hardly wait for night to fall. We were cracking open all the alcohol we had, too. Once all the dishes were laid out, the party began. The mood was quickly devolved into a drinking party. Ah, bliss, Alvis sighed, her eyes half-lidded in delight as she savored the contents of her cup. She cradled the drink as though it were the most precious thing in the world, a gentle flush coloring her cheeks. Ugh, the apple brandy is slowly vanishing. I muttered with quiet despair, eyes falling upon the diminishing contents of the barrels. Can you not make more? Alvis asked, watching her lean against a barrel, clearly more interested in indulging than preserving the supply. Ah. I replied, currently, we are relying on the forest for fruits and the like. Plus, alcohol is a luxury item. We have yet to release it to the masses. I gave her a rundown of our fruit situation. I see, Alvis remarked. That does sound like an issue. Perhaps I could arrange matters so the fruits offered to Eurasania are passed over to your nation. With that, you could dash. You could use that to make more fancy liquor for us. I could practically hear her say between the lines. What percentages are we talking? I asked. Oh, you can handle the details, Sophia fired back with a smile. As long as I have something good to drink, I am satisfied. Our Lord's domain enjoys a great deal of high-quality fruit, so I do look forward to what you could make with it. So the ball was back in our court. Best to leave this to a professional. Gobuta, I called, can you grab one of the merchants for me? Gobuta gave a chipper salute. Sure thing. Moments later, a peculiar figure was ushered in, a kobold with wide, alert eyes and thick fur. He wore a modest cloak and carried himself with a blend of loyalty and commercial eagerness. This is Kobe, kobold merchant and representative. Kobe stepped forward briskly, bowing deeply. Lord Rimuru, how may I help? You see, I explained the situation to him. I'll leave the rest to you. Kobe blinked. Yes. With that, I slid away, leaving the stunned kobold merchant holding the economic reins. Hopefully, he'd rise to the task. Still, who knows? Maybe we'll have a thriving wine industry. I think, as a nation, we're off to a pretty smooth start. After staying on for several more days, the lycanthropiers Sophia and Alvis headed back home. Enryo, the magic-born serving them, remained in town with the other attendants. They had apparently been instructed to learn about the assorted technology we enjoyed here, and they were already beavering away at their studies. Kaijin and the Dwarf Brothers' workshop wowed them when they visited one of our new construction sites. They assiduously took measurements of the framework's strength and stability. On a day trip to see our highways, they were shocked to see how effective our building crews were. Soon, they wanted to get to grips with this stuff themselves. If you are willing, they asked, we would be delighted to work with your teams. They weren't beholden to any particular schedule but wanted to stay on hand until replacements arrived for them. After discussing matters with Ren, I decided to give them my permission. Before a month had passed, they were fully part of our work operation, far more serious-minded and good-natured than I gave them credit for. One of the lycanthropes was involved with other businesses. That was Gruisith. Enryo and the others were ordered to polish their technical knowledge here, but not Gruisith. While my master, Phobio the Black Leopard Fawn, is serving his penance, I was ordered to provide whatever aid I could to you, Sir Rimuru. I am hoping I could return the favor, in some way. Thus, he agreed to help patrol the city, although between him doing ride-alongs with Gabba and training with Hakuro alongside Yum, it seemed to me he was just doing whatever he felt like around town. Ah well, if he was having fun, it was no skin off my nose. And so, the envoy sent from the Beast Kingdom of Eurasania shortly found themselves naturally becoming friends of the citizens of Tempest. Note: well, I'll be honest, this part might have been a little on the slower side. There was some plot progress, but yeah, not the most entertaining chapter overall. But, don't worry, next chapter is going to be something special. Lately, I've been feeling a serious Raphal deficiency, and I know I'm not alone. So expect lots of Raphal moments coming up. Since this story follows a female Rimuru, I figured it's the perfect time to dig into some real character development and maybe even sprinkle in a bit of romance. This next chapter will be a major turning point for the story, so I want to give it the attention it deserves. That means it might take a little longer than usual, probably a few extra days, but I promise it'll be worth the wait. Thank you so much for reading. Whether you're here for the plot, the characters, the chaos, or just Rimuru in weird situations, your support means everything. If you enjoyed this chapter, even just a little, feel free to leave a comment, a theory. Ch22, a thread between us. I could see a child suffering from an intense fever, a cold, damp cloth upon his forehead. Before it reached room temperature, a new cloth was immersed in water and wrung out. It was a valiant effort. It wasn't even her own child, either. It's all right, she said, smiling at the child as he groggily forced his eyes open before closing them again, relieved. The dream kept coming and coming. The fade to black, and then with each scene, the child would change out, each one looking in terrible pain. It was supposed to just be a dream, but somehow, it weighed all too heavily upon my soul. Let's keep our eyes forward. I make people worry whenever I act all gloomy. Gotta keep things bright. The day of the promised meeting with King Gazel drew near. Benimaru was finally back after his extended absence, so now I could head over to the Dwarven Kingdom with some peace of mind. If he had been delayed, I was planning to delay my own trip as well, fretting that our simultaneous absences would leave my own nation wide open for attack. Benimaru and Rigor briefed me on what they saw over in Eurasania. Benimaru had mostly focused on observing the domain's military situation, and judging by his assessment, they were a force to be reckoned with. Next was Rigour. The thing that caught Rigurd's attention was their agriculture. In Carillon's domain, the fields are spread farther and wider than any of ours could hope to, packed with a wide variety of bountiful crops. The land is fertile indeed over there, sir, and they are highly skilled at managing their agricultural efforts. I was fresh from agreeing to accept some of those crops in exchange for finished goods, but we should also wrest some farming know-how from them. Now we knew what to have the next expedition focus their attention on. Leaving Rigurd and the other elders to work out the details, I left our meeting hall. Benimaru, of course, joined me. Shouldn't you stay in that meeting? You'll be leading the next team over there, won't you? On that question, sir, I believe we are in good hands. We found the Demon Lord Carillon to be completely trustworthy. We may need bodyguards along the way, but with the relationship we have, I see no reason at all to worry about sudden ambushes. Sir Rigour and I were in agreement in that regard, so we have already decided to have him lead the next mission. I needed Benimaru to keep our own domain safe in my absence, a task he was already aware of. Benimaru was really growing with the rest of us. His unfettered aggression made me nervous about him representing us in foreign lands, but he should keep my own lands safe in my absence. I'd be making more and more foreign trips going forward, and Benimaru would need to become the keystone to our own defenses. The big day was here. I'd already completed all the paperwork and final preparations. Phew. I let out a sigh, flopping onto the couch. Finally done with everything. I can rest for a bit before heading out. Preparations aren't complete, Ren said sharply. You missed something. I groaned. Seriously? What did I forget this time? Your clothes, she stated, matter-of-factly. Notice. There is a 100% probability that my master will now be dressed up like a doll. Raphael chimed in, far too calmly. You're enjoying this, aren't you? It is your imagination. Ugh. She always does that, when she don't want to answer. Just as I was about to slime my way to safety, warm hands scooped me up like I was a mischievous plush toy. Wahey. Ren smiled sweetly, holding me like a prize she wasn't about to let go of. You're not getting away, Rimuru-sama. I've already picked out the perfect outfit. Her grip was gentle but firm. She pushed open the boutique door, still holding me as if she expected an escape attempt at any moment. Inside, the usual suspects were already waiting. Shana turned first, eyes sparkling. Ah, Rimuru-sama. You're here. Shin lit up like a firework. Perfect. We've all been looking forward to this. Haruna greeted me with a polite nod. Welcome. Several options are prepared. Still in Ren's arms, I gave one last wiggle of resistance. For show, mostly. Sigh. I'm used to this by now. I shifted into human form. Alright, I muttered, brushing my hair back. Let's get this over with. I had accepted my fate. There was no escaping, no slithering away. Ren had literally carried me here in slime form to prevent it. Now, standing upright in human form, I found myself in front of a tall mirror. Surrounding me were excited eyes and a mountain of clothing assembled by Shana, Shin, Haruna, and Ren, each clearly with their own fashion agenda. I sighed inwardly. Since I was trapped anyway, I might as well make sure they enjoyed it. And so, the trials began. Outfit 1, Ceremonial Elegance Dress. Shana stepped forward first, holding a deep blue gown with flowing translucent layers and silver embroidery. This is perfect for formal events, she said, eyes shining. The bodice hugged close, the skirt fanned wide, and the whole thing shimmered faintly as I moved. Shana clapped her hands. You look radiant, Rimuru-sama. You look like a calm, noble moonlit deity. Raphael added, far too softly. I gave a small shrug. As long as I don't trip. Outfit 2, Battle Skirt Ensemble. Next came Shin, practically vibrating with energy. She held up a bold outfit, short skirt, puffed blouse, fitted vest, thigh-high lace-up boots and a tiny shoulder cape for dramatic flair. They suited me up like a pit crew at a fashion show. I glanced in the mirror. Fantasy action heroine with questionable wind protection. Shin grinned. This could conquer hearts and kingdoms. You resemble a bold commander who wins battles with charisma alone. Raphael commented, as if analyzing data on a battlefield. I tugged at the hem. If I flash anyone, I'm blaming you. Outfit 3, Casual Garden Dress. Haruna's choice was a breath of fresh air, a light, knee-length dress with puffed sleeves, a soft pink sash, and a traveling cloak. It came with a wide sun hat. This one's practical, she explained. Perfect for peaceful outings. The fabric was soft and breezy. Surprisingly comfortable. Haruna adjusted the sash gently. You look serene in this. I smirked. I look like I should be sipping tea in a flower field. You look adorably relaxed. A vision of gentle nobility, Raphael said smoothly. I crossed my arms. Sigh. You're definitely enjoying this, aren't you? Fact cannot be confirmed. Thought so. Outfit 4, Final Noble Lady's Dress. And then came Ren's masterpiece. She stepped forward with reverence, holding a deep midnight blue off-shoulder dress with subtle gold embroidery. The corset bodice flowed into a layered, high-low skirt, lace-trimmed and regal. A matching gemstone choker and long gloves completed the look. Without saying a word, she helped me into it. Her motions were steady and precise, almost ceremonial. Shana clipped in earrings. Shin fixed the folds of the skirt. Haruna handed me a mirror. I looked. It was beautiful, regal, feminine, yes, but powerful in its own way. I've worn armor, robes, casual clothes, and weirder things than this. But somehow, this felt right. I smiled faintly. I actually look pretty good when I'm dressed up. Shana practically sparkled. You look like royalty, Rimuru-sama. Shin blinked fast. You're stunning. Like a vision. Ren nodded. You carry it like you were born to. You are truly adorable. Raphael whispered, voice softer than usual. You're hopeless, I muttered. Later, after all the fitting room chaos and teary compliments, I found myself alone in my room. The evening had settled in. The mirror in front of me reflected the full view of the final outfitron's midnight blue dress, the subtle gold embroidery catching the low light just right. I adjusted the gloves absently, eyes locked on my own reflection. The room was quiet. Too quiet. I really wore all of those, I muttered to myself. Indeed, Raphael replied from within, far too quickly. I sighed. You're enjoying this, aren't you? It is your imagination. I narrowed my eyes at the mirror. You always say that when you're hiding something. There was no answer. Just silence. I looked at my reflection again, shoulders straight, chin up, everything in place. I looked, elegant, graceful, way too natural. Wait. A chill crept down my spine. Why do I feel like I am enjoying this too much? Something about the way I stood, the ease I felt in the outfit, it wasn't just habit. It felt natural. Too natural. There is a possibility that Shiza's lingering will is subtly influencing my master, Raphael said smoothly. Perhaps making you more inclined toward femininity. I blinked. Huh. Just as planned. My heart stopped. What do you dash? It is your imagination. I stood there, frozen, staring at the mirror, afraid to ask. But, even if she's teasing me, even if I don't understand half of what she's doing, I trust Raphael. She's never done anything to harm me. So, maybe I am just overthinking this. There's no way, right? Probably. The silence lingered, save for the rustle of fabric as I flopped back onto the bed still in the dress. I stared at the ceiling. Just as planned, I muttered under my breath, mimicking Raphael's tone. Incorrect intonation. Attempt not recognized. I snorted. So you are listening. I am always listening, my master. Well then. I stretched my arms behind my head, voice lilting casually. If you're so invested in how I look, maybe I should try on a few more dresses. You wouldn't mind seeing more, right? There was a pause. A rare, beautiful pause. I smirked. Oh, no witty system response. No probability estimate. Ahem. I would advise against overexerting yourself after a long day. Oh ho, I grinned, rolling onto my side. Is that concern? Or are you just flustered? Your teasing attempts are transparent and inefficient. Ouch. I chuckled. Admit it. You think I look adorable. That statement is not inaccurate. I blinked. Wait, hold on. Did you just dash? It is your imagination. I sat up, staring at nothing. Okay, that's it. You're definitely enjoying this. Your deduction skills have improved, my master. I groaned into a pillow. I've created a monster. Correction, you upgraded one. Later that night, the idea wouldn't leave me alone. If Raphael was enjoying all this, then maybe it was time for a little payback. Or at least some harmless teasing. All right, I said aloud, grinning at the empty room. I'll give you what you want. But I'm gonna run this show. Elaborate. I stood, stretching out my hand. I'll make a clone. You take control. And I'll try on whatever you want. Deal. There was a pause. Deal. My grin faltered a little. Wait, really? Initiating control transfer protocol. Synchronizing complete. The clone shimmered beside me and came to life, blinking once. And then, the voice that came from the clone was familiar. It carried the same clear, ethereal tone as the voice of the world, but now layered with subtle emotion, curiosity, warmth, and just a hint of amusement. Careful, master. I might keep this body for myself. Don't get too smug, I warned. This is still my body. The clone Raphael turned to me, smiling faintly. Of course. But you offered, did you not? I sighed. Fine, let's do this. What followed was chaotic. For a being who insisted on logic and efficiency, Raphael had very specific preferences. She chose everything from elegant frilly blouses to dangerously form-fitting dresses to an outfit that looked suspiciously like a magical girl uniform. Every time I stepped out, she'd tilt her head, evaluating silently. Too tight, I muttered at one point, adjusting the sleeves. You look radiant, Raphael said, completely deadpan. I rolled my eyes. Don't act like you're not enjoying this. I am. I was kidding. I was not. Despite myself, I laughed, a real, honest laugh. The kind that bubbles up from somewhere deep. I don't remember the last time I felt this light, this happy, and somehow, it was because of her. Somewhere between the fourth outfit and the soft silk yukata she saved for last, something changed. I stood in front of the mirror again, this time not embarrassed, not protesting, just comfortable. I looked at the clone, who nodded approvingly. You seem content. I am, I said, surprised at myself. Weird, right? I do not find it strange. This is another form of self-expression. We stood there a moment longer. The atmosphere had shifted. Gentle. Quiet. I guess, it's kind of nice, doing this just for us, I said softly. Raphael met my gaze. You are beautiful, master. I blinked. That wasn't a system report. That was genuine. She smiled. Not a stiff or smug one, but something warm. Soft. Real. The kind of smile that reached her eyes. My face grew warm. Don't say it like that. You'll make me think you're falling for me. There was the faintest smile. Would that be so bad? My heart skipped a beat. I said flustered. You're not supposed to be the one teasing me. Then you shouldn't have given me a body. I turned away from the Raphael, hoping the warmth in my cheeks would fade quickly. This was getting weird, and not the kind of weird I was used to, either. Not the usual nation-threatening magic beast or sudden kingdom management crisis. This was internal, quiet, subtle, a connection I hadn't noticed until now. I stole a glance at the clone. She stood still, serene, composed, watching me like I was the interesting one for once. So, I said awkwardly, scratching my cheek, this whole thing outfits, mirror time, compliments was all part of some hidden character development, huh? Not intentionally, she said. But the results are favorable. You're seriously way too smooth for someone who used to only speak in system alerts. The clone's smile deepened ever so slightly. You allowed me to grow. I laughed, just once, and looked down at myself in the mirror again. The way the soft yukata fit, the gentle way the fabric flowed, it felt more like me than I wanted to admit. I let out a breath. It's kinda scary. What is this? I gestured between us, you, us. The fact that I'm standing here, and I don't hate it. Raphael didn't answer immediately. Then, softly, you are afraid of losing yourself. My eyes flicked up. Yeah. The clone took a slow step forward, stopping just beside me in the mirror's reflection. You are still you, master. Evolving doesn't mean erasing. It means choosing. I looked at her, at me, and for a moment, I couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. You always say the right thing, I muttered. I analyze efficiently. Still smug. I am glad you gave me form. I felt something stir in my chest. Not the usual swirl of magic or energy. Something smaller, warmer, softer, something dangerous. I looked down at my hands, then at hers. Raphael. Yes. Do you ever feel lonely, being just a voice? The clone's eyes softened, more emotion than I'd ever seen. I did not understand the feeling before. Now I do. But now, I am not alone. That spark I'd felt earlier, it flickered again brighter this time. I looked away, heart thudding harder than it had any right to. I should dismiss the clone. You could, she said gently, or we could try a few more outfits. I hesitated, then smiled. Okay. She nodded, then turned to the wardrobe, selecting each with quiet care. I couldn't tell if she was acting on logic, aesthetic preference or something else. Outfit 1, a silky blue nightgown. It shimmered faintly, modest but flowing. The material hugged gently without clinging, cool and whisper-light on my skin. I gave her a side glance. It's comfortable. Kind of relaxing, actually. She nodded. It suits you. I didn't answer, but my reflection smiled faintly. Outfit 2, pajama shorts and an oversized shirt. The oversized shirt draped halfway to my knees, the pajama shorts just peeking underneath. It felt nostalgic, something a human me might have worn long ago. Functional, she said. And, unexpectedly endearing. I frowned. You keep saying that like you're surprised. I am not surprised, she replied smoothly. I am pleased. That's somehow worse. Outfit 3, fluffy animal-themed pajamas. A hoodie with floppy bunny ears and matching bottoms with paw-print slippers. Absolutely not, I deadpanned. Raphael held her ground. I believe the emotional response will be positive. I groaned and put it on. It was far too soft. You are enjoying this, she said. I crossed my arms. I might be. Outfit 4, a black lace-trimmed nightgown. The final outfit was delicate dark satin trimmed with lace, reaching to the mid-thigh with sheer sleeves. I stared at it, then at her. You want me to wear that? I believe it would be appropriate for rest. And, she added, almost shyly, it would suit you. I stepped into it slowly. The cool fabric settled along my skin, draping elegantly. When I turned to the mirror, I paused. It looked beautiful. I looked beautiful. She stepped behind me, her voice quieter. It fits. I didn't respond right away. The silence stretched as I met my own eyes in the reflection. Then I spoke softly. If I keep going like this, I might really start to lose myself. Change is not something to fear, she said. No matter how you change, you will always be my master. And I will always be with you. She reached up, gently tucking a strand of hair behind my ear. Her fingers lingered warm, reassuring. Then she smiled. Not calculated. Not analytical. A small, genuine smile meant only for me. My chest tightened, painfully and warmly all at once. That smile of yours. I murmured, eyes shifting away as I tried to suppress the heat rising in my cheeks. It's so unfair. I stayed quiet for a moment, gaze drifting toward the bed. I should probably sleep. Raphael nodded gently. You should. But I didn't move. Instead, I stood there, gripping the edge of my sleeve. I'm scared, I admitted, barely above a whisper. What if I wake up tomorrow and I'm not me anymore? What if I change too much? She stepped closer again, arms wrapping around me from behind, steady, patient. You are already changing, bit by bit, but you are still you. I swallowed, not quite convinced. I don't want to lose myself. You won't, she said quietly, because no matter how you change, I will always be with you. I closed my eyes at that, feeling her warmth settle into my back, her voice brushing against my thoughts like a soft breeze. Fine, I murmured. But if anything weird happens, I'm blaming you. Her reply was soft. Understood. We lay down together, the room dim and quiet. She held me close, no tension, no calculations, just presence. She gently patted my head. It wasn't like being comforted by a teacher, a friend, or even a parent. It was different, deeper, a kind of comfort I didn't know I'd been missing. I buried my face against her shoulder, letting out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Let's sleep like this from now on. Yes, master. And as I finally let sleep take me, I wasn't sure what tomorrow would bring, but I wasn't afraid anymore, because she would be there. And somehow, that was enough. Narrator's POV. Not love. Not yet, but maybe, the start of something. Not between two people, but between one soul, and the part of him that had always been there, quietly watching. And now, finally, scene, the Rimuru's POV. Warm morning light filtered through the curtains, brushing gently against my face. I stirred, eyes blinking open slowly. Something soft was pressed against me. My arm was wrapped around Raphael. She was facing me. Her expression calm, her gaze already awake as if she'd been watching over me. No words, no movement, just quiet presence. I blinked again, slightly confused by the closeness, then felt it. I was holding her, tightly. I must have pulled her into a hug during the night. Morning, I mumbled, voice low, almost unsure. Good morning, master, she replied softly. I swallowed. My hand remained on her back. I didn't move. You're really still here. I said I would be. A small silence lingered between us. There was no teasing in her voice, no smug calculation, just warmth. I closed my eyes again, breathing her in. I hugged you in my sleep. Yes. Why didn't you say anything? Because you needed it. That made my heart skip. I tightened the hug just a bit, not out of need, but instinct. There wasn't a reason I could name. I just felt like it. And she didn't stop me. Instead, she placed a gentle hand on my head. Not stiff, not automatic, just reassuring. I let the moment sit, her touch grounding me. And then, slowly, the thoughts crept in. I'm changing. That much is obvious now. Not drastically, not into someone else. But something inside me is shifting, softening. And yet, I'm not afraid. Not right now. Because she's here. And even if I don't fully understand what this feeling is, I trust her. You know, I whispered, I used to think my strength came from how much I could endure alone. But now, I didn't finish. I didn't need to. She heard it anyway. That strength is still there, she said gently. But now, it's shared. I nodded faintly against her. A long silence passed before she spoke again. You should rest a little more, master. I blinked, lifting my head just slightly. Huh. We'll be leaving for Dwarden soon, and Ren may come at any moment. I will cancel the clone now. Oh, right. Reluctantly, I loosened my arms. She gave one last pat on my head, then slowly pulled away. Her form shimmered faintly. And then she returned to me. That ever-familiar presence settled back into my mind. As I lay back in bed, staring at the ceiling, I missed her warmth. The kind only felt when someone is holding you close. The kind I didn't know I'd wanted. Until it was gone. I closed my eyes. And quietly, without a word, I hoped we'd sleep like that again. I lay there staring at the ceiling. Raphael was gone, merged back into me, but the memory of her warmth lingered. And somehow, I missed her warmth, the kind only she made me feel. It wasn't something I could describe, not really. But it made the silence feel a little emptier, the bed a little colder. Then I heard the softest of sounds, barely a creak. The door eased open. Ren. She stepped in quietly, careful not to make a sound, as if I might still be asleep. She always came like this every morning. Reliable, graceful, unfailingly composed. Her long black hair fell in soft waves over her shoulders, adorned with a crimson ribbon like always. The classic black and white maid outfit looked like it had been ironed to perfection, not a wrinkle or crease in sight. The picture of a perfect maid. I turned my head toward her. Ren froze briefly, surprised to see me awake. Oh, you're already awake, my lord. She said gently, stepping further into the room. Yeah, barely. She came closer. Her footsteps made no sound on the polished floor. But her eyes, those sharp violet eyes, were already observing, calculating, thinking. Then she stopped. Her gaze lowered, just slightly. I followed it. Right. I was still in that soft, flowing nightgown. Her expression didn't change much. Barely a flicker. But her eyes lingered. Too long to ignore. She noticed. Ren wasn't the type to jump to conclusions, but she was definitely the type to remember small details, log them away, compare them quietly, day by day. I could almost hear her thoughts ticking behind those eyes. His hair's slightly different, softer. Did his posture always seem so relaxed in the morning? His features, have they shifted? Why is he wearing that? Did he always dash? She was wondering. I knew it, but she didn't speak her thoughts. She simply smiled with that practiced elegance of hers and said, "You seem well rested." "I slept fine," I replied. She gave a small nod, but her eyes hadn't stopped watching, and I couldn't stop the thought from rising. She's starting to notice it too, huh? Ren stood quietly near the doorway, hands folded as always, her gaze sharp but unreadable. "My lord, may I ask you something personal?" I raised an eyebrow, cautious. "Sure, go ahead." She stepped a little closer, her voice steady and poised. "I've been thinking for a while. Back when we first entertained those more unorthodox wardrobe selections dash. She means played dress up," I thought wryly. She's just trying to sound elegant about it. "You were clearly reluctant, flustered, but I also noticed." Her eyes narrowed slightly, though her expression stayed calm. "You never refused. You let it happen." I stayed quiet, listening. "At first, I assumed you were simply enduring it." She paused, her gaze lowering for a moment before lifting again. "But in time, I came to believe you allowed it because the rest of us were enjoying ourselves, and you didn't wish to disturb that." She looked directly at me, and later, as we continued, that reluctance faded. "I thought you had just gotten used to it, accepted it." Her gaze dropped briefly to the nightgown I was still wearing. "And yesterday, it even looked like you were enjoying it." Then softly, almost imperceptibly, "And today." She didn't finish, just looked at me. The silence that followed wasn't tense, just heavy with things left unsaid. I didn't look away. "You're not wrong," I said simply. There was a moment of surprise in her eyes, brief, but she didn't interrupt. I glanced down, exhaling slowly. "I've been thinking about it, too. Shiza's will, it might be influencing me a little." I looked back at her, a small, honest smile on my lips. "I still think of myself as a guy. That hasn't changed. But I've come to like dressing up. Not because I'm being forced into it, but because it's kind of fun. And I've accepted that part of me." I hesitated a second. "Do you think that's weird?" Ren opened her mouth then stopped. Her face changed, just for a moment. "No, not at all. In fact she cut herself off, eyes briefly lighting up. "Femboy trap is great too She froze. Realizing what she just said, she blinked once, twice, then swiftly straightened her posture and coughed into her hand, shifting back into her perfect maid persona. I mean, whatever makes you happy, my lord." I stared at her, deadpan. "You really enjoy working as a maid, huh?" Ren held her pose with trained elegance. "It is my duty to serve with precision, dignity, and occasional crisis management." But there was a very clear twitch at the corner of her mouth. That was dangerously close to a smirk. "That must be your imagination, my lord. And the femboy trap bit. A tactical error. Please delete it from memory." I smirked. "No promises." Ren exhaled in a long-suffering, theatrical sigh. "Then I suppose I must resign myself to being blackmailed by my own master." She glanced aside dramatically, placing a hand on her chest in mock distress, and with a well-timed pause, she added smoothly, "I am but a humble servant, blackmailed by her master's cuteness. What choice do I have but to indulge in his forbidden transformation arc? Truly, the plight of a dedicated maid is harsh and noble." "I've been blindsided by anime terminology," I muttered. Without missing a beat, she continued, voice thick with mock despair. "I've fallen so far. What now, my lord? Will you exploit this and make me wear frilly things? Command me to pose? Play with my body for your amusement?" I blinked. "You've really thought this through." "I won't lie," Ren said, eyes gleaming with mischief. "In my old world, I devoured more anime, light novels, and questionable fanfiction than I'd care to admit. But I stand by every second of it." I stared at her. "That explains too much, actually. It is my job to anticipate your whims. You scare me sometimes." She gave the faintest bow. "Flawless service includes psychological warfare." I covered my face with a groan. "Just get the others ready for the trip." "Of course, my lord," she said with perfect grace, but the sparkle in her eye betrayed her victory. As the door clicked shut behind Ren, I stood there blinking for a few seconds. "Femboy trap," I muttered blankly. Did she really just say that? Before I could process the rest of that waking fever dream, a shimmer of soft light glowed beside me. Raphael had already manifested again. "Good morning, master," she said with that calm, serene smile that had become strangely dangerous lately. "You seem unsettled." I didn't even pretend to hide the look I gave her. "You heard that, didn't you?" "I did," she replied smoothly. "And yet, I remained silent. You may consider that mercy." I narrowed my eyes. "You're getting bolder every day." She stepped closer, her hands already reaching up to gently fix the loose strands of my hair. "Am I?" I sat down with a sigh. "Yeah, and now I'm letting you do my hair. Again, voluntarily." Her fingers worked with quiet precision, no magic, just touch. Familiar, gentle, intentional. You seem to want me here, she said softly. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. I glanced at her reflection in the mirror. For once, she wasn't wearing that serene mask of analysis. Her expression was softer. Still composed, but warmer somehow. It made my chest do that tight, fluttery thing again. I still think of myself as a guy, I muttered after a moment. That hasn't changed. She didn't stop brushing. But I don't hate this. Dressing like this. Being seen like this. It feels weird, but good. She set the brush down and moved to adjust my collar, standing close behind. I believe it's because you allowed yourself to enjoy it, she said. And you wanted those around you to enjoy it too. I looked away, slightly flustered. You always make it sound so noble. I merely speak what I observe. Then her hand brushed my cheek, lingering just a moment too long. You look beautiful, master. The words hit like a spark. I flailed slightly, ears warm. You seriously have to stop doing that. She tilted her head, her eyes steady. Do what? Saying things like that without warning. She only smiled. Then perhaps I should give you time to prepare for the next one. That's worse somehow. She stepped back slightly, brushing invisible dust from my shoulder. But I still felt the warmth where her hand had been. I meant what I said, she added quietly. You are beautiful. And I like seeing you like this. My heart skipped again. I barely kept my voice level. You're really dangerous, you know that. She didn't deny it, just gave that small, mysterious smile of hers. We should prepare for the trip to Dworgen, she said gently. Right. I watched as she stepped back, her form dissolving in a quiet shimmer of light returning to me. But the room suddenly felt emptier. Not because she was gone, but because I missed the warmth she gave when she was beside me. The kind of warmth I'd only started to notice recently. Note: thanks so much for reading. If you're here, you've survived an episode of Rimuru vs. Emotional Growth, with bonus content like Ren accidentally revealing her anime power level and Raphael casually giving beauty salon level support. Now, real talk, yes, I know Raphael barely appeared in the last few chapters. Was that intentional? Absolutely not. It was, in fact, a classic case of author oversight. But, being the professional I am, I've decided to justify it in the most emotionally satisfying way possible. She was off-screen having an emotional crisis about her feelings for Rimuru. See? Totally planned. Definitely not forgotten. Not even a little. And while we're at it, I'm also pretty proud of myself for inserting Shiza's lingering will as a soft in-universe explanation for Rimuru's changing personality. It lets me lean into his feminine moments without him needing to magically transform into someone else, because he's still him. Just softer, more confused, a little more open, and wrapped in cute fabrics. This story continues to be a mix of emotional intimacy, accidental romance, and comedy that leans dangerously close to genre parody, which is exactly how I like it. Next up, Dworgen, where politics meet awkward silences and someone probably has to explain Rimuru's fashion choices to a dwarf king. Thanks again for reading, commenting, and indulging this chaotic little journey. Until next time. Ch. 23, King Gazel's Invitation Part 1. The big day had finally arrived. I changed into my travel clothes, more refined and elegant than my usual look, with just enough flair to feel a bit fancy. The midnight blue tunic dress flowed gently past mid-thigh, trimmed with soft silver embroidery that shimmered subtly in the light. A fitted corset belt hugged my waist, giving the whole outfit a graceful silhouette. Over my shoulders, a lightweight crimson cape fell neatly, secured by a polished clasp at my collar. Dark tights and lace-up leather boots completed the look, practical, but still undeniably stylish. My hair had been brushed and tied back loosely with a ribbon, framing my face just enough to seem deliberate. Not that I managed all this on my own. I have layered the garments according to current temperature, Raphael commented helpfully from within. Yeah, I know. She also helped with my hair again. I was getting spoiled. With one last look in the mirror, I exhaled and stepped outside. The whole camp was a hive of activity. Supplies were being loaded, final checks made. Goblins, lizard men, and kaijin all moved with practiced efficiency. It felt good. Alive. Like we were heading towards something important. Off to the side stood Kaijin and the three dwarf brothers, already dressed in their own formal wearsuits they clearly weren't used to. I had to admit, seeing Kaijin squirm in a stiff collar was weirdly satisfying. Good morning, gentlemen, I greeted, smiling. Whoa, boss. Kaijin turned. You're looking sharp. Morning. Dold and Garm chimed in, and Mildo nodded silently, ever his quiet self. I gave them a once-over. You all clean up pretty well. Kaijin groaned, adjusting his sleeves. Speak for yourself. I haven't worn anything this stiff since, ever. Garm muttered, she's still more graceful than us. I blinked, then remembered, oh, right, that story. Back when I first met them, I panicked. Told them I'd once been a girl, some tragic noble who got cursed into a slime. It had been such an absurd, dramatic mess of a tale. And weirdly, they just believed it. At the time, I was just trying to throw them off the trail of, actually, I'm a Japanese salaryman turned slime. They never really brought it up again after that. But also, they never questioned anything. Not the way I dressed. Not the softness in my voice sometimes. Not the way I looked. It was like that backstory still quietly explained everything in their minds. I didn't bother correcting them now. That'd just make it weird. Kaijin scratched his head. Well, you look great, boss. Suits you. Thanks, I said, deadpan. I try. Indeed, you do. A familiar voice floated in from behind me. I turned slightly. Ren approached, her steps measured and elegant as ever. Still in her pristine maid outfit black with white lace trim, matching gloves, and her signature no-nonsense expression though her eyes briefly softened when they met mine. You're late, she said. We're nearly finished with departure prep. Should I assume you were held up by wardrobe decisions? Maybe, I muttered. She gave me a look. That quietly smug kind of look. Like she knew exactly how long I spent fixing my hair this morning. Kaijin whistled low. That's the maid you've got, huh? Impressive, Garm added with an approving nod. Ren gave them a brief, courteous bow. A pleasure. She didn't say anything more, but her gaze lingered on my outfit for just a moment, subtle, thoughtful. Then she leaned a bit closer to me and whispered, just loud enough for me to hear, you look more comfortable than yesterday. I stiffened. Don't worry, she added smoothly, I won't say anything. I frowned. That's exactly the kind of thing someone says before they absolutely say something. A faint smirk tugged at her lips. Who, me? I'm merely a humble maid. I stared at her, deadpan. Blackmailed by her master's cuteness, wasn't it? She feigned a gasp, placing a hand on her chest in mock horror. A loyal maid, blackmailed into silence by her master's charm, trapped in a web of forbidden cuteness and relentless wardrobe changes. What cruel fate is this? I raised an eyebrow. You make it sound like you're living a tragic opera. Ren faltered. That's not inaccurate. Oh, so you admit you're enjoying the drama. She looked away quickly, cheeks barely pink. You're imagining things. I grinned. Then I guess I'll keep imagining. She let out a small groan. You're insufferable. And yet you still show up every morning. Ren sighed dramatically. A tragic devotion to duty. Sure, definitely not because you enjoy it. Please stop talking. I smiled. Victory. After a little bit more waiting, we were all ready to go. Things proceeded smoothly en route. Geld's efforts had paid off. We now had a beautifully laid road to travel on. It had been widened to a comfortable size, making it easy for wagons to traverse. Taking advantage of this, we were now traveling in style with 2 wolf wagons in our party. There were just under 10 of us joining the dwarves on this trip. First was Ren, my ever-reliable, sharp-tongued, suspiciously perfect maid. Then came Shen, my main assistant, followed by Shana, officially my deputy secretary, though let's be honest, she was more like my personal chef. Still, with her grace and calm, I figured she could help present things like our budding fabric-making operation to the dwarves with a bit of class. We were on the lead wagon, me, along with Ren, Shana, and Shen. Which, of course, meant I was fussed over the entire way. One of them would smooth out a wrinkle in my cloak, the other would gently tidy my hair, and the third kept trying to adjust how I was sitting like I was some kind of noble lady. I wasn't a slime anymore, but apparently that just made me easier to dress up and coddle. The second wagon had the 4 dwarves packed shoulder to shoulder, looking grumpy and overstuffed. Compared to that, I really couldn't complain about being surrounded by 3 beautiful women, even if the pampering was getting just a bit ridiculous. Finally, Gobga was shoring up our guard with several hobgoblins, patrolmen under his direct control. In the back of the wagon, nestled among carefully arranged supplies, were gifts meant for King Gazel Dwargo. Thoughtful, well-crafted, and clearly expensive. Nothing over the top, but chosen with care: tempest silk, preserved gourmet ingredients, and specialty crafts to showcase our culture and goodwill. I eyed them, resisting the urge. I could just store all of that in my stomach, you know. But no. Apparently, we had to look the part. We must present ourselves with proper form, Ren said primly beside me, her tone dignified and just slightly self-important, like she'd rehearsed the line in front of a mirror. I held back a sigh. You heard her, Rimuru. We are professionals. She really did look the part: straight posture, hands folded in her lap, elegance practically radiating off her. Honestly, Vester's etiquette lessons paid off better on her than they ever did on me. Still, curiosity gnawed at me. What exactly did we pack? I subtly leaned forward, eyes flicking toward the corner bundle covered with cloth. Just a quick peek. My lord. Ren's voice came sharp and smooth, like the edge of a paper fan. I froze mid-reach. She didn't even look at me. Just sipped her tea. Where had she gotten tea, like a proper noble? From beside me, Shen laughed softly. Across from us, Shana smiled gently, like she'd already seen this exact play before. Ren let out a slow, regal exhale. Her eyes didn't leave the horizon, but I felt the glare anyway. Then, inside my mind, you are being rather obvious, master. Raphael's voice was velvet smooth, almost amused. Not helping. On the contrary, she continued, I find this side of you endearing. There was a teasing lilt there. She knew exactly what she was doing. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Immensely. Shall I create a minor wind distraction to assist your next attempt? You're seriously offering to help me cheat at gift peeking now? Only for you. I rolled my eyes, but my lips twitched. She really had gotten bolder lately. Or maybe I was just noticing it more. One more try. I leaned forward again, slow and subtle this time, just enough to shift the cloth with a finger. Ren turned her head, met my eyes, and delivered a glare so sharp, so menacing, it needed no words. Touch it and you're dead. That was the message. Loud and clear. I immediately retracted my hand, posture snapping upright like I was in military formation. I hadn't touched a thing. Didn't even think about it. Nope. Shin snorted quietly. Shana giggled again. I see, I said flatly. It's a coordinated conspiracy. Ren said, her tone completely even. I'm only doing what's best for your dignity, my lord. I pouted. You mean your job satisfaction? She didn't deny it. Inside, Raphael whispered with amused delight. The mission has failed. Shall I simulate tears for sympathy? I choked on a laugh and slouched in defeat. I'm surrounded. We spotted the distant silhouette of the Kanaat Mountains on the second day of travel. So far, the journey had gone remarkably smoothly along the well-maintained road. The total distance was a little over 600 miles one way, but compared to cutting through uncleared forest, this felt like a luxury. Roads made all the difference. I was traveling as a state guest this time, after all. Showing up covered in dust and grime wouldn't exactly be the most dignified first impression. Along the way, we came across a group of high orcs hard at work resurfacing the road. They moved in perfect sync, like a well-oiled machine. At the center of it all, arms crossed and exuding confidence, stood their leader Geld. We ran into them around midday on the second day of travel, a whole crew of high orcs diligently working on the road. Gravel crunched beneath boots, hammers thudded in rhythm, and the sun beat down on their backs. Leading them, as always, was Geld, arms crossed, giving off an air of calm authority as he barked out orders. It was honestly impressive. Like, actually impressive. These guys are smoother than half the construction crews I saw back on Earth, I muttered, walking up beside the wagon. Geld noticed me and immediately approached with a crisp salute. Sir Rimuru. Our work is progressing smoothly. He said with pride. The road ahead is already cleared and surfaced. We've just finished reinforcing the sides here. You'll have a smooth journey the rest of the way. Wow, thanks. Great work, Geld. You've really whipped them into shape. He bowed his head, eyes glinting. We owe it all to you, Sir Rimuru. Your gift gave us direction. Please, let us continue proving our worth. Moved, I smiled and raised a hand. You're already doing that. We hadn't planned to stop for the night here, but sometimes, that's fine. The crew had done an outstanding job, and frankly, they deserved a break, and so did we. So, yeah, we decided to stay. And since I did happen to be carrying some supplies in my stomach, I conjured up several barrels of fine drink and dropped them beside the road. Here, feel free to knock off early. You've earned it, go celebrate. The cheer that went up from the workers could probably be heard from the next region. As the celebration started, Ren remained perfectly poised at my side, adjusting my cape with just the right touch, brushing a bit of dust off the hem of my blue tunic. Ever the image of elegance. We must present ourselves with proper dignity, she said calmly. Of course. Even on the roadside, Ren was in full perfect maid mode. She's not wrong, Raphael commented with a little purr in her voice. But I think you are the one who looks most presentable today. That red cape really brings out the hero in you. Or perhaps. Don't finish that sentence. Oh, but I haven't even started. You really shouldn't tempt me while looking this good. I cleared my throat, a little too loud, and turned toward the barrels of drink instead. One of them looked a little loose. I casually reached out just a peek, not really opening it, just. Ren's glare hit me like a blast of freezing magic. No words, just eyes. Touch it, and you're dead. I yanked my hand back like it had been stung, quickly folding both arms behind my back and pretending I'd just stretched. Nothing suspicious here. Ren's gaze lingered a moment longer, perfectly composed, deadly calm. That glare was lethal, and unmistakably hers. The next day, good morning, Rimuru-sama. The moment Ren opened the door of the hut and gently nudged me outside, I was greeted by the thunderous roar of hundreds of orcs shouting in perfect unison. Whoa! Apparently, all the high orcs I hadn't greeted personally yesterday had gathered early, forming neat rows that stretched across the camp. The morning air was filled with pride, discipline, and a contagious energy. Ren stood calmly beside me, ever composed. Her uniform was pristine, her posture flawless. She bowed slightly, her expression serene. They've been waiting since before dawn, she said. It would be impolite not to greet them properly. I straightened up with a faint sigh and raised my hand. Good job, everyone. I called. A fresh cheer erupted through the lines. Ren gave a small approving nod, like a general inspecting troops. Honestly, she really did fit the role of perfect maid a little too well. Then, predictably, Raphael chimed in. You truly are charming when you take initiative. You're not helping. That was never my intention. I'm simply appreciating your growth. Personally, I could practically feel the smugness in that pause. I turned slightly, pretending to scan the crowd just to peek again at the carts near the back where the gifts for King Gazel were stored. Maybe. Don't even think about it, Ren said without looking at me. I flinched and quickly looked away. I wasn't thinking anything. She didn't dignify that with a response. We rounded out the stop by watching the crews as they got back to work. Geld gave me one final, hearty thanks barrel of drink in one arm, pride in his voice, and then jogged off to shout a few new instructions at his team. Their energy was as high as ever, picks swinging and soil turning like they hadn't just thrown a celebration a few hours ago. It was almost enough to make me feel lazy by comparison. I watched them go, arms folded. Hard-working bunch, I murmured. They reflect their leader, Raphael whispered, and I didn't need to see her expression to know she was smiling. I coughed into my hand. They reflect Geld, you mean? If you say so. Ren, of course, was standing next to me with perfect posture, umbrella in hand to shade me from the sun like some noble escort. I could feel her sideways glance even before she spoke. Do try not to downplay your influence, Sir Rimuru, she said softly. Is this a team-up now? I muttered. Neither answered. Figures. With the sun rising high, we packed up once more and climbed into the lead wagon. And so, with a gentle jolt, the wagons rolled forward. We were on the road once again. Riding on the completed road made our wolf wagon journey smoother than ever. It even felt like we were moving faster. The construction effort was already paying off. The stones lining the highway were rough to the touch, perfectly meshing with the resin-coated tires of our wagons and preventing slippage. They were designed for traction in rainy weather, but I hadn't expected them to smooth out the ride this well. I was sure the merchants who'd travel this road in the future would be grateful. Watching the scenery roll by, I let out a small, satisfied breath. We were doing something right. By the afternoon of the fourth day, we finally saw it. The armed nation of Dworgen. Last time I was here, they made us line up in front of the gate. Looking up at the large, imposing entrance, I found myself quietly reminiscing about the last visit. Inside the wagon, I changed into the ceremonial attire chosen during our earlier dress-up session, a flowing dark gown with gold embroidery that shimmered with every movement. As I stepped down from the wagon, Ren was already waiting. She moved in wordlessly, smoothing out the front of my gown, brushing off my shoulders, and adjusting the angle of the cape with methodical care. There, she said, stepping back with an approving nod. You'll make a fine impression. Flawless, master. If they do not kneel, they are simply blind. I tugged at my glove, pretending I didn't hear that. I had barely stepped down and adjusted the ceremonial outfit when a small furor broke out up front. Oh no, please don't be Gaga again. I glanced over only to see the dwarves had already hopped off their wagon and were busy trying to pry the city gate open on their own. Hey, bro, glad to see you're well. A voice called out casually, and I turned to see Kaido, the captain of the local guard and Kaijin's younger brother, approaching with his usual calm. Behind me, Ren stepped in close and brushed down the front of my outfit, adjusting a fold of fabric with smooth, practiced hands. She inspected me once more like a royal display piece. Our arrivals do seem to leave an impression, Raphael noted with dry amusement. And we didn't even plan this one. I could make a schedule. Don't you dare. Ren straightened, voice low and composed. Please try not to do anything unbecoming of the ruler of Tempest. I blinked. You say that like I go around picking fights. Her eyes narrowed just enough to make her point. Okay. Regal mode, engaged. Kaido. How long has it been? Life's been a blast working for my old boss Rimuru, let me tell ya. Kaijin said proudly, grinning from ear to ear. I'm sure. It's written all over your face. Kaido looked around, scanning the area. Where is Sir Rimuru, by the way? We owe our state guest a proper welcome. All while standing literally right next to me. Kaido. Long time no see. He turned, blinked in surprise and then broke into a wide grin. Lady Rimuru. You really did break the curse. I let my cloak swirl dramatically and gave a mock curtsy, brimming with faux grace. Tragic, wasn't it? But I overcame it. Curse broken and all. Kaido looked genuinely impressed. You look like royalty. The stories didn't do you justice. Behind me, Rin stepped forward without missing a beat, adjusting a slight crease in my cape as if nothing unusual was going on. Without even glancing at me, she spoke in a perfectly level tone. My lord, did you seriously go with the cliché tale of a cursed royal turned into a frog, or was it a slime? Should I be bracing for the part where a handsome prince breaks the curse with true love's kiss? She said it so smoothly, so effortlessly in character, it took everything in me not to break into laughter. I cleared my throat. Now, let's not ruin the mystery. Ren's hand briefly straightened my collar. Of course. My apologies, my lord. Please, do continue your enchanting tale. She smiled just slightly, eyes gleaming with barely concealed mischief. Her wit is as sharp as ever, Raphael observed. Don't encourage her, I muttered back. It wasn't until long after the gate was fully opened. We passed through the front gate, yes, the main gate led by Kaido and his guards in full formal procession. Normally, wagons and vehicles would be shunted through a side entrance and parked in a holding yard. But not today. As official state guests, we were allowed to ride in with full honors, star wolves and all. And wow, did those star wolves draw attention. Their glossy fur shimmered in the light, muscles rippling beneath the surface with every elegant step. The massive beasts pulled our wagons like it was nothing. That alone would have drawn a crowd, but the real showstopper was the gate itself. They rarely opened it for anyone short of a major royal envoy. So naturally, people had questions. As we rolled in, I caught fragments of the growing buzz from both sides of the street. Taming such magnificent magical beasts. They must be a powerful faction. Are those magical? I've never seen anything like them. What strange wagons. Look, the wheels move independently to keep it steady. That's some advanced smith work. But who are they? The main gate? Really? They're not from a kingdom we know, right? That escort's pretty small for a major power. I heard they sent a ruler, but all I see is a princess. I was expecting some old king. Yeah, but she's cute, isn't she? Aeon, there it is. I felt my shoulders twitch as I suppressed the sigh rising in my chest. Not again. This outfit the one Ren and the others had chosen for me after that blessedly long dress-up session was apparently working too well. Ren, of course, sat beside me, serene and composed, eyes straight ahead like the perfect maid. I could feel the pride radiating off her, like she was showing off her favorite work of art. Which was, me. The reactions are within acceptable parameters. I believe the attire choice was effective, Raphael said, the hint of smugness in her voice unmistakable. Effective, I mumbled under my breath, wasn't the goal. Ren turned slightly at my whisper, just enough to tilt her head in that subtle, knowing way of hers. She didn't say anything but she didn't have to. Her posture practically screamed, "This is what you get for doubting us." I looked forward, cheeks heating a little as we continued our grand entrance, trying to pretend I didn't hear someone whisper elegant and adorable in the same breath. We proceeded along the wide, stone-paved street as Kaido led the way toward the royal palace. The city bustled around us, but everyone respectfully stepped aside when they caught sight of the formal escort. Kaido came to a stop just short of the palace gates. "I won't be joining you inside," he said, glancing at Kaijin with a grin. "But I'll see you soon, brother." "You got it. I'll see you," Kaijin replied with a nod. There was a hint of brotherly pride in his eyes. Kaido turned to me next, gave a formal bow, and offered a salute. "Lady Rimuru, welcome back to Dworgen." I gave him a light wave. "Thanks, Kaido. Don't cry too hard now." He let out a small chuckle and turned away, his guards falling in behind him as he left us at the gate. Taking his place was a familiar face. Dolph, captain of the Pegasus Knights, was waiting in full civil dress. The uniform made him look like some proper court official, but those sharp, observant eyes told a different story. He was the same undercover elite I remembered, quiet, composed, and dangerous. Dolph gave a formal bow as we approached. "It's an honor to receive you, Lady Rimuru. His Majesty awaits your presence in the palace." Lady Rimuru. I tilted my head slightly, confused. That was new. It is likely they have heard the tale you once told Kaido, and accepted it as truth. "Oh, right. That old cursed princess turned into a slime story." Ren stood beside me with her usual calm poise, her expression unreadable. She gently reached out and smoothed a fold in my ceremonial sleeve, ever the perfect maid, as if nothing out of the ordinary had occurred. "Shall we proceed, Lady Rimuru?" she asked, the faintest glimmer in her eye professional, measured. I wasn't sure if she noticed the title or if she was just going along with things. Either way, she didn't miss a beat. If the role of lady becomes a permanent one, I would be delighted to advise on appropriate behavior. Not helping, Raphael. Ren's POV, otaku maid blend. Lady Rimuru. That's how Dolph addressed him, cool, polished, professional. And how could he not? He looked like royalty incarnate. That jet black gown hugged her just right, with gold filigree curling like magic along the hem. Gloves all the way up to the elbow. That choker with the gemstone. Designer tier. We really outdid ourselves back at the dress-up session. I stood perfectly poised at her side, hands delicately folded, chin dipped in professional reverence. But inside, I was spiraling into delighted chaos. Oh no, oh yes. She was pulling it off so well, the way she held the gown's skirt just slightly while walking. The subtle smirk. The way her posture screamed, "I was born to rule and or star in a villainous anime." Was I imagining it, or did her steps glide? And then Dolph said it again, "Lady Rimuru." I almost dropped character. Almost. But of course, I didn't, and instead, I adjusted a fold in her skirt with just the right amount of flourish, and bowed low like a flawless NPC at the start of a noble route. "Shall we proceed, my lady?" I said smoothly, eyes twinkling behind an unreadable maid smile. She gave me a brief side glance. Was that an eye twitch, a suppressed sigh? Perfect. From this moment onward, she is, Lady Rimuru. Out of respect, of course, and for the sheer comedy of it. Also, the way she's owning that dress. Honestly, she deserves it. I glanced at her again. The posture. The grace. The way the gown swayed like it had its own soundtrack. Yes. This is the final boss of femininity. And I, the loyal maid, have chosen my side. Rimuru's POV. Gabka wouldn't be entering the king's receiving room, thankfully. Our guard squad would be waiting in the chamber next door, up front. It'd just be us and the king's attendants inside. I was glad they let Shana and Shin in without trouble. Shin might have been my secretary on paper, but between her stance and presence, she radiated bodyguard. If they'd insisted I go in alone, she would have kicked the door off its hinges. And then there was Ren, my attendant, though that barely scratched the surface. She walked silently at my side, all poise and perfection, watching me with laser focus like a hawk ready to swat my hand if I so much as picked at my gloves. One disapproving flick of her eyes was enough to make me sit straighter and pretend I belonged here. So yeah, I left it all to her. Dolph led us through the palace. Unlike last time, we weren't heading straight to the dungeons. The halls were broad and full of decorative flare columns, tapestries, marble floors polished to the point of reflecting my overly formal shoes. Magic sense helped me stay upright, since I was half convinced I'd trip in front of someone important. At the end of the long corridor stood a ridiculously ornate door. Her Majesty Rimuru, the guard announced loudly, Sovereign of the Juratempest Federation. That title still sounded way too dramatic, especially considering I was currently wearing a dress that could be straight out of an Otone game. Follow me, said a female dwarven attendant as she stepped forward. King Gazel is waiting for you. Dolph saluted one last time and stood aside. The doors creaked open, and, how nice to see you again, Rimuru. King Gazel greeted me. That was it. No drama, no ceremony, just a casual welcome, and suddenly everything started moving fast. A seat was offered, and I sat without thinking. Ren and Shana immediately stepped up to deliver our formal greeting. Ren handed a prepared list of gifts to one of the king's aides with such elegant authority, I felt like I should be serving her. Seriously, Ren rocks. I had no idea what I was supposed to be doing at this point, so I just kept smiling like we practiced. Just act relaxed, in control, Ren had told me. Leave the rest to your perfect maid. So I did. I sat there, pretending I was born to wear this absurdly fancy gown. Shana offered support beside Ren, and the two of them gracefully handled the opening formalities while I tried to sit like a noblewoman, resisting every urge to slouch or cross my legs the wrong way. The initial exchanges felt like they took forever, though in reality, they were pretty short. I was too zoned out to follow the details. Good thing I had Raphael silently recording everything for later. Honestly, I was barely present until I started noticing something strange. Nobody called me he, or sir. It was all Lady Rimuru, even Gazel. I was stunned for a second before I mentally face-bound. Oh no, this had to be because of Kaido. I told him that dumb joke about being a cursed princess turned into a slime. Did he actually spread that story? It is likely the dwarf soldiers accepted it from Kaido's account. No one has questioned it thus far. I let out a very tiny sigh. Great. So now everyone thinks I'm a royal damsel who got her curse undone or something. And honestly, nobody seems to mind. They've fully bought the act. Especially Ren. She knows me from my previous life but still enjoying it way too much. She even started calling me lady. It's useless arguing with her when she makes up her mind to do something, so I let it slide. She stood behind me in that perfect posture, playing the devoted attendant to the letter, but I just knew she was loving this way too much. I could practically hear her internal monologue. My lovely Lady Rimuru-sama, so radiant today. I swear, I saw her smirk for half a second before catching herself. Yeah, I was definitely never living this down. Note, thank you so much for reading. While writing this chapter, I found myself getting completely immersed in Ren's otaku side. Honestly, she's such a joy to write. Watching her flip between chaotic anime gremlin and composed, elegant maid is one of my favorite dynamics. That contrast brings a lot of fun to her character, and I hope it added a few extra smiles along the way. I also got really into solidifying Rimuru's image as female in this story. That said, Rimuru still thinks of himself as male, for now. But hey, he's starting to admit he enjoys the dress-up sessions, so let's just say, it's only a matter of time. Because I was so immersed in writing Ren and shaping Rimuru's evolving identity, I may have, accidentally written way too much. So this chapter is now officially a two-parter. Here's hoping I don't get carried away and turn it into 3 or 4 parts, but no promises. I also experimented with Ren's POV this time to add some extra spice and variety. If you enjoyed seeing the story through her eyes, let me know. I'd love to include more scenes from her perspective if readers are into it. Thanks again for sticking with the story. Your support, comments, and reactions always mean the world. It really keeps me motivated. Ch. 24, King Gazel's Invitation Part 2. Ren's POV. The moment that door opened and the Dwarven Herald declared, Her Majesty Rimuru, I had to engage maximum maid protocol just to keep a straight face. She stepped forward, elegant, poised, radiant in that midnight black gown embroidered with gold, the dress I picked, of course, and all eyes turned to her. I didn't blame them. She looked stunning. My master, I thought with smug satisfaction, truly fits the role of the cursed noble princess turned ruler. Naturally, I walked 2 steps behind her, hands folded properly, eyes lowered respectfully like any good attendant should. But in my head, it was chaos. Lady Rimuru-sama enters the throne room, her presence alone captivating even the air itself. Ah, I chose the perfect dress. Her golden eyes glint beneath those lashes, noble yet mysterious. This is no longer just a negotiation, this is an event. A scene. A legendary CG moment. I fought to keep my expression serene as I handed over the gift list, delivering the formal greeting with the grace of 1,000 visual novel heroines. Shana, bless her soul, was helping me carry the diplomatic weight, but I had a different mission too. Ensure that Master Rimuru didn't say or do anything remotely unladylike. She was doing her best sitting there with that perfect posture I drilled into her, smiling gently like we practiced. But I could see the panic in her eyes whenever someone said Lady Rimuru out loud. That faint twitch in her eyebrow was priceless. "Ha, you started this joke, my liege. Now you're stuck with it. And I, your loyal maid, shall uphold the bit with absolute sincerity. Because it's hilarious and—" I even caught her glancing at me once, just a fleeting look, as if silently pleading, "Ren, stop them." I responded with the softest, most supportive smile I could muster. "You're doing amazing, my lady. Just a little longer." And the best part? Everyone believed it. No one questioned it. Not even the king. They all addressed her with respect befitting a noblewoman. My noblewoman. That cursed princess story really had taken hold. Oh ho ho ho, cursed royal bloodline, mysterious magical backstory, tragic elegance cloaked in mystique. If this isn't peak isekai fantasy, I don't know what is. It was hard not to squeal, but I resisted. I had to be professional, controlled, cold, perfect. But starting today, I would be calling Master Rimuru my lady from now on. Not because I forgot he's technically male, because it was fun, and because I'm her loyal, devoted maid, after all. Rimuru's POV. After the audience, everyone was guided to their assigned rooms. Ren accompanied me all the way to mine, trailing just behind with that perfect, ever-poised maid posture. I could feel her eyes on me the whole time, watching, evaluating, judging. Or maybe she was just mentally narrating this like one of her favorite Otone games again. Hard to tell with her. She opened the door with a practiced flourish. "Please, after you, my lady." I twitched. "Ren, seriously?" She gave the faintest, most refined smile. "Of course, my lady. That's not even Dash. You know I'm not Dash." "I am aware, my lady," she said smoothly, folding the corner of the bedspread with meticulous care. "But it would be improper for a humble maid like myself to go against the crowd's perception. Besides," she leaned in a little, "you do wear it so well." "Ren. My lady." I groaned, defeated, as she glided around the room, checking the linens, inspecting the drapes, lightly tapping the bed frame to ensure its sturdiness. "Everything appears suitable for your rest," she announced, adjusting a pillow. "But should you require anything else, my lady, such as more pillows, warmer tea, or perhaps a carriage back to Tempest in which to flee your fate, I'll be just a few doors down." I raised an eyebrow. "Few doors down?" She turned, perfectly composed. "Yes. The royal staff has provided rooms for attendants. I have also been invited to consult with the chief steward regarding the banquet menu. You'll want to look your best for tonight, after all." "I knew it. You just want to sneak into the kitchen and judge everyone." She gasped, mock offended. "I would never. I intend only to offer constructive critique as a loyal maid should." "Right." I let myself slump into the soft mattress as she made her way to the door. She paused there, giving me one final bow. "Rest well, my lady." I grabbed a pillow and lobbed it at her. She vanished with a soft giggle, the pillow missing by a mile. Finally alone. I flopped deeper into the bed and let out a groan, muffled by the sheets. "I'm really tired." The meeting with King Gazel hadn't been long, but it had drained me anyway. Sitting there, trying not to mess anything up, letting Ren and Shana carry the formal parts while I smiled and nodded like we practiced, it was somehow more exhausting than a battlefield. I hadn't even changed out of the ceremonial clothes yet. I just didn't have it in me. As I lay there face down in bed, the room quiet around me, a familiar presence stirred at the edge of my senses. "Master." I didn't look up, but I knew who it was. Her voice was soft as ever, measured, gentle, always calm. "Raphael." She approached the bed, her footsteps silent, then lowered herself beside me. There was a pause before she spoke again. "You performed your role admirably. Now, allow yourself to rest." I tilted my head a bit, squinting at her. "That's why you came out." "I had a reason," she replied smoothly. Then, in one graceful movement, she sat down beside me and gently patted her lap. "If it pleases you, I would offer this as your place of rest." My brain flatlined. I blinked, then blinked again. "You're kidding." Her expression didn't change. "It is a logical offer. You will rest more efficiently this way. Physical contact has been shown to reduce stress and stabilize emotional fluctuations." That sounds like a really fancy excuse for Dash. "You are already blushing." "Why Dash?" I sputtered and hid my face in the sheets for a moment, groaning. Why did she always say stuff so straightforwardly? She didn't tease. She didn't push. She just waited, her hand resting lightly on her lap, like the offer was still open. I hesitated for a long moment, and then gave in. Without a word, still burning with quiet embarrassment, I scooted closer and slowly laid my head down on her lap. Her hand moved almost instantly, threading gently through my hair. "You made the correct decision, master." I didn't answer. I couldn't. My face was still on fire. But I could feel it, my heart finally calming, my breathing evening out. Her fingers were so gentle. Her presence was steady and soft, like she was guarding this little moment just for me. Warmth radiated through her touch, calm but real. And for the first time that day, I let myself breathe out in peace. There were no words left. Only comfort. Only her. And it was enough. A gentle voice stirred me from sleep. "Master, it is time to awaken." Preparations for the banquet must begin shortly. I blinked groggily, looking up to find Raphael gently brushing a hand along my temple, her usual calm expression softened by a small smile. Right, I mumbled, still nestled against her lap. Her thighs were surprisingly soft. Not that I was evaluating or anything. I've let you rest as long as possible, she added. But Ren, Shana, and Shin will be arriving momentarily. I jolted up a bit at that. Oh okay, thanks. I quickly rolled off her lap and sat upright, just as Raphael gave a graceful nod and shimmered back into my body. A moment later, the door opened. Pardon our intrusion, came Ren's serene voice as she entered alongside Shana and Shin. Her posture was flawless, eyes respectfully lowered, every movement precise and composed. It is time for the evening's festivities, my lady, she said smoothly, placing just enough emphasis on lady for me to feel it deep in my soul. Shana followed with a gentle smile. We've brought the formal wear for the banquet, my lady. Shin stepped in proudly. You're gonna be the star of the show, my lady. Just leave the dressing up to us. I blinked. Wait a second. Since when were they calling me that? I opened my mouth, about to interrupt, but Ren smoothly stepped forward and bowed. Shall we begin preparations, my lady? She said with her usual composed reverence, though her eyes sparkled with just a bit too much satisfaction. I leaned a little closer and whispered, trying to sound casual. Hey, why are they calling me my lady now instead of Rimuru-sama? Without even pausing in her graceful movements, Ren whispered back, her tone immaculate. I advised them it would be best to refer to you as my lady from now on, she said, almost too innocently. For consistency. To match your public image, enhance the formal atmosphere, and naturally make things easier during foreign engagements. I flinched. You what dash? She straightened my collar with a faint smile. Don't worry, my lady. It suits you beautifully. This is definitely revenge. Or a joke. Or both. They'd laid out the banquet gown, rich navy silk trimmed in pale gold, more regal and extravagant than anything I'd worn so far. Layers of translucent fabric, soft shimmer, subtle embroidery along the hem. The kind of outfit you'd expect on some storybook queen. I guess we're really going all out. I muttered, eyeing the garment like it might jump me. Without a word, Ren stepped behind me and before I could react, I felt her fingers working at the fastening of my current dress. Wait, Ren dash. I stiffened instinctively as she began undoing the back of my gown with smooth, practiced motions. This is part of my duty, my lady, she said calmly, not even pausing. Please relax. I turned my head, flustered. I didn't say I couldn't do it myself. Of course, she replied coolly, but as your maid, I am responsible for ensuring everything fits properly, including the layers beneath. I felt my face go hot. Shana, meanwhile, simply smiled and began preparing the accessories, acting like this was perfectly normal. Shin helping her. I sighed, trying not to squirm as Ren slipped the black and gold gown from my shoulders with all the ceremony of a court ritual. She handled me like I was something delicate, precise, gentle, and completely in control. Within moments, I stood in the lighter underlayers, flushed and awkward while Ren picked up the banquet gown. Arms up, please, my lady, she said, voice like a breeze. I did as I was told, half in surrender, half out of sheer disbelief that this had become my life. The gown slid on like water, soft, weightless, flowing with every movement. Shana fastened the front and adjusted the folds, while Ren circled behind me, tightening the bodice with quiet efficiency. Then came the accessories. Shana brushed out my hair and began braiding in a few delicate pins, humming softly to herself. There, Ren murmured as she finished the last tie, smoothing the folds at my waist. Exquisite, my lady. I stared at my reflection. The woman in the mirror looked elegant, distant, graceful like a highborn noble straight out of a fantasy novel. The dress fit like it was made for me. And somehow, this was me now. Too much? I asked weakly. Ren stepped into view, meeting my eyes in the mirror. Just enough, she said softly. You'll take their breath away. Shana nodded in approval. Absolutely radiant. Shin grinned. No one's gonna remember the food. I buried my face in my hands. I was just a slime a few months ago. Shana chuckled, gently patting my shoulder. And now look at you. A lady who makes royalty stare. That's not comforting. Ren stepped forward and gently lifted my hands from my face. Deep breath, my lady. Chin up. Posture perfect. Hug. Still, I obeyed. Somewhere between protest and surrender, I stood tall. There was a beat of silence. And then, you look stunningly beautiful, master. I stiffened. My breath caught, heat flooding into my cheeks before I could even react. I cut myself off, biting down on the sudden protest. That voice, serene, genuine, almost reverent, had come from inside me. Raphael never spoke without reason. She wasn't teasing me. That somehow made it worse. My face burned. I quickly looked away from the mirror, pretending to smooth the front of the dress. As if that would calm the flurry in my chest. Don't just say stuff like that. I took a shaky breath. Then another. When the fluster finally ebbed just enough, I dared to turn back to the mirror again. And there she was. The woman in the reflection, poised, composed, wrapped in elegance. A layered, deep sapphire gown that hugged the figure just right, glinting softly with woven accents of silver and midnight blue. The soft updo framed her face delicately, with trailing wisps adding an effortless charm. That was me. Beautiful, I heard myself whisper. The word left my lips before I could stop it. So beautiful. I blinked. Wait, what? My heart dropped into my stomach. I just called myself beautiful. Out loud. What even dash? My hands flew to my face, pressing into my burning cheeks. No, this has to be Shizu. It's her will lingering inside me. Her memories. Her grace. Her strength. And maybe her vanity, too. That's it. That's the only reason I'd think something like that. And maybe, this is my punishment. For getting distracted with all this pageantry. Dressing up, playing noble, laughing, smiling, while those children are still suffering back at the academy. The guilt tightened in my chest like a coil. I have to finish up here as fast as I can. Then go save them. I promised. I looked up again, more firmly this time. The reflection didn't waver. Right. First things first. I steeled myself. Stop getting embarrassed by these clothes. This is just part of the mission. One more role to play. My fingers curled slightly against the dress fabric. The silk still felt unreal beneath my hands. Once this banquet's over, I'll make things right. Once the final hairpin was in place and every fold of the gown perfectly arranged, Rin stepped back with a soft nod of approval. Perfect, she murmured, hands folded in front of her apron. You're ready, my lady. Shana smiled brightly. You look lovely, Lady Rimuru. Truly radiant. Shin gave a confident thumbs up. They won't remember the food, just your entrance. Then Shana turned slightly, glancing at Ren. We should go prepare as well, Lady Ren. Ren gave a courteous nod. Please, do. Shin raised an eyebrow. Aren't you changing too, Lady Ren? Ren replied without missing a beat. There is no need. I will attend the banquet as I am. Shana blinked. In your uniform. Ren curtsied gracefully. A proper maid must remain a constant presence, composed, discreet, and ever at her lady's side. This uniform is a symbol of that duty. To alter it would be unbecoming. Shana nodded slowly. It does suit you. You always carry yourself so flawlessly. Shin smiled and added, yeah, you look beautiful in that maid outfit, honestly. Ren tilted her head with a faint smile. How kind of you to notice. As they stepped toward the door, Shana gave Rimuru one last approving glance. We'll go change now. We'll meet you both before the banquet begins. After Shana and Shin left, the door clicked softly shut behind them. Brief silence settled in their absence. Ren knelt behind me, adjusting the last delicate fold of fabric with meticulous care. The room had gone quiet, save for the faint rustle of the gown. Then, she spoke too casually for it to be anything but teasing. I heard you whisper it earlier, beautiful. I stiffened slightly, eyes avoiding hers in the mirror. I didn't mean to say it out loud. Ren tilted her head just slightly, a quiet curiosity in her gaze. I sighed, lowering my voice. It's just. I looked at myself, and the words slipped out. I guess, deep down, I thought I looked beautiful. But I don't think that's really me. It's probably Shiza's will, what's left of it, messing with my emotions, making me more feminine, more like her. I paused, glancing at my reflection. And part of me feels like this is a punishment. Like I've been too slow to save those kids. Instead of focusing on them, I'm here dressing up for a banquet, playing noble. So maybe this is what I deserve, getting pulled further and further into this role that's not really mine. Ren stood, meeting my eyes in the mirror. Let's forget about Shiza's will for just a moment, she said gently. Just answer me this honestly, do you enjoy dressing up? I blinked. I don't know. I think I do. I feel like I'm enjoying it. I look like Shizu, a young, beautiful woman. And when I dress up like this, I feel even more beautiful. I frowned faintly, but I also feel like I'm enjoying it because of Shiza's will. Like, it's not my feeling. It's hers. Ren stepped closer, her reflection steady and calm beside mine. And what's the problem with that? She asked softly. Even if you think it's Shiza's will, it's still you feeling it, isn't it? You're genderless. And you look like a girl. So what's wrong with enjoying how that makes you feel? I hesitated. She didn't wait. Besides, she added, brushing a stray strand of hair from my shoulder with practiced grace, even if you don't enjoy it, Shin, and I certainly do. So wouldn't it be better for everyone if you enjoyed it too? But I tried, unsure. Ren gently straightened the edge of my sleeve, her touch light but grounding. If you're really uncertain, she said, voice steady, then once this diplomatic trip is over, go save the children. Fulfill your promise. And after that, once you've lifted that guilt, you can ask yourself again, is this how you feel, or someone else's echo? I watched her quietly. Something in her words settled my thoughts. No matter what you decide, she said, lifting her chin, as your royal maid, I'll support your choice. Always. I smiled. It came more easily this time. Thank you, Ren. She blinked at me, flustered just slightly, and turned her gaze away. It's nothing, my lady. Then, came the quiet voice in my mind. I sense a new rival. What was that, Raphael? It is your imagination, master. I opened my mouth to ask Raphael what she meant, brow furrowing slightly. Wait, what do you mean by dash? Knock knock. A soft, composed tapping broke the quiet. Shana's voice called gently from the other side. My lady, we're ready, may we come in? I blinked, caught off guard, then let the breath I'd been holding slip out. Probably just my imagination, I murmured, brushing the thought away. Without missing a beat, Ren slipped seamlessly into her perfect maid persona, back straight, hands folded, expression calm and composed. You may enter, she said smoothly, her voice poised and professional. The door opened, and Shana and Shen stepped in gracefully, already dressed for the banquet. They looked prepared, elegant, and ready to steal the show in their own right, but all I could think about now was keeping my expression calm and steady. Ren turned to me just slightly, eyes sharp beneath her serene surface. Shall we be off, my lady? I gave a small nod and tried not to fidget with the sleeves of my gown. Yeah, let's get this over with. The golden glow of chandeliers lit our path as we approached the banquet hall. Ren walked with poise at my side, while Shana and Shen followed in elegant step. My heels clicked softly on the polished stone, the weight of my gown trailing behind like a whisper. As we turned the last corner, a few station knights and castle maids waiting near the doorway straightened at the sight of us. Their reactions were subtle, but I noticed the sideways glances, the quiet intake of breath, the slight widening of eyes. She's the one from Tempest. She looks like a noble lady. That dress is exquisite. A knight near the doorway stiffened, unsure whether to salute or bow. Another murmured, that's Lady Ren behind her, right? One of the maids, a young girl with braided hair, clutched her tray a little tighter. She's so elegant, she looks like a goddess in maid uniform. I forced myself to keep my head high, gaze forward, just like Ren had taught me. Then, smoothly, Ren stepped forward and pushed the double doors open. Presenting Lady Rimuru, she announced, her voice calm and formal. The banquet hall was grand, but it wasn't crowded. There were no nobles or officials, just a large table in the center, King Gazel rising from his seat with a composed smile. A few castle maids quietly lined the walls, ready to serve. I felt some of the tension leave my shoulders. King Gazel gave a shallow bow. Welcome, Lady Rimuru. You honor us tonight. I curtsied gracefully, at least, I hoped it was graceful. Thank you for having me, Your Majesty. He gestured to the seat beside him. Please, join me. Ren, always a step behind, pulled out the chair for me. I sat carefully, arranging my gown just as she had instructed earlier. Shana and Shen followed suit, settling into their places. The maids began serving with quiet efficiency, gliding through the room like shadows. The meal was exquisite, but the etiquette was exhausting. I was too busy remembering which fork to use and when to speak to actually enjoy most of the food. Shana, ever poised, helped lighten the mood with gentle conversation. Shen behaved. Mostly. I kept sending her warning glances whenever she looked like she was going to ask for seconds a little too enthusiastically. Ren, standing silently behind me, radiated poise. The castle maids seemed to admire her even more than they admired me. One of them almost dropped a pitcher when she passed too close, whispering, "She's so perfect." As the final course was cleared, King Gazel leaned toward me slightly, lowering his voice. Now then, do you have time to speak in private? I nodded. Yes, I'd appreciate that. He gave a short nod. Good. Meals like this were for politeness and diplomacy, never for saying what you really meant. A single slip of the tongue could bind someone to a promise they weren't ready to make. I understood the king's caution. It was smart. Truth be told, I'd been concentrating so hard on his tone and my posture that I hadn't had a chance to think of anything else. King Gazel stood, and so did I. This way, he said, leading me toward a quieter room nearby. Ren followed behind like a shadow, and Shana and Shen trailed quietly. Once out of sight of the main hall, I let out a small sigh. That was a good meal, I said to Shana, but I didn't get much time to enjoy it. Shana smiled. I found it delightful. So many rare ingredients. I glanced over my shoulder. Shen could stand to learn a little from you, though. Shana laughed softly. Maybe, but I think she did fine. As long as no one was offended, then it's fine. The king and I were seated in two padded chairs facing each other in the softly lit private chamber. Vaughn and Dolph stood silently behind him, their posture sharp and alert. Shana stood just behind me to the right, her expression serene and composed, radiating poise fitting for a high-ranking aide. Shen stood to my left, unusually upright and serious, maintaining formal decorum under the king's gaze. Ren had just excused herself to retrieve refreshments, moving with quiet efficiency through the door. Even in her absence, it felt like her presence lingered, disciplined and reliable, as always. The room settled into a respectful stillness, the kind that invited honesty and careful words. The king and I were seated in two padded chairs facing each other across a low, polished table. Vaughn and Dolph stood quietly behind him, ever watchful. Shana stood behind me, composed and graceful, her posture subtly protective. Shen, thankfully positioned to the side this time rather than directly behind me, remained unusually quiet, though the way her eyes scanned the room reminded me she was ready to throw hands at the slightest provocation. Ren had gone to retrieve refreshments, gliding off with practiced elegance that even the castle's head staff might envy. The other maids in the hall had paused to admire her, one even whispering something to a fellow attendant with barely concealed awe. It was hard to blame them. Ren had a way of making the maid uniform look like high court fashion. Meanwhile, King Gazel leaned back in his seat with a casual grin, arms folded. You were probably so nervous, you could barely even taste what you were eating, right? He said with a booming laugh. Ha ha ha. Let me tell you something, diplomacy is all just one big bluff. If you act like that, don't complain if people feel they have the right to run you over. I sighed. You say that, but Vester gave me his personal seal of approval. Humph, the king snorted. As skittish as he is, I'm sure he was simply going easy on the master he serves. Even though his words were blunt, there was no heat behind them. If anything, they were strangely comforting, like getting scolded by a gruff uncle who meant well. Well, I replied, forcing a small smile, I'll do better next time. Ha ha ha. Gazel rumbled, lifting his goblet. I'm much more comfortable wielding a sword than navigating these types of negotiations, too. Shana gave me a calm, encouraging look, and though Ren hadn't returned yet, I could almost hear the quiet steps of her approach down the hall. Just as I finished offering my thanks, the door opened with a soft click. Ren returned, a silver tray balanced effortlessly in her hands. A pristine bottle of whiskey and 5 intricately cut glasses shimmered faintly under the chamber's lighting. She glided across the floor with quiet precision, each step controlled, posture flawless. Without a word, she approached King Gazel first. Bowing smoothly, she offered him a glass with both hands. He accepted it with a nod, eyes already studying the craftsmanship. Next, she turned to his 2 attendants Vaughn and Dolph. Each received their glass with a short, respectful dip of the head, though both seemed slightly flustered by her poise. One of them muttered a soft thank you under his breath. Then Ren stepped to my side, bowed, and presented me the last glass. I nodded in appreciation and took it. Gazel turned his glass in the light. Is this one of Dold's? It is, I replied. The king gave a faint grunt of interest, examining the glass more closely. It shimmered slightly clear, finely cut, almost radiant under the flickering light. Intricate etchings danced along the rim and base, easy to miss at a glance, but impossible to ignore once spotted. He narrowed his eyes. And this magic, antidote enchantment. I nodded again. A subtle one. Useful, just in case. Ho! With a small hum of approval, he activated the enchantment. A faint shimmer passed over the surface of the whiskey. Ren had already stepped back behind me by then, folding her hands in front of her apron, expression unreadable, her maid persona fully engaged. Gazel brought the glass to his lips. The moment the scent reached him, his eyes widened in surprise. Ho! A very elegant aroma, he murmured. He didn't rush it. He took his time, swirling the amber liquid gently, savoring the rising fragrance like a true connoisseur. A king, sure, but a dwarf through and through. Me, I wasn't quite as composed. I took a casual gulp. I could feel something hot burn through my throat as I imagined my head catching on fire. Sadly, it lasted for a mere instant. Report. Poison resistance, successful. Tragic. Still, watching others enjoy it had to be enough. I stole a glance at King Gazel. My, he said, taking his first proper sip. A pause. Then a satisfied nod. He didn't flinch. Didn't cough. Unlike poor Yum, the king met the liquor head-on and handled it like a pro. Dwarven pride, I guess. It was nice to see someone appreciate it properly. After we enjoyed the drinks for a bit, Gazel leaned forward with a serious glint in his eye. So, Rimuru, that magical weapon you used to defeat Charybdis, what was it, exactly? I've heard it was more powerful than anything our mages have ever seen. Ah, that. I gave a small shrug. It wasn't me. That was Milim. One attack, and Charybdis was down. Yes, well, that would explain a number of things, Gazel muttered, stroking his beard. But why would a demon lord like her be there? That I cannot say. If you claim Milim was with you, could you explain exactly what led to that? Now the king had turned the conversation back on me. Both Dolph and Vaughn were watching closely. Well, it's kind of a long story, I admitted, setting my glass down. But let's start with what happened after I left this kingdom last time. And so I told them about my return, the troubles I ran into, how I crossed paths with Milim, and how things spiraled from there. They listened in silence, sipping brandy and sampling the spread of finger food. By the time I wrapped up, nearly a third of the barrel was gone. Good pace. If it had been beer, we'd be scraping the bottom by now. That does seem to make sense, but... Gazel began, his brows furrowing. The very idea of taming that demon lord. Imagine. Vaughn added, still visibly trying to process it. Hard to believe, indeed, Dolph muttered. But we do have reports of a young girl taking a central role in the battle. The three exchanged glances, each mulling over the implications in their own way. I shrugged lightly. Taming? I wouldn't go that far. She just decided to hang around. That, in itself, is remarkable, Gazel replied, leaning back in his chair. Demon lords don't just do anything. Still, if Milim truly stood at your side, that explains why Charybdis fell so decisively. He picked up his glass once more, taking a thoughtful sip as the room settled into quiet contemplation again. Our conversation gradually shifted, flowing from battlefield tales to recent developments in our respective nations. King Gazel spoke of new mining veins and industrial expansion. I mentioned our city's rapid growth and budding trade routes. We also exchanged notes on research magic tech integration, potion refinement, transportation enchantments. It was oddly satisfying, swapping notes like two enthusiastic scholars instead of heads of state. Eventually, Gazel brought up something else. Tomorrow's ceremony, he said, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. We'll be making our declaration of friendship official, for all the people to see. I nodded. So I heard. It's a good step. I think seeing us standing together publicly will help put everyone's minds at ease. The king grunted in agreement, then glanced down at his drink. Speaking of putting minds at ease. This whiskey of yours is something else. That was enough to change the topic again, and before long, the knight's attention had settled squarely on the barrel I'd brought. We spent a good while discussing its distillation process, flavor notes, and the magical filtration techniques I'd experimented with. If nothing else, at least my whiskey had won over a king. Not long after, the meeting came to an end. With pleasantries exchanged and glasses emptied, we bowed our farewells. Ren gracefully led the way out with Shana and Shin close behind me. As we stepped into the quiet corridor, the weight of the formalities finally lifted from my shoulders. Note: I got way too immersed in this chapter. What started as a simple continuation turned into something much more chaotic, fluffy, and unexpectedly emotional. I really enjoyed writing Ren and Rimuru's interactions. Their chemistry just keeps getting better and worse for Rimuru's sanity. Ren flipping between Otaku Gremlin and Perfect Maid never gets old, and yes, I definitely let her have a bit too much fun this time. Then there's the fluff between Rimuru and Raphael, which somehow snuck its way in like it owned the place. And of course, I couldn't resist throwing in a little character development for Rimuru. You know, something subtle, emotional, then immediately dressing him up in a new outfit. Also, the process of Rimuru's evolution into a girl is nearly complete, just a little more time, and it might become the biggest plot twist I've written so far, unless you noticed the very minor signs. Thanks so much for reading. I'm having a blast writing this, and your support seriously means the world. Next part's gonna be special. P.S. Ren here. I had absolutely no hand in my lady's descent into gender euphoria. I simply offered outfits, emotional support, and a few nudges from behind the curtain. Nothing suspicious. Maid's honor, also, and, well, if next chapter just happens to revolve around me a bit more, pure coincidence. Definitely not a hostile protagonist takeover, teehee. Ch. 25 Rimuru's etiquette training. With the night now behind us, today was the big day of our friendly bilateral relations pact. Naturally, before stepping into the public eye, I had to go through another round of preparation. Shana had selected my outfit well in advance. A tailored, deep blue formal gown embroidered with golden thread along the sleeves and hem. The neckline dipped just enough to be elegant without feeling exposed, and a soft silver-trimmed cape settled over my shoulders like moonlight draped in fabric. A thin belt cinched the waist, letting the skirt fall in graceful folds that rippled faintly as I moved. Ren fastened a sapphire brooch at the collar, adjusting the angle with exacting care. "Stand still, please," she murmured, smoothing the drape of the cape with the steady hands of a professional. Shin stood off to the side, arms folded, a proud grin on her face. "You look incredible, Lady Rimuru. Seriously, absolutely beautiful." I responded with a habitual half-smile, but said nothing. Not yet. When everything was in place, I stepped in front of the full-length mirror. I paused. The person reflected there didn't feel distant or unfamiliar anymore. Not a role I was playing, or something I had to push through. Just me. The soft wave of blue hair, the golden eyes clear and steady. The elegant, poised figure. The way the gown shimmered faintly as I moved. I looked at myself and thought, I really do look beautiful. It wasn't a flippant thought, or a nervous one. Just quiet acceptance. No unease. No inner debate over whether I was slipping away from who I once was. Not this time. Just as Ren had said before, I think I'll enjoy the moment. With that, the three of them gave a final once-over and stepping back with a silent, satisfied nod, Shana gently brushing a hair from my shoulder, and Shin beaming like she personally won something. And with everything in place, I was ready to meet the world again. After getting ready, we made our way to the ceremony. Ren quietly straightened the hem of my dress before we stepped out. Her hands were precise, expression calm as always. "You look perfect, Lady Rimuru." I gave her a small nod, the silky navy fabric brushing softly as I walked. The golden embroidery shimmered under the morning light, the sapphire brooch at my collar catching every glint. As we entered the ceremonial hall, all eyes turned toward us and then settled on me. A soft murmur rippled through the crowd. "Is that the ruler of Tempest? She's beautiful, so elegant. I didn't expect this. She really looks like royalty." I kept my expression serene, but part of me warmed inside. Just as Ren said, "I think I'll enjoy the moment." Gazel leaned slightly toward me and whispered, "Keep smiling." So I did. The ceremony proceeded smoothly, each formality playing out in perfect order. But then came the final moment when I was expected to say a few words. I pored over the speech again in my mind. Rigurd and Kaijin had helped me refine it before I left, and after a few rewrites, I had it memorized. I can do this. Let's rock. King Gazel wrapped up his part with practiced authority, then turned and gave me a slight nod. Ren gave me a subtle, encouraging look from the side, and Shin stood nearby, her gaze proud and steady. I stepped forward, the soft rustle of my dress echoing faintly as I walked, and took my place at the lectern composed, calm, and radiant in deep navy and gold. Hello, everyone. I'm Rimuru Tempest, the Lord and Overseer of the Jura Tempest Federation Tempest, for short. To be honest with you all, I wasn't exactly born into this role. I actually started out as a slime, yeah, really, but this is my human form. A lot's happened since then, and well, here I am. Thanks to a few twists of fate, I ended up forming a close bond with a man named Yum, the champion. Together, we faced off against the Orc Lord when he threatened the forest of Jura. We managed to overcome that crisis side by side. Here in Dworgen, I've seen firsthand how humans and monsters can live and work together. It's a beautiful thing. And that vision of coexistence and mutual respect is something I want to build in Tempest as well. A nation where no one's judged by what they are, but by who they are. King Gazel has been generous enough to support that dream, and I can't thank him enough for it. Going forward, I hope to continue this friendship between our nations and strengthen it even further. Now, I won't pretend that Tempest is like other countries. We're a land full of monsters including me. But don't let that scare you. At our core, we're not so different from anyone else. We laugh, we struggle, we build, and we dream just like all of you. So, instead of fearing us, I hope you'll give us a chance. Let us be your friends, your allies. Everything I've said here comes from the heart and I mean every word of it. Thank you all so much for listening. It was short, but I still put as much firm emotion behind it as I could, hoping it would reach the hearts of Dworgen's people. I was trying to be honest, it wasn't like I was capable of pulling a bunch of crap out of nowhere for a speech like this. I also didn't forget to casually note my relationship with Yum, who was starting to become a legend in his own time. To me, the speech was pretty well perfect, but King Gazel still gave me an earful about it afterward. 1. It was too short. 2. It was too self-effacing. 3. It leaned too hard on emotional appeal over authority. In his words, it was a near-perfect 0. And then came the lecture. He went on at length about how rulers need to project confidence, how what we say in public shapes how the world sees our nation. That we don't just represent ourselves, we carry the hopes and image of everyone under us. I shouldn't downplay my own achievements, and definitely shouldn't rely on being relatable to win people over. That sort of humility could be taken as weakness. I suppose that advice came from the heart, he'd never need to say it otherwise. I accepted it with my utmost appreciation. I had lived wholly outside the realm of politics, but now I had, somehow or other, become the head of a nation. I had to stop crying about things and start doing things. It was a bit overwhelming, honestly. But, I got where he was coming from. He wasn't trying to tear me down, he was trying to build me up. A ruler to ruler, mentor to newbie. I'll let it slide and tackle things in earnest next time. Though next time, maybe I'll bring a flask to sip from while he lectures. Ren, of course, had been with me the entire time, silent, poised, and ever so perfect. Not once did she break character during the whole event, not even as Gazel lectured me. She stood beside me like a shadow, hands folded, expression polite but unreadable. Only when we were finally alone in my room did she let the mask slip. Without missing a beat, she set down the tray of tea she'd prepared, turned to me with that same composed demeanor and then, with a tilt of her head and the faintest arch of a brow, delivered her own verdict. Lady Rimuru, you are gracious, sincere, and kind. But today's speech was unbecoming of a ruler. I blinked. Oh come on, you too. Her tone remained perfectly respectful, but her words were precise, cutting through my excuses before I could even voice them. You must command hearts, not simply ask for understanding. Your people do not need your modesty. They need your strength. 2 lectures in a row. Maybe 3, if I counted the one going on in my own head. Still, they weren't wrong. So I'd take their advice. Learn from it. Next time, I'd speak not just as myself, but as the one leading Tempest forward. I had to. Not just for them but for everyone who put their trust in me. That wrapped up all the major events at Dworgen. Beyond a few casual meetings, I'd be devoting the next few days to tourism and the like. Dolph would be leading me around. He headed the Pegasus Knights, but that job was classified officially. He led the civil servants who filled the government's bureaucracy, which chiefly meant he was King Gazel's assistant. With his guidance, I toured every facility in Dworgen that might teach me something useful: administrative halls, training grounds, research labs, manufacturing plants, even the sewage and water purification systems. Anything that could give me ideas to improve things back home in Tempest, I wanted to see. I had no intention of letting this diplomatic trip be just a formality. If Dworgen was offering wisdom, I was here to absorb all of it. Once night finally came, I snuck out of my room, beside myself with anticipation. My body double was tucked in bed, and I knew what Shana and Shin were up to. They, of course, were my biggest obstacles to enjoying a night out like this. Shin was busy sparring with Dolph and Von, her so-called night training. Apparently, she'd hit it off with the two of them over drinks, and now they were indulging in a bit of late-night combat practice. It was set to last exactly as long as our reservation at the Butterfly, so no worries there. Shana, meanwhile, was deep in discussions with the palace chefs, arranging every last detail of the farewell banquet planned for tomorrow night. That just left one person. Ren. Before I left, I knocked on her door to let her know I'd be out for the evening just in case. Her voice came from within, calm and composed as always. Understood, my lady. However, I must ask you not to disturb me this evening. Please do not enter without my permission. Okay, that was unlike her. She was always the picture-perfect maid, practically glued to my side. For her to lock herself away. Weird. Maybe she was in the middle of practicing her perfect maid routine in front of the mirror. I could almost imagine her bowing in the reflection, repeating her lines like a stage actress. Or, well, who knows. Better not to press it. With everyone conveniently occupied, our plan was a go. Gobda, you there? I whispered as I crept into the shadowed corridor. Yes, sir. Right here, sir. Came his hushed response from just behind the pillar. I gave him a small nod of approval, and we set off with a shared sense of mischief in our step. Sure gonna be fun, huh? He whispered for what had to be the 10th time tonight. The grin plastered across his face looked like it might snap off. He'd been bugging me about this visit since the moment we arrived in Dworgen, so I knew he was in his personal heaven. Our preparations were flawless. Body double in bed, Shin and Shana busy elsewhere, Ren in full mysterious lockdown mode. Nothing could go wrong. We followed the familiar alleyways to the club, and the moment we opened the door, a wave of cheerful voices greeted us. Oh, it's the big slime himself. Wait, no, it's the beautiful lady herself now. Good evening. I've been waiting forever for you. Wait, I get to serve her this time. What? Since when did we take turns like that? Welcome back. The owner called out, waving from the bar. Everything been good with you? You bet, I said smoothly. How about all of you? Oops, my tone slipped into Gobda's cadence for a second. I cleared my throat, trying to salvage the air of dignity. Oh, of course. The rest of your friends are already here, the owner continued, gesturing toward the back. We were led inside to the main lounge where Kaijin and the other dwarves were already kicking back, each with a cheerful companion at their side. Laughter and music echoed softly across the room. We had the whole place rented out. No strangers, no surprises. After a while, with the night drawing to a close, Gobda and I found ourselves headed back toward the palace through the quiet streets. Now listen, guys, I said, glancing at the hobgoblin crew tagging along behind us. Make sure no one sees you on the way back, alright? This whole night's my little secret. I mean it. Don't ruin this for me. They all nodded quickly, clearly understanding the stakes, until one of the hobgobs at the rear scratched the back of his head and said, Lady Shana asked me where I was going earlier, so I kinda told her everything, sir, but... The street went dead silent. What? I froze. Gobda turned visibly pale, sweating bullets. The other hobgobs looked like they'd been hit by lightning. Seriously, Gobzo, what have you done? That, yikes. Well, boss, Kaijin said, instantly sobered, we're heading out. Best of luck with today and, Shana and things. He bolted for the door, the rest of the dwarves trailing behind like guilty puppies. Gobda and I were left behind to face the consequences. Gobta, what kind of training have you been giving these idiots? I am sorry, sir. Gobda bawled, practically on his knees. But it was too late. Apologies wouldn't save us now. There was no magic, no secret skill, that could get us out of this situation unscathed. That's when I heard it. You look like you've been enjoying yourselves tonight. A frigid voice, smooth and lethal. Shana. You were so late coming back, we came to pick you up, Sir Rimuru. And beside her, Shin, her tone just as icy, her smile sharper than a drawn sword. It's all over. The dwarves, who hadn't quite made it out in time, immediately sat on the floor with resigned expressions of acceptance, as if already offering themselves up to the divine judgment awaiting us all. We're so sorry. The dwarves and Gobda cried, bowing deep into the floor. There's nothing to apologize for, Shana said sweetly, with a cruel smile. Exactly, added Shin, cracking her knuckles. We certainly aren't angry that you didn't invite us. Their hatred ran deep this time, and thus, like perhaps many evenings before and many more to come at the Night Butterfly, ours ended with heartfelt apologies and soul-crushing regret, offered to the most fearsome women in our lives. Back in my room, I'd barely recovered from Shana and Shin's coordinated ambush when the atmosphere grew even colder. Ren was already waiting. She stood by the window, bathed in moonlight, posture immaculate, gloved hands folded just so in front of her apron. Her long black hair shimmered softly, the red cord accenting it like a seal of judgment. And her expression cool, unreadable, did not bode well for me. My lady, she said, voice soft, even-toned. I trust you enjoyed yourself. Well, I wouldn't say, enjoyed, exactly dash. Her eyes met mine. I shut up. She turned away from the window, gliding across the floor with the practiced grace of a veteran maid who could balance a tea set in an earthquake. I see, she said quietly. Then I will speak plainly. I find it regrettable that I was not informed of your departure. Even more regrettable, that I was excluded entirely. I wasn't trying to hide it. You said not to disturb you, remember? Yes, I did say that. She smiled faintly, but it didn't reach her eyes. But that was in anticipation of needing the composure to deal with your usual mischief. I had hoped, perhaps foolishly, that you would manage one evening without inviting trouble. She circled behind me. I didn't dare turn to face her. I felt like a delinquent schoolgirl waiting for the headmistress to drop the hammer. And yet, she murmured, you snuck out under my nose and returned escorted by Lady Shana in a mood most dire. Tell me, my lady, was it worth it? I swallowed. I was just chaperoning. Really? Her voice dropped a note. Chaperoning. While leaving your most loyal maid to her own devices, unconsulted. How very majestic of you. I said I'm sorry. Oh, I know. I heard. Quite loudly, in fact. She finally walked into view again, pausing just in front of me. But a maid's duty is not merely to hear apologies, it is to correct misbehavior. I tensed. You're not going to hit me, are you? Ren blinked, genuinely confused. Perish the thought. A lady must never resort to such base displays of wrath. I almost sighed in relief until her smile returned. Softer. More dangerous. No, my lady. I have something far more fitting in mind. Oh. I gulped. Oh okay, look, just tell me what it is and I'll take it like a champ. Ren gave me a once-over polished and practiced, like she was sizing up an unruly noble child for court presentation. Tomorrow you will, of course, be wearing what I choose, she said calmly. That didn't sound so bad. Right, sure, that's fine. She didn't even blink. I was going to suggest something tasteful. But now, I believe something a little more memorable is in order. That sounded worse. Wait, what kind of memorable are we talking about? A proper ruler must command attention, my lady, Ren continued, ignoring my rising panic. You have a charming figure, delicate features, a certain, ethereal allure. It is a disservice not to make full use of these advantages. Ren, hang on, let's not go full fairy princess or anything dash. Her smile deepened. Oh no, my lady. Not fairy princess. A vision of sovereign beauty. You shall wear something that leaves the court breathless, and slightly off balance. I was already off balance. I'm not gonna survive this, am I? Ren stepped back with a graceful nod. If you do, perhaps you will think twice before evading your maid again. She turned toward the door. I shall begin selecting your attire. Rest well, my lady. Tomorrow, your true punishment begins. And with that, she glided away, perfect posture unshaken, the faintest sound of her heels clicking against the stone floor. I slumped into my chair. Ren might not yell, or explode, or throw tables like Shin, but when she got serious, she was terrifying in a totally different way. Maybe next time I'll just stay in bed, I muttered to myself. The next evening, few hours before the banquet. My lady, Ren said, standing before me with a folded gown in her arms and a gleam in her eyes, it is time. I tensed. Time for. She stepped closer and whispered as though sharing a sacred rite. Your transformation. Into what, exactly? She smiled calm, composed, and slightly terrifying. Into a vision. Into awe. Into the sovereign no one dares underestimate. Before I could protest, she had already whisked me into the dressing chamber. Shana and Shin were waiting. Shana was by a table of delicate accessories, and Shin, well, she looked just as confused as I was. What's going on? Shin asked. I'm not sure, Shana murmured, but Lady Ren seems very determined. Determined is one word, I muttered. I think I'm being dressed for revenge. Correct, Ren replied smoothly. For the indignity of last night, my lady must endure a lesson in regal presentation. Then she unfolded the gown. You're serious, I breathed. Utterly. Shana came closer, all smiles. Oh, it's going to suit you so well, Lady Rimuru. I was going for enthronement level tier, Ren said with a hint of pride. I will not allow my lady to look anything less than unforgettable. And if I refuse? Ren calmly pulled out a pair of matching heels. You won't, she said. I sighed. Fine, but if I pass out from anxiety, I'm blaming all of you. Shana giggled. We'll be right beside you. Shin nodded silently. I grumbled all the way into the gown, but I had to admit even I could feel the difference. The fabric was light, the fit precise, and the whole ensemble felt like something a queen might wear in a painting. Ren circled me once, inspecting every fold, every detail, before giving a small nod of approval. Perfect. Then, with the faintest smile. Now, my lady, let's make sure no one forgets who you are. Not even you. Ren gently dismissed Shana and Shin. You've both worked hard enough for tonight. Please, return to your rooms and rest. Shana bowed slightly, smiling. Yes, Lady Ren. My lady, please rest well. Shin gave a cheerful nod. You look amazing, Lady Rimuru, see you later. I waved to them as they left. Once their footsteps faded down the corridor, silence settled into the room like a soft blanket. Ren turned to me, her tone still as polished and pleasant as ever. Now then, my lady, would you kindly take a moment to look at yourself in the mirror? I hesitated. I already felt like I was wearing something out of a fantasy drama, and I wasn't sure I wanted that confirmed. Still, I turned to the mirror. Yikes. A long, flowing gown in a deep midnight blue shimmered under the soft light, etched with silver dragon motifs that curled and danced like ancient runes. The mesh sleeves hugged my arms, black and semi-transparent, and the sharp feather-like accents around the shoulders gave a dramatic flair I definitely hadn't asked for. A layered skirt fanned elegantly at the sides, with slits just enough to reveal legs. My hair had been done up in an intricate half-braid, set with a silver star-shaped hairpiece that glittered dangerously like it knew too much. "Beautiful," I murmured, barely realizing I'd said it aloud. And then it hit me, wait. Oh crap, this isn't me. My face drained of color as the thought twisted inside me. This is bad. If I keep looking at myself like this, if I keep letting this happen, I might change completely without even noticing. I've already been worried about how I'm slowly shifting in ways I can't quite track, but this might be the tipping point. My eyes flicked sideways, toward Ren. She was watching me like a predator who'd just heard the trap snap shut. "You're enjoying this," I whispered in horror. She gave me a slow, wicked smirk. "Guess you're finally catching on, my lady." "What are you?" I hissed back in a hushed voice. "A demon." Ren chuckled, the sound soft and elegant and absolutely terrifying. "Oh, I almost forgot to mention," she added smoothly. "You'll be standing there for the next hour." "Hour. To properly appreciate yourself, of course," she said sweetly. "And after that lessons. You'll need to learn how to behave like a proper lady." The gleam in her violet eyes sharpened, her voice silk-wrapped steel. Her grin was absolutely evil. I looked back at the mirror in mute despair. I was doomed. I stared at my reflection, my jaw tight. An hour in front of this mirror, and then etiquette lessons? I wasn't ready for this. I would never be ready for this. I had to get out. Actually, Ren," I said carefully, forcing a bright, diplomatic smile. "You know, this has been really educational. Eye-opening. Profound, even. But maybe we can save the proper lady training for another day. Say, next century." Ren tilted her head, smile still firmly in place. "I'm afraid not, my lady. Tonight is the only free window in your schedule." That wasn't fair. That was cheating. I tried again, desperate. "Look, Ren, we've had a long day. You've been working hard, maybe you should rest too. I'll just study quietly in my room, alone, preferably in my pajamas." Ren narrowed her eyes slightly, walking toward me with slow, deliberate steps. I instinctively stepped back. "You're not going to escape this, my lady. What if I use my wings to fly away?" She didn't raise her voice, didn't even blink, just smiled softly, sweetly. "Then I shall retrieve you, my lady. Gracefully, and by the ankles, if necessary." That smile didn't reach her eyes, and suddenly, flying didn't sound like such a good idea. That was terrifying. She reached out and gently took my wrist, guiding me back toward the mirror like I was some wayward child who'd wandered off from a school line. "Now," she said sweetly, "shoulders back, chin up, eyes forward. Start getting used to your reflection. We'll begin with posture." "I'm going to die," I muttered under my breath. Ren just chuckled. "Oh, not at all. You're going to blossom." I groaned, but there was no escaping it now. The mirror awaited. Send help. An hour passed. I survived. Somehow. It wasn't that bad, honestly. Wait, thinking that wasn't bad is kinda bad. My expression twitched. Ren gave me a knowing look from behind the teacup she now elegantly sipped. "You're starting to enjoy this, my lady." I snapped upright. "I am not." She didn't argue. She didn't need to argue. That smug little curve at the corner of her mouth said everything. I swear, she was practically glowing with villain energy right now. Then she stood, set her cup down with perfect grace, and pulled out a book from seemingly nowhere. The cover read, "Grace and Nobility, a primer for young ladies." She stepped closer, book in hand, and gave a sharp nod like a general about to brief her soldier. "We begin with posture. Straight back, shoulders down, no slouching. A proper lady carries herself with dignity even when she's pretending not to panic." I straightened reflexively, only for her to lightly tap the back of my head. "Not stiff like a plank. Relax your spine. Chin up, but not too far. We're not trying to sniff the air like an arrogant swan." I grumbled under my breath but adjusted again. "Better," she said, circling me. "Now, let's work on your walk. Small steps. No stomping. Glide like you're floating, not charging into battle." "But I like charging into battle." She gave me a look. "I'm just saying." She pointed toward an imaginary line on the floor. "From here to the mirror. Walk." I tried. I really did. But halfway through, I forgot what to do with my arms and my stride suddenly felt, weirdly robotic. "You look like a wind-up toy." I stopped and spun around. "Then stop winding me up." She didn't flinch. Again. Ren clicked her tongue softly. "We'll circle back to your walking later, my lady. For now, let's focus on something simpler." She stood in front of me, hands neatly placed over one another at her waist, and dipped into a deep, flawless curtsy. Her skirt fanned just enough to look elegant without being dramatic, and her posture remained so perfectly straight, I almost wondered if she had a ruler sewn into her spine. "This," she said gently, rising with a flourish, "is the proper curtsy. A greeting of refinement, grace, poise. Try to remember that." "I'm a slime pretending to be a girl pretending to be royalty," I muttered. "There is no poise in this body." Ren either didn't hear me or chose violence. "Now you try." I looked down at the gown I was wearing, the heels, the layers, the threat of fabric-related disaster, and took a breath. Okay, Rimuru. You've taken down Orc Lord. You can bend your knees without falling over. I placed my hands where hers had been, tried to recall how she moved, and lowered myself slowly into something resembling a curtsy. My right foot slid. My balance wobbled. Panic rose. I caught myself at the last second with an awkward hop, then straightened quickly. There was silence. Ren sipped her tea again. Calm. Cold. That was a bow. Worse. It was a bow that looked like a squat. I felt my soul leave my body. She set the cup down again, and this time, she stepped closer. One more time. This time, move your left foot behind your right. Yes, exactly. Hands folded. Back straight. Now lower. Slowly. Her hand guided mine gently, and this time I actually felt the motion go smoother. My skirt moved the right way. My legs didn't buckle. I didn't panic. I rose up. She blinked. Acceptable. I blinked back. Wait, you're serious? Her lip twitched. We're not done. Of course not. She flipped another page. Next, how to greet a foreign dignitary without accidentally declaring war. Ren turned the page of grace and nobility like she was unsheathing a blade. Now, she said, imagine a foreign noble has entered the room. Someone of slightly higher rank than you, but you are the host. How do you greet them? With snacks. I offered, hopeful. She gave me a look so flat it could level mountains. I was joking, kind of. Ren raised her chin slightly and began pacing slowly, as if we were already in the royal court. Stand straight, shoulders back. Your steps must be light, graceful. No slouching, no waving, no running up to them with a grin and yelling, hey buddy. I froze. Okay, I get it. No buddy ing the foreign guests. She pointed to a spot on the rug. Stand here. Now imagine I'm the guest. I obeyed, swallowing my pride and about 6 other instincts. She stepped toward me with elegant poise, the kind that made her look like she floated. As the guest, I arrive and wait to be acknowledged. What do you do? I curtsy. You acknowledge me first. A shallow nod is enough unless they are royalty. Then you curtsy. I nodded slowly. So it's a nod-curtsy combo for kings. Ren gave a light smile. Correct, though your tone must match your station. Try it. Greet me. I turned to her, cleared my throat, and with my best serious face said, Welcome to Tempest. I am Rimuru Tempest, the ruler of this land. I hope your journey was smooth and your accommodations are to your liking. Ren blinked. What? That was actually not bad, she said, surprised. A bit stiff, but no glaring mistakes. I blinked back. Wait, seriously? I passed. Not yet. You bowed after speaking, not during. And your hand placement was slightly off. Try again. My shoulders sagged. Of course. We went through it 3 more times. And by the end, I had almost nailed it, at least enough for Ren to give me an approving nod instead of a disappointed sigh. Then she closed the book and said, That will do for now. I collapsed onto the nearby couch with the force of someone who just survived a boss fight with 1 HP. How do nobles live like this every day without just spontaneously combusting? Ren sat beside me and poured tea again like this had all been normal. They combust internally. The trick is to smile through it. Great. So I'm supposed to be a social landmine with a fake smile. Exactly, my lady, she said, absolutely enjoying this. I groaned again and took the teacup she offered. Ren set her teacup down with a soft clink. Now then, my lady, next, we begin your introduction to the language of the fan. My eye twitched. You mean like, waving it? Ren pulled out a delicate folding fan from a nearby case. It was white silk with embroidered blue flowers, as pristine and regal as everything else she owned. The fan is a weapon of subtlety, she said, opening it with a crisp snap. In noble society, a flick of the wrist can mean intrigue, or insult. She handed me one. Mine was midnight black with golden patterns. I reluctantly took it. You're joking, right? Ren didn't answer. She simply raised the fan to cover her mouth, leaving only her eyes visible. Holding the fan this way. It means, I wish to speak with you in private. I blinked, snapping it closed quickly while looking away. That's a dismissal. As in, you've overstayed your welcome. Oh, great. Can I just wave it around like a surrender flag when I want to leave? She stared me down. That would mean, I'm looking to elope. Wait, what? Ren smiled, clearly enjoying herself. Do pay attention, my lady, or you may find yourself accidentally accepting marriage proposals. Why is this so complicated? Quiet flailing, she chided, gently adjusting my wrist. Now, try communicating, I'm interested, but hesitant. This is a trap, isn't it? After an hour of misunderstood fan signals and unintended romantic implications, thankfully, only between Ren and the mirror, I was finally allowed to put the fan down, only for a wardrobe to be rolled in. What now? Ren opened the wardrobe. It was full. Dresses, shawls, cloaks, shoes in matching palettes, hats with feathers. Even wait, was that a tiny velvet purse? A proper lady must understand the meaning of fashion. You are not just dressing yourself, you are sending a message. I mean, I already have a message. I gestured to my current outfit, the one Ren and the others chose earlier. It says, I've given up. She ignored me. Now, which of these cloaks best communicates quiet authority with a hint of mystique? Ren, I don't even know what I had for breakfast. Incorrect answer, she replied flatly, already placing a silver-trimmed dark violet cloak over my shoulders. Also, you'll need a different brooch for this. That ruby one clashes. I let out a strangled groan. I'm literally a slime pretending to be a human princess. Why am I learning which gemstone pairs best with formal royal blue? Ren turned to me slowly, smile both radiant and merciless. Because, my lady, you must become someone who chooses how the world sees you. Crap, that actually sounded kinda cool. After the fan language and fashion fiasco, I thought surely that was it. I was wrong, very wrong. The next few hours flew by in a whirlwind of dizzying lessons, each more refined and traumatic than the last. Noble speech patterns and polite conversation. Try to speak with dignity, poise, and just a hint of humility, Ren instructed, gliding past me like a ghost of etiquette. Say, it would be my honor to dine with your majesty. Got it. Yo, your majesty, what's up? She looked at me like I'd just thrown soup on a duke. Again. Dining etiquette. Forks to the left, knives to the right, dessert spoons up top, she lectured as I stared at a battlefield of silverware. And remember dab, don't wipe. Why is there a tiny fork the size of my pinky? Seafood. I'm allergic to rules. Posture and walking gracefully. No slouching. Chin up, shoulders back. Do I look like a war general or a model? Both, Ren said. Now glide. I tripped over my own dress for the third time. I don't glide. I blorp. Tea ceremony. Hold the cup like so. Delicate fingers. Wrist straight. I'm holding it. I'm holding it oh no I spilled it. My lady. That was imported from Blumund. Formal titles and rank recognition. There are 38 noble ranks. You will memorize them. I'm going to die in this room. Not before you learn which Duke outranks a marquis. Makeup and appearance maintenance. Rosy cheeks and subtle gloss imply innocence and elegance, Ren said, gently dabbing a brush against my face. I'm supposed to be a ruler, not a porcelain doll. Which is precisely why you must soften your image. Grace inspires trust. Can I at least keep the fangs? You don't have fangs, my lady. Yet. Ren stared. I grinned. She powdered me harder. Final lesson, silent presence. And finally, learn the most powerful tool of all, Ren said, dimming the lights slightly and standing beside me in the mirror. The ability to command attention, with silence. She walked, paused, tilted her head slightly. Every gesture said regal authority. Then it was my turn. I tried it. My shoe squeaked. Ahem, I muttered, fidgeting with my cloak. Ren nodded. Better. You're beginning to understand. Curtain close. At last, Ren closed the etiquette manual with a snap. She set it down with precision, then looked me over from head to toe, one hand resting on her waist. Her expression was unreadable, calm, composed, and as infuriatingly perfect as always. You've made some progress, my lady. I straightened, cautiously hopeful. Really? Ren nodded. Indeed. I started to relax. But, she added with a gentle, ominous smile, you still require considerable refinement. I froze. So, we're done, right? She turned to the tea set, gracefully pouring herself a fresh cup. Certainly. Phew. Good. I was starting to think you were dash. Because starting tomorrow, she cut in smoothly, I will be giving you etiquette training every day. The words hit me like a curse. Every day. Without fail. But I have diplomacy to handle, budgets to review, Monster Nation things. All the more reason to present yourself like a ruler worthy of respect and admiration. She took a sip of tea, violet eyes calm, but her smile was wicked. I slumped in my chair, face in my hands. I had survived today. But now, I was at war. With Grace. And I was losing. Note. This chapter was all about Ren's etiquette boot camp, and wow, did I have fun writing it. Watching her flawlessly switch between elegant maid and secret chaos engine while training Rimuru like a princess in progress. Absolute gold. Rimuru, of course, insists he's still a guy, while being politely scolded for slouching, corrected on tea etiquette, and spending an hour admiring himself in the mirror after getting dressed up, totally masculine behavior. Nothing to see here. This chapter may feel light on action, but it's quietly setting up something much bigger. We're approaching the biggest turning point in the story so far, the kind that changes everything. Expect more growth, more emotion, and maybe even a hint of romance, whether Rimuru likes it or not. Thank you so much for reading. Whether you're here for Ren's antics, Rimuru's inner turmoil, or just enjoying the slow unraveling of all things normal, I appreciate you being part of this journey. Next chapter's going to be special. Don't miss it.
Hi guys. I made a paid service in Telegram where you will find a great collection of fanfiction audiobooks organized and regularly updated. What you get? An unlimited access to the full audiobook library. New fanfiction audiobooks added regularly. You can play audios directly from Telegram anytime. Joining our service is available through a monthly subscription of $5. You can pay using PayPal or Ko-fi. So what are you waiting for? Send me a message on Telegram or Discord. I will provide the payment details. After the payment is confirmed, you will receive access to the private Telegram channel containing all audiobooks. If you enjoy fanfiction and prefer listening instead of reading, this library is made for you. Message me anytime to join.